He clearly has the most powerful cultivation master, yet his cultivation level is the lowest in the sect. Just because his master, Nanning Fong, is a body cultivator, she knows nothing about chi cultivation, leaving him to figure it out himself. Fortunately, a strange pagoda transmigrated with him. He just needs to throw the souls of slain monsters into it to draw items of corresponding levels. Thus, late every night, in the mass graves near the villages around Shushan, a sneaky figure can be found. Facing the defenseless Denglongguai monsters, he delivers merciless beatings, since the Denglongguai are too low level. The Baita symbolically gives a supplementary, Juki Dan pill as a reward to aid cultivation. Finally, thanks to the contributions of countless Denglongguai, Situ Yan succeeded. Breaking through to become the lowest-ranked Shinijing realm cultivator at Shushan, he gained the right to go out and slay demons. Now, Situ Yan looks at the courtesan before him, sighing, "Someone as large as you, I've truly never met before." Hearing Situ Yan's teasing, the courtesan gives a foxy smile. "Young master, just drink this cup of wine with me. Not only can I let you see just how large I am, but I also guarantee an experience that will send you to heaven." Speaking of ascending, Situ Yan gets excited. He's familiar with this line of work. "But for you, Nanning Fong, to make me ascend, that's absolutely impossible. But I can guarantee I'll send you, Nanning Fong, ascending." Nanning Fong is completely stunned. I didn't expect the young master, despite his youth, to be so confident in his own skills. Of course, although my skills might not be perfectly honed, I can make up for it with props. Hearing the word props, Nanning Fong is genuinely taken aback. She really has no experience in this area, but as an excellent top courtesan, she quickly conceals her inner surprise. "I couldn't tell the young master looks so serious. Yet you seem to know how to have fun." Situ Yan, without hesitation, starts reaching into his pocket, fumbling for his special prop, until a heavy gold brick is pulled out. Nanning Fong looks at the Huangjin Banjuan on the table, engraved with the Fu Run, momentarily speechless. Then she angrily curses Situ Yan, calling him a pervert. "I'm not playing with you with such a big thing." Situ Yan hears this. "As expected, you can't accept this tool, miss? Look, there's a wild Aotman outside the window." Just as Nanning Fong is distracted by the Aotman and turns away, Situ Yan, gripping the Huangjin Banjuan, suddenly raises it and slams it hard onto the back of her head. Instantly, demonic energy and screams echo throughout the room. This brick was something Situ Yan obtained during a mission, an encountered stone statue, refined through body cultivation. Anyone hit on the head with it, if they are a demon, will instantly reveal their true form. Even if not a demon, it causes a stunning effect. It's a very practical underhanded artifact. The struck Nanning Fong quickly reveals her true form. A spider demon. "See, I told you. You really are the biggest demon I've met. By the way, Miss Spider, do you happen to know about the sword cultivators of Shushan? I came from the mountain gate this time, specifically to slay demons and eliminate evil." The sharp spider legs that should have pierced Situ Yan quietly halt upon hearing the word Shushan. Shushan is famous for its skill in demon slaying, an unforgettable nightmare for many demons. She is no exception. Thus, Nanning Fong plans a tactical retreat, attempting to trap Situ Yan with spider silk, to create a chance to escape. But she doesn't know, Situ Yan is just a rookie on his first demon-slaying outing. His earlier words were merely to distract her, creating time for himself to cast a spell. His flying sword instantly transforms into a thin golden line, piercing through Nanning Fong's chest. Her massive body loses all support, falling straight down, revealing those from the past year, the human remains of those she killed. Not completely dead yet, Nanning Fong still wants to sacrifice her cultivation for her soul to escape. Little does she know Situ Yan has been waiting upstairs for a long time. "There you are, little cutie. I've been waiting quite a while. You really wore me out this time." Situ Yan collapses to the ground, muttering, then breaks into a happy smile, because next is his favorite part, the reward phase. Entering a meditative state, Situ Yan arrives inside the Baita deep within his soul. This is his first time harvesting a demon soul of the third realm. He wonders what great treasure it can be refined into. After silently reciting, Situ Yan presses 2 fingers onto the refinement button. Endless firelight reflects on his face, finally condensing into a ball of light that flies into his hand. It's a golden legendary. Situ Yan looks at the Fuyao Shang in his hand. Its usage instructions quickly appear in his mind. Against enemies, activate the Fuyao Shang with true chi. It will automatically apply a tight tortoise shell binding to the enemy. While incapacitating the enemy, it destroys their psychological defenses, potentially even awakening hidden personalities. Immensely powerful. Cold sweat trickles down Situ Yan's cheek. Not bad, not bad. What a proper magic treasure. With the help of the demon revealing Huang Jin Banjuan and the Fuya Shang, catching demons in the future will surely be a piece of cake. He. When he returns to reality from his meditative state, a letter appears in his hand. Although the letter only contains a few sentences, it leaves Chu Lian utterly shocked. Heavens! Because his master, who binge drinks nonstop for 12-hour periods, is intensely addicted to questionable reading material, and throws tantrums on the floor without wine or books, actually managed to write so many words in one go. This gives him a bad feeling. Until, after a series of procedures, he returns to his master's peak, and sees his master lying in bed, half drunk and half awake. The uneasy feeling in his heart intensifies. Di Feng, Chu Liang's master, is also the peak lord of Nanning Fong, one of Shushan's 36 peaks. Seeing Chu Liang appear in her room, Di Feng asks confusedly, "Little Chu, what brings you here?" Chu Liang replies speechlessly, "Master, it was your urgent paper crane message. That told me to rush back." Reminded by Chu Liang, Di Feng recalls that there was indeed such a matter. Then, her words confirm Chu Liang's bad premonition. The decennial Shushan summit is about to start, you know, right? The one where disciples from the main peaks participate. Seeing Chu Liang doesn't respond, Di Feng continues, Then I'll continue. During that meeting, I didn't care what everyone else discussed, but when it was that old coot Wang Xuanling's turn to speak, I really couldn't stand his arrogant attitude. He was boasting that the position of Shushan's chief disciple would definitely belong to his Yujian Fong. Pa! That old coot. Does he really think his Yujian Fong is the best among Shushan's 36 peaks? Of course, I disagreed. After arguing a bit, we made a bet. If his Yujian Fong disciple wins the chief position, I'll give him the Huangling Shuayu. But if my Yingjian Fong disciple can win the chief position, he has to give the main peak's head seat to me. I called you here because I wanted to ask, who from our Yingjian Fong should we choose to participate in the Shushan summit? At this moment, Chu Liang has only one thought, I'm screwed. Then, trembling slightly, he raises his hand and points at his master. Our Yingjian Fong only has me as a disciple, right? Clap. Di Feng's applause immediately reaches his ears. I'm very pleased that you volunteered so actively. Hearing his master's completely detached words, Chu Liang instantly feels that this world is full of malice towards him, because Shushan is an extremely competitive sect, resulting in disciples of the same generation having vast differences in strength. Take Yujian Fong, the peak Di Feng dislikes the most. It has hundreds of disciples, with several already at the Jinan realm. And he's just trash who recently broke through to the Shinijing realm. Forget fighting Jinan cultivators, even if Yujian Fong randomly picks anyone, he might not be able to win. Seeing her disciple lacks confidence, Di Feng hurriedly consoles him, don't feel too pressured. There should still be about half a year. Just prepare well. If you really manage to win the chief position, I definitely won't treat you unfairly. If I become the head of the main peak, then, whatever you desire, I will do my best to get it for you. As Di Feng paints this picture, she suddenly notices in her disciple's eyes a hint of inappropriate affection. Yo, you brat, got some nerve, huh? You dare have ideas about me? Chu Liang quickly explains, Master, I meant, since you've already bet the Huangling Shuayu such a treasure, I will naturally prepare with all my might, that's certain. Then his tone shifts, however, this task is indeed quite difficult. If I should fail, I hope Master won't blame me. But Di Feng acts as if she didn't hear the latter part, and immediately starts fantasizing about him becoming Shushan's chief disciple and the wonderful life that follows. The cultivation resources distributed then. We master and disciple will split them 30 to 70, starting point. Wonderful. Chu Liang silently walks out of his master's room, not wanting to disturb her fantasy. Walking along, he feels life is bleak. Half a year to get from the Shinijing realm to peak Jindan. Even fantasy novels wouldn't dare write something like this, right? She was clearly a pure and innocent lady, now tied up midair by a strange man using weird techniques. Even her frail and sickly husband couldn't escape the man's clutches. It turns out, ever since Di Feng mentioned wanting him to become Shushan's chief disciple, Chu Liang started desperately hunting demons. He should have left after catching the cat demon, but he discovered this cat demon was actually a demon spirit, a combination of a resentful spirit and an Yin spirit. And after the cat demon appeared, Mistress Lingfu stopped showing herself. Chu Liang suspected the cat demon was related to this mistress. So he came to her room, intending to have an in-depth conversation with her. She claimed she was just frightened. Now that the demon has been eliminated by young hero Chu, I'll recover soon. No need for you to worry. After hearing this, Chu Liang shared his discovery about the cat demon being a combination of 3 spirits, stating, "So I was wondering, what did it come to your Ming residence for? A resentful spirit would first seek out the person who killed it. If it's a Yin spirit, it would first look for its mother. And this cat spirit, in your Ming residence for 3 consecutive days, moving forward, didn't harm anyone, as if it was looking for something." As Chu Liang spoke, Mistress Ming's face grew increasingly gloomy. "Looking for what? I'm wondering too. Master Ming said your family is known for good deeds, and never harms animals. So, could it be looking for its own mother? But it's a demon spirit. Is its mother also a demon? And since the cat spirit appeared in the residence, the one who hasn't dared show herself seems to be only you, mistress." Hearing this, Mistress Ming actually laughed, then pointed at herself. "Young hero Chu, you're not saying I'm a demon, are you?" Chu Liang didn't shy away. "Whether you are or not, we'll know soon enough." As he spoke, Mistress Ming abruptly stood up, staring intently at Chu Liang before her. To make a demon reveal its form, it must either actively leak demonic energy, or be forced by someone with far superior cultivation using a special technique. But the young man before her clearly didn't have high cultivation. The other possibility is a magic tool specifically for identifying demons, a demon-revealing mirror. These things are extremely rare. Even the Imperial Palace only possesses one, and the Shushan sect happens to have one. While contemplating, wisps of demonic energy began to gather in her palm. Zhao Yaojing, sensing the change, Chu Liang had already quietly taken out his demon-revealing brick. "No, but it's similar." The two just looked at each other. "I look at you." Suddenly, both pointed behind the other. "Look what's over there." After an awkward pause staring at each other again, Mistress Ming couldn't hold back and broke the facade first. "Since it's come to this, I won't waste words with you. When you entered the room, I ignited the Wanqing poison hidden in the candle. If you want the antidote, leave the Ming residence obediently. Don't meddle." Chu Liang, however, showed no panic, because he had already held his breath before knocking. "Trying to threaten me, Mistress Ming? I think you should just surrender obediently. Young hero Chu, I have never harmed anyone. I just want to live peacefully with my husband. Since you have completed your mission, can't you just ignore this and leave?" However, Chu Liang still didn't back down. "If I just turn and leave like this, it wouldn't be appropriate." Hearing Chu Liang's words, Mistress Ming's body trembled slightly. She attacked first. "Young hero Chu, why are you pressing me like this?" The two quickly became entangled in a fight. Mistress Ming couldn't snatch Chu Liang's sword, and Chu Liang couldn't cut through her weapon. Seeing neither could defeat the other, unexpectedly, Mistress Ming suddenly dropped her weapon. Chu Liang stumbled backward due to inertia. Using the brief opening, Mistress Ming gathered demonic energy in her palm and struck at Chu Liang. But she underestimated Chu Liang. In the instant he dodged the attack, Chu Liang smoothly cast the Fuyao Shang. Mistress Ming, now midair, couldn't possibly dodge, allowing the Fuyao Shang to bind her on the spot, crashing to the ground. Mistress Ming looked at Chu Liang with terror. She hadn't expected a disciple of a righteous sect would use such a vulgar magic tool. She would not yield, only begging Chu Liang to kill her. Realizing he was misunderstood, Chu Liang quickly explained he didn't have that kind of intention. These words fell on Mistress Ming's ears. She thought Chu Liang meant he had no intention of killing her, but still intended to force himself upon her, this pure, innocent lady. Just then, hearing the commotion, Master Ming also rushed over. Seeing a sight he would never forget, his wife, tied up on the ground in a strange manner. "Young hero Chu, am I interrupting something?" "No, you've arrived just in time. Who would have thought the great figures of the cultivation world, the Tianshu Ge, one of the Jotian immortal alliances, would be full of pranksters, using their self-created Luiying Shu to share gossip from the entire cultivation world, with every fellow cultivator. For this, they specially created the Qixing Dibao. From the highest heavens down to the children in the streets, everyone talked about it with relish. And every issue of the Dibao was delivered by immortal cranes. To ensure no mistakes, Chu Liang took the Dibao and checked the section he cared most about, the Wanbao Lu of the mortal world. The Wanbao Lu is a list that records the world's magic treasures and ranks them. There aren't many changes each month. There's a separate section describing the ranking changes that occurred this month, for easier viewing. Most changes involve lower-ranked items. The top-ranked treasures of heaven and earth have hardly changed in hundreds of years. For example, the number one ranked item is always the divine artifact of the mortal world, the Jinyao. Unfortunately, sigh. Tears of an era. The Shushan sect could once be ranked among the Jiutian, even once dominating as the number one immortal sect, becoming a pillar of righteousness in the mortal world. The existence of the Jinyao, but 500 years ago, due to a major upheaval, Shushan lost this supreme artifact. This led to the sect's later decline. To this day, among the top-ranked of the 10 great immortal sects, some might surpass the Shushan sect in pure strength. Voices arguing that the Shushan sect doesn't deserve its Jiutian ranking are also growing louder. Forget about this for now. Let's continue reading the rest. But seeing the second place on the Wanbao Lu, the Qixing Jian, made Chu Liang, still unable to resist, complain. Compared to the number one artifact having only a name, when it comes to Tianshu Ji's own artifact, they start describing it in great detail. Even the special effects are several levels more gorgeous. However, Tianshu Ji keeps to itself, rarely getting involved in worldly conflicts. The Qixing Jian hasn't been used for many years either. The last recorded sighting was 100 years ago when the demonic path's Guisho Zone awakened the extremely fierce Qiangqi, attempting to raid Tianshu Ji. The contemporary Tianshu Ji headmaster Dangbai drew the Qixing Jian, suppressed Qiangqi with one sword strike, then another sword strike. Sword energy like a rainbow swept away 300 demon cultivators. Yet another sword strike accompanied him, slaying 300 demon beasts, directly wiping out the Guisho Zone lineage. The divine sword's power is indeed terrifyingly immense. However, legend says that each time Tianshu Ji uses the Qixing Jian, they must pay a great price. What secrets lie within, they certainly wouldn't reveal to outsiders. Next is the third-ranked Jingtian Bagua Jing, currently belonging to Wuying Xianshan, one of the Jiutian. The Jingtian Bagua it possesses is rumored to be a divine artifact fallen from the heavens. It's widely rumored that the reason Jingtian Bagua is ranked below Qixing Jian is simply because the Wanbao Lu is published by Tianshu Ji. But right now, treasures of heaven and earth are too distant for Chu Liang. Looking at these phantom images doesn't give him much concept, until he saw the 57th ranked Huangling Shueyu, feeling it looked very familiar. Currently belongs to a certain peak lord of Shushan? No wonder it looks so familiar. Although his master carries it every day, he had never seen the full appearance of the Huangling Shueyu. Then he realized, in his impression, that was the true full appearance of the Huangling Shueyu. That being said, the top-ranked treasures of heaven and earth are actually quite close to his life. Right now, the Wanbao Lu can't provide much useful information for me yet. Let's check the next section first, the contents of the Zhozhou Fengyun CE. Looks like there were quite a few major events last month. Wuying Xianshan headmaster, Zhou Xianrun, emerged regarding the great battle at Honlushan. Ming Wangzong's left and right protectors directly killed Bai Yin Wang. Zi Jinho was seriously injured and escaped. Ming Wangzong, as one of the major demonic sects, has been developing rapidly in recent years, once showing signs of coming into the open. This time, Zhou Xianrun's fierce action is also a significant blow to Ming Wangzong. Just don't know what that mysterious sect master of Ming Wangzong will respond with. Okay, let's look at the next piece of news. Sanjugu, one of the 10 great sects, recently produced a female disciple named Luo Yao. This disciple is active in the non-Udati region. Her methods are extremely ruthless. Within a month, she has already wiped out 3 evil witchcraft sects. Sanjugu itself relies on witchcraft, poison, and gu, venomous insects, to stand. It's a major sect considered both righteous and evil. This Luo Yao hates evil so much, Chu Liang wonders if her fellow sect members tremble in fear. Finally, Chu Liang discovered there was actually news about Shushan in the Zhozhou CE. The peak lord of Shushan sect's Yujian Feng, Wang Xianling, recently slayed a flood dragon in the East Sea that was stirring up trouble and endangering fishing boats. Seeing this news, Chu Liang had a bad feeling, because his own master has always disliked the Yujian peak lord. Just then, a loud shout came from behind Chu Liang. Master is going out for a few days. Take care of yourself. He knew it. Given his master's temper, since Wang Xianling did something high-profile, it would be strange if she could restrain herself. It's not that he's worried about his master's safety, just somewhat concerned about the ecology of the East Sea. Sai, his competitive master. Looks like the time is about right. Chu Liang plans to go to the Huanjian Ji to hand over the previous demon extermination task. On the way, He couldn't help but glance at the section the common people most loved to see, the Jianghu Yuanji, anecdotes of the martial world. Compared to the shocking and serious Jojo Feng Yun Ce, it's the tidbits in the Jianghu Yuanji, these gossips, that attract people more. During the Yu Dynasty Emperor's inspection of Shanglong Shuyuan, he attempted to arrange a marriage for his youngest daughter, Princess Jingyang, with Shanglong Shuyuan's chief disciple, Zheng Chen. Unexpectedly, Zheng Chen refused. And the reason he gave was, "Your Majesty, romantic entanglements will interfere with my studies." Shanglong Shuyuan is Confucian, the #1 academy, backed by the imperial court. Among the 10 great sects, it ranks near the top. Zheng Chen, as Shanglong Shuyuan's chief disciple, whether he focuses on cultivation or enters the court as an official in the future, has a bright future. With this refusal, his future suddenly becomes somewhat unpredictable. Alas, fathers worried about their daughters' marriages, the emperor isn't the only one. The Lord of Leitang Bao, one of the 10 great sects, also issued a notice, offering 7 valuable treasures as betrothal gifts, to recruit a worthy son-in-law for his only daughter, Huang Ling. Yet, among the heroes of the 9 provinces, no one dared to accept. The reason no one dared to come, is because that Huang Ling had long issued a harsh warning. Anyone wanting to marry her had better have higher cultivation than her. Otherwise, on the first day of marriage, they would become food for her Dragon Fong fierce horse. Xu Liang just felt that Miss Huang Ling has quite the personality. Then, he saw another piece of news about Shushan. This month, Zhang Yuebai, known as Shushan's fairy, was seen with Feng Jiayang of Tianwanzong in Jiangnan, dining together at Zui Yulu, suggesting a close relationship. Just finished reading this news, before he could even process it, Xu Liang heard screams from behind him. Absolutely impossible. My Jiang absolutely couldn't be snatched away by that bad boy from Tianwanzong. Fairy Jiang, please, keep your love within the Shushan sect. Among them were also female fans of Feng Jiayang, speaking up for their idol, making Xu Liang feel like he was back on a modern internet forum. Better go buy some necessary supplies first, then go to Huanjian Ge to accept a new task. Limited by the fact he only had about 20 jian bai, he couldn't afford a single word of the cultivation manuals in the Hufa Tang. Only the Danding Tang was a place he could afford. But even there, he could only buy 4 Jushen Dan pills. Back to square one in an instant. Fortunately, with the help of these few pills, he could soon break through to the mid-stage of the Shenijing realm. As for the time after that? Of course, go to Huanjian Ji, pick a task and continue earning money. But, soon, Xu Liang encountered trouble. Because there were too many Shenijing realm tasks in the sect, he didn't know which one to choose. While he was troubled, a voice attracted him, harvesting Renmian Yujin Hua. Generous reward. Need 1 more Shenijing realm, leaving immediately. Led by a Jindan Jing realm senior brother, absolutely safe. Don't miss out. Quickly, a picture formed in Xu Liang's mind. Renmian Yujin Hua? Yes, that's me, Renmian Yujin Hua, moi. Who would have thought, both being the sole disciple of a peak, Xu Liang not only had to challenge his masters, arch-rivals several hundred disciples, whose cultivation levels were all higher than his, not to mention, even cultivation resources he had to earn himself. Now, seeing the similarly solely favored junior sister Su Ziqing, actually having a flying spirit beast as a mount, he instantly felt crushed. Same Shenijing realm cultivation, same status as the sole disciple of a peak, he was so poor he couldn't even afford a single cultivation manual, while the neighbor next door already owned a flying bird. Now Su Ziqing was even looking disgusted, not wanting him to get on the bird. It turned out, ever since Master Di Nufeng's bet with Yu Jianfeng's peak lord Wang Xianling, spread throughout Shushan, Xu Liang, as Ying Jianfeng's sole seedling, naturally became the target of Yu Jianfeng disciples' bullying. Coincidentally, Su Ziqing was the solely favored junior sister of Yu Jianfeng. Initially, Xu Liang had planned to join a group instance led by a Jindan senior brother. Who knew? When he revealed his identity as an Ying Jianfeng disciple, the originally cheerful team suddenly fell into a brief silence, because everyone else was a disciple of Yu Jianfeng. This mission was specifically to guide their own junior sister, who expected to run into their arch-rival. Lin Bei, who was initially enthusiastic, was now incredibly awkward. His hand had already reached Xu Liang's shoulder, suddenly retracting it felt a bit inappropriate. Su Ziqing and the other person beside her were also extremely embarrassed. When Xu Liang wanted to join the team, they were also very welcoming. If they changed their attitude on the spot, it also felt somewhat inappropriate. Therefore, after being awkward for a while, Lin Bei instantly burst into hearty laughter at Chu Liang again. He waved his hand at the people behind him. Anyway, the mission tokens are already taken. Let's hurry up and set off. The others also accepted this reality. Only Su Ziqing looked furious. Because in her eyes, Jinan Fong held such hostility towards her Jinan Fong. Chu Liang must be up to no good either. Faced with Su Ziqing's sudden change, Chu Liang didn't mind, still maintaining an invincible expression. For him, having the demon tower was enough. Lin Bei, however, used this opportunity to console Chu Liang on one hand, and introduce the teammates on the other. This time, responsible for leading the flight is Fong Xiao, early Jinan realm cultivation. As for junior sister Su Ziqing, this is her first time doing a mission down the mountain, because her brother, Shushan's coolest guy, Yu Jianfeng's senior brother Su Ziang, has been in seclusion recently. That's why we are leading the mission. The name Su Ziang also slightly startled Chu Liang for a moment. In recent years, Shushan's powerful disciples under demonstration, in terms of quantity, couldn't compare to other Jotian immortal sects. If we talk about famous names in their generation, that would be Jiang Yuebai and Su Ziang. Hearing someone praise his own senior brother, Lin Bei was also quite pleased. But he quickly thought of a problem. Hong is at the Shini Jing realm. For our first mission, we all find experienced senior brothers or sisters to carry us. But Brother Chu, you are the sole seedling of Jinan Fong. Who did you find from which peak, senior brother or sister, to lead your first mission? Unexpectedly, Chu Liang's words were shocking, pointing at himself with a stunned expression. I've always gone alone to complete demon slaying missions. A thought flashed through Lin Bei's mind instantly. Awesome, Brother Chu. Soloing demon slaying missions right from the start. This was the first time Chu Liang had been praised like this, feeling rather embarrassed. On the journey afterwards, the relationship between the two grew increasingly passionate, until they reached the edge of Tongtian Fong. Su Ziqing summoned her flying spirit beast, making the previously indifferent Chu Liang instantly envious. He was currently so poor he didn't even have 20 Jian Bai. This junior sister could actually afford such a luxurious large spirit pet. So envious. Su Ziqing, already seated on the bird, warmly greeted her own senior brother. Only Chu Liang received a cold shoulder. Bad person from Jinan Fong. I don't want to call you up here. Chu Liang sighed inwardly. Rich junior sister, no matter how much I stare, I still need to catch this ride. Under Lin Bei's guidance, Chu Liang also successfully mounted the bird's back. Then, thinking about heading to Jinan, Yusan to fight monsters, his face was once again filled with smiles. Long-distance flight via sword riding, although fast, reaches where the heart desires. Soaring through the mountains on a sword is both agile and exhilarating. Although sword flight looks really cool to mortals, the rider themselves looks tired and cold, truly pathetic. At this time, having a mount would be really cool. Compared to this comfortable flight, Jing Bei's mouth hadn't stopped talking the entire way. Only then did Chu Liang realize why Su Ziqing and the other three sat so far away. Fortunately, they arrived at the destination not long after. He almost wanted to take out his brick. As the leader of this group, senior brother Fong began arranging the operation. Due to the abundance of plant and wood spirits within Jinan Yusan, even during the day, it's filled with miasma. We need to hold our breath. At that time, true essence cannot be replenished. Therefore, he will conserve his cultivation and not attack easily. The task of clearing the path will fall to Lu Run, Lin Bei, and Chu Liang, taking turns. Unexpectedly, Chu Liang raised his hand. Everyone, regarding the plan for clearing the path, I have a slight suggestion. Everyone thought of Chu Liang's identity from Jinan Fong, and felt somewhat afraid for a moment. Su Ziqing even thought he was planning something bad. But Chu Liang's next words made them all amazed. Clearing the path and slaying demons, the task, can be handled by me alone. No need for rotation. As soon as these words were spoken, Lin Bei and the others felt incredibly guilty for a moment. They had previously thought Chu Liang wanted to shirk responsibility. But they never expected this smiling and amiable fellow disciple before them would actually volunteer to shoulder the task of clearing the path alone. I should be damned to actually harbor such malicious speculations about this fellow disciple. Brother Chu, this is no joke. Moreover, this path might take an hour or so to walk. If you exhaust your true energy, it will be detrimental to our subsequent action of picking the Renmian Yujin Hua. Let's still take turns clearing the path. It's alright, I'm confident. If my true energy is about to run low, I will naturally step back for rotation. Then he bowed apologetically. Fellow disciples, My cultivation is low, and there's not much I can help with. Let me contribute a little more effort here." Upon hearing this, everyone was speechless. "If you insist, then you shall clear the path first. It's getting late. We must enter the mountain as soon as possible. Junior brother Chu, remember, if your true energy consumption exceeds half, rotate promptly. If you wait until it's completely exhausted, it might be too late." Chu Liang clasped his fist again. "Senior brother Fong, rest assured, I understand." Behind him, Su Ziqing looked at his back, also sinking into guilt. She had been isolating Chu Liang just moments ago, but how could she know Chu Liang's little scheme? Thinking that all the monsters on the road were his, he almost couldn't stop himself from laughing out loud. But it still didn't affect Su Ziqing's imagination. Now, he not only found the way Chu Liang walked handsome, even his earlier sneaky smile made her heart pound. Therefore, Su Ziqing decided she also had to contribute to Chu Liang. "Senior brother Chu, here are 3 Juki-Dan pills. Keep them for use." Chu Liang glanced at the pills. Although he quite wanted to freeload, but thinking that the main function of Juki-Dan is to increase cultivation, and he couldn't follow up with cultivation here, simply using them to replenish true energy felt quite wasteful. Unexpectedly, just as he was about to refuse, he saw a pitiful little face, begging him to accept. Chu Liang could only accept the pills with a bewildered expression. Seeing the pills were accepted, Su Ziqing hummed a little tune happily as she left. During the journey afterwards, Chu Liang dealt with no less than 10 flower demons. If he hadn't broken through to the Shin'i Jing realm, he would definitely have been toast. But just as everyone was swapping out Chu Liang for a rest, the inexperienced junior sister Su was startled by a suddenly appearing toad. Stepping outside the protective range of the magic artifact, she was suddenly attacked by a flower demon hidden in the jungle. Unable to dodge in time, she was bitten on the calf. Although senior brother Fong promptly drew his sword and killed the flower demon, when Su Ziqing activated Yushingju to heal the wound, she found she was poisoned and couldn't effectively self-heal. The green vine flower demons in this forest are non-poisonous. That one just now was a mutated purple vine flower demon. And for this trip, we only brought Juki-Dan pills to deal with the forest miasma. We didn't prepare the corresponding antidote. Therefore, Lin Bei thoughtfully devised a plan. "Junior sister Ziqing, first seal your qi and blood yourself to slow down the poison entering your body. I'll immediately kneel down and help you suck out the poison blood." As the leader this time, the man with the highest cultivation, how could he let a teammate risk themselves? Nonsense. Your cultivation is similar to junior sister's. If you suck out the poison blood and get poisoned too, what then? My cultivation is higher, I'll suck it. Soon, 3 faces crowded around, wanting to take responsibility for the junior sister's life, making Su Ziqing's hair stand on end. Just as she was about to accept her fate, that man raised his hand. "Everyone!" Before Chu Liang could finish, he was stared down by 3 pairs of crimson eyes. "What, you want a bite too?" No, everyone misunderstood. I meant to say, I have a type of antidote. Medicine, maybe it can cure the flower demon poison junior sister contracted. It turned out, after Chu Liang was rotated out, he entered the beta, used the flower demon's kill just now for a non-guaranteed 10 pull gotcha. This Baihua San was one of the rewards. Half taken orally, half applied externally, can cure 100 poisons. Furthermore, using Baihua San leaves a lingering floral scent. Top notes of jasmine, middle notes of rose, base notes of Nanhwa. The fragrance is rich and long-lasting. At this moment, Su Ziqing, seeing the Baihua San in Chu Liang's hand, was overjoyed. She even softly called out "Senior brother Chu." Then, she scampered over to Chu Liang's side, asking about the usage method, leaving behind the 3 crestfallen men. After getting the instructions and thanking Chu Liang gratefully, Su Ziqing sat on the ground, half taken orally, half applied externally, treating her wound. As the wound healed itself, a light floral scent began to emanate from her body, making her feel as if she were immersed in a sea of flowers, tightly enveloped by petals, almost falling asleep. She was clearly the Sect's solely favored, soft and cute junior sister, yet now she was infatuated with her master's arch-rival's good-for-nothing disciple. After taking the Baihua San, Su Ziqing was completely lost in the sea of flowers. As Chu Liang's voice echoed in her ear, she seemed to see the legendary Nanhwa, handsome man. "Junior sister Su, are you alright? How are you feeling now?" Chu Liang's warm voice struck her heart directly. She could clearly feel her own heartbeat now, thump, thump, so fast. Could this be the feeling of falling in love? But in Chu Liang's eyes, this was a bit strange. Could there be a problem with his Baihua San? Then, he grabbed Su Ziqing and started shaking her frantically. Junior sister Su, what's wrong with you? Answer me. How are you feeling now? Don't scare me. With Chuliang's shaking, Su Ziqing immediately snapped out of her previous state. She pushed Chuliang away, quickly covering her small face with both hands, suppressing her unhealthy thoughts, telling herself to calm down. Must calm down. Only then did she shyly thank Chuliang. Senior brother Chu, thank you for your antidote. How can I thank you properly? You're welcome. You gave me Juki-dan, I gave you Baihua-san. It's just mutual courtesy. Su Ziqing heard this, and offered a relative rebuttal. How can Juki-dan compare to Baihua-san? Chu Liang quickly waved his hand. Ah, we are fellow disciples, and friends too. Why keep such clear accounts? But for some reason, hearing Chu Liang say she was his friend, her small face instantly became scalding hot. But she quickly composed herself again, smilingly affirming that they were friends. Just as the atmosphere between the two became increasingly strange, Lin Bei suddenly popped up. Brother Chu! Brother Chu! Weren't you pulled directly by us from Huanjian Ge? Do you always carry antidote with you? Thinking of this, Chu Liang was clearly very happy. Ah, better safe than sorry. Senior brother Fong saw that everyone was alright, once again displaying the authority of a Jinan expert. Since junior sister is fine now, then let's continue onward. Before his voice faded, Chu Liang had already walked ahead. Alright, everyone, proceed with peace of mind. I will continue clearing the path. Such a handsome and heroic figure moved the Nanning Fong disciples deeply. This guy from Nanning Fong is trustworthy. After traveling for less than half an hour, they only encountered 2 small flower demons along the way, leaving Chu Liang quite disappointed. Until a deep valley appeared ahead. Senior brother Fong quickly reminded everyone. Everyone, we are very close to the destination. Time is tight. We need to speed up. Unexpectedly, Lin Bei thought it was fun, and tested the echo effect in the valley. As the sound of Abba Abba echoed through the valley, everyone cast looks at him as if he were an idiot. Lin Bei suddenly realized this might attract nearby demon beasts. He quickly covered his mouth, stopping himself from making any more noise. As the group ventured deeper, stone steps made of gravel appeared before them, as well as clusters of light emitting a faint blue glow. Based on experience, Chu Liang became more vigilant of the surroundings. Because in this place teeming with demons, for a piece of pure land to suddenly appear, it's highly likely this is the territory of some dominant demon lord. After ascending the stone steps, the group could clearly see the object emitting the faint light. A giant rootstock was seen, topped with 2 pure white flower buds emitting a faint blue light. This was their target for this trip, the Renmian Yujin Hua. We've found the target. Everyone, prepare for the harvesting operation. Receiving the command, Chu Liang also wore a serious expression, because he knew the most dangerous phase was about to begin. Then, the pure white flower buds standing at the top quickly turned towards them. This sight sent chills down Lin Bei's spine. Damn, it turned around. Seeing this, senior brother Fong quickly comforted everyone. Everyone, do not panic. This thing is different from the flower demons outside. Its habits are more akin to ordinary plants. It's just more sensitive to surrounding vibrations. At this time, it should be just getting dark outside. When night falls, and a sliver of moonlight falls on this flower, that will be the moment it blooms. Before that, remember not to act recklessly towards it. After hearing this, Chu Liang's face darkened. Regarding this Renmian Yujin Hua, he had already roughly understood it on the way here. This thing is quite peculiar. Picking it at any other time will cause it to lose its spiritual properties. It must be picked at the precise moment it matures sufficiently and absorbs moonlight to bloom. Only then can its spiritual properties be preserved. Although he didn't know what it looked like when it bloomed, according to the information gathered so far, at the moment it blooms, it will exhibit self-preservation behavior, causing anyone looking at it to fall into an illusion. Therefore, picking this flower is best done as a team. At the instant the Renmian Yujin Hua blooms, a bronze mirror must be held in front of the flower. This way, the Yujin Hua's illusion will reflect back and hypnotize itself. Another person performs the picking from behind. While those two are picking the flower, the others form a 3-talon sword formation, guarding against the unknown guardian demon beast nearby. As the lantern fell, senior brother Fong's voice followed. Time is almost up. Everyone, proceed according to the previous plan. Lu Ren is responsible for the mirror, Lin Bei is responsible for picking the flower. Junior sister, stand at the Ren position guard,
watch one side. Junior brother Chu, stand at the D position guard, while watching junior sister's direction. Be responsible for defending the other direction. The Tian position will be guarded by me. Covering the Tian and D, run directions, ready to support everyone at any time.
Next, everyone must raise their spirits and be fully alert to the surroundings.
Wait for the right moment. The moonlight is about to shine on the flower. Everyone, focus. Be ready to fight the hidden guardian demon beast at any time.
At this critical moment, Chu Liang heard movement from the shadows.
Are those demons coveting the flower about to snatch it?
A shadowy figure was seen, charging towards Su Ziqing at extreme speed. It was actually a fierce tiger with wings. However, her experience was clearly insufficient. Her initial sword strike was half a beat slow. Fortunately, senior brother Fang acted in time. The powerful might of the Jinan realm directly sliced the demon beast in half.
Such power!
Chu Liang exclaimed, damn. Although this was the second time he saw a Jinan cultivator attack, he still subconsciously cursed. Just a pity, if only he could have delivered the finishing blow to this Haiban Menghu. Senior brother Fang noticed the change in his expression, immediately showing a powerful expert's expression.
Junior brother Chu, no need to sigh.
As long as you cultivate diligently, in time, you too can achieve cultivation like mine.
Chu Liang just felt a wave of awkwardness.
Senior brother Fang couldn't possibly think. My frustration was because I saw his cultivation level
and felt inferior?
But when he saw senior brother Fang's expression clearly, he showed slight admiration.
Ah, yes. Senior brother Fang is right. In the time that followed, more and more demon beasts swarmed in.
Chu Liang watched 3 demon beasts attack him, almost drooling. Saying that, he was about to use the triple power sword technique to collect the experience packs.
Just then,
the diligent senior brother Fang shouted, Junior brother Chu, don't panic.
Senior brother is here to help you. Afterwards, Chu Liang just watched helplessly as his experience packs perished under senior brother Fang's sword. Feng Lei Jian Ju.
From initial glee to being instantly petrified, Chu Liang only took 1 second to taste the great ups and downs of life. This feeling was just like a loving couple heading towards their wedding ceremony, on the verge of consummating their marriage on the wedding night.
The bride gets kidnapped by bandits. Too painful.
At this moment, senior brother Fang was like a reincarnated sword immortal, wielding the Feng Lei Jianju with fluid grace, seamless and perfect,
leaving onlookers dazzled.
In the blink of an eye, he slayed all the attacking demon beasts. Senior brother Fang placed his hands on his hips and let out a light scoff. Trash.
He thought to himself, well, your team leading senior brother is amazing, right? Hurry up and praise me.
But after waiting for a while, he didn't see the reaction he wanted. Chu Liang's expression was dim at this moment.
Helping junior sister Su kill monsters is one thing, why steal my kills too? I thought I could kill many monsters this trip. Looks like there's no hope now.
While Su Ziqing was reviewing the encounter just now, figuring out how to respond better, completely unaware of her senior brother's plea for attention, realizing that perhaps his actions just now had some issues, failing to attract the attention of his junior brother and sister, senior brother Fang, forcing down his embarrassment, spoke up.
Could junior sister Ziqing,
junior brother Chu, as long as you both cultivate diligently, in the future, it's not impossible for you to display such sword techniques. But all he got in return was Chu Liang's dead-hearted hee-hee sound, and Su Ziqing's head full of question marks.
Ah, so awkward, isn't it? Should I leave some opportunities for the junior brother and sister to show off?
Just when he was about to lose face completely, Lin Bei's voice became his life-saving straw.
Everyone, pay attention. The Yujin Hua is about to bloom.
The bright moonlight grew even brighter. The Renmian Yujin Hua's buds were slowly opening.
Lu Ren immediately aimed the bronze mirror directly in front of the flower buds.
As the flower buds changed, the sounds in the valley also became increasingly strange. Finally, the flower buds fully opened. 2 flawlessly beautiful faces, reflected in the bronze mirror. Have to say, quite sturdy. Just as the Renmian Yujin Hua was mesmerized by its own unparalleled beauty, Lin Bei raised his long sword, about to strike.
Who knew?
A hand covered in greenish-white fur suddenly appeared, grabbing towards his chest. If he hadn't timely turned his sword to block in front, he would likely be a corpse right now.
The moment Lin Bei landed, senior brother Fang recognized the identity of the figure from earlier.
It was actually a Renmian Xiao. Dealing with this type of demon beast was quite troublesome even for him. Therefore, he planned to strike first, not giving the Renmian Xiao any time to react.
one sword strike out.
But the Renmian Xiao was troublesome precisely because its speed was extremely fast. While dodging his sword strike, it didn't forget to give him a mocking smile. Then, the Renmian Xiao hugged the stalk, snapping it in an instant, leapt up, and rapidly dashed towards the valley exit. Watching helplessly as the spoils were about to be taken, senior brother Fong immediately shouted, "Demon, halt!"
Thunder Jade Sword Prison.
Golden light carried the flying sword, appearing above its head at a speed far exceeding the Renmian Xiao,
instantly splitting into several blades, trapping it in place. Everyone, my sword energy has temporarily trapped it. Seize this opportunity, let's quickly eliminate it together.
Before he could give the order, the moment the Renmian Xiao was trapped, everyone had already launched their flying swords. Who knew the Renmian Xiao once again showed a mocking smile, its figure gradually turning transparent, allowing the flying swords to pass through its body. Before Chu Liang and the others could react, the Renmian Xiao, relying on its transparent body,
directly passed through senior brother Fong's Thunder Jade Sword Prison, changing shape and fleeing towards the cliff top.
Seeing this, senior brother Fong unleashed his full Jinan realm power, stepping onto his flying sword and pursuing with all his might.
Danger ahead. I alone will pursue. You all stay here and maintain guard. It clearly had the face of an angel, yet its final form was actually a monkey? Just now,
senior brother Fong, using his Jinan realm cultivation, pursued with all his might on his flying sword,
but could only eat dust behind it.
Now, he was even led by the Renmian Xiao to the local demon king's lair. Although this demon king launched indiscriminate attacks, the Renmian Xiao, escaping with its agile movement technique, was doing much better than him, the cultivator riding a flying sword. After a while, it pulled a considerable distance away from him. Seeing the pursuit was hopeless, senior brother Fong immediately thought of Su Ziqing and his master.
A Jinan realm cultivator leading a mission and still failing? For a moment, he didn't know how to face them.
Just then, a shadow, too fast to see clearly, brushed past him.
It was Chu Liang, enhanced by the Lingmao fulu.
It turned out, ever since senior brother Fong pursued the Renmian Xiao on his sword,
Chu Liang learned the specific details about the Renmian Xiao.
It is an extremely rare mountain spirit. It forms at the moment a Renmian Yujin Hua matures, and happens to be swallowed by a ghost. That ghost will then grow a new physical body, called a Renmian Xiao.
The characteristic of this spirit is its incredible speed and agility.
Its strength is comparable to a Shinijing realm cultivator. It dared to risk snatching the treasure from a Jinan realm cultivator, likely because it reached a bottleneck. If it could bring the Renmian Yujin Hua back to its lair and successfully refine it, its cultivation would surely match the Jinan realm.
Then, the position of this generation's demon king might not be out of reach.
At this time, the Renmian Xiao, still savoring its victory, suddenly felt a chill behind it. A fast shadow was seen. A figure whose shape couldn't be clearly seen had already arrived behind it. At this moment, only one thought was in its mind: saw a ghost. But it quickly remembered it was the ghost, and the fastest ghost at that.
Nothing should be able to catch up to it.
Until Chu Liang completely appeared beside it, did it realize something was more terrifying than ghosts.
It was an indescribable sight.
A human who not only grew ears, but was also licking his own palm. A word subconsciously surfaced in its mind: pervert. There's a pervert.
Renmian Xiao was already mentally broken by Chu Liang's appearance.
It just wanted to get away from here quickly.
Absolutely cannot let this pervert catch it.
This was the side effect of the Lingmao fulu.
After using the talisman, Chu Liang would subconsciously mimic a cat demon.
His sudden change at that time had startled Su Ziqing and the others quite a bit, but it was truly effective. Not only was his speed boosted unimaginably, he also inexplicably gained a sense of thrill from chasing prey. Therefore, Chu Liang, during the pursuit of the Renmian Xiao, remained highly excited, leading to the scene of licking his palm just now.
Although the Renmian Xiao was mentally scarred, its combat instincts remained, timely turning itself transparent, dodging Chu Liang's slash. But Chu Liang wasn't discouraged by this.
Instead, under the influence of the cat spirit power, he became even more excited. This phasing ability, after the ghost became a Renmian Xiao, already belonged to its innate talent, impossible to suppress continuously.
As long as the Renmian Xiao exited the phased state, that would be his domain.
The moment the Renmian Xiao solidified, the Fuyao Shang was simultaneously cast by Chu Liang, letting it fully experience
what transcendent species bonding felt like.
It could accept dying in battle, but absolutely could not accept dying in such a humiliating posture.
Unfortunately, Chu Liang had no obligation to consider these things.
In his eyes, safely killing the demon beast was the best method, because within the cultivation world, asking about others' magic tools, talismans, pills, and techniques is highly taboo. So Chu Liang wasn't worried that using the talisman would expose the secret of the beta within him. Senior brother Fong, who witnessed the entire event, still couldn't believe his eyes even now. How did you do that? Compared to senior brother Fong, Lin Bei was more concerned about why Chu Liang's technique was so professional. Could he teach him? But noticing Su Ziqing beside him, he quickly changed technique to movement skill. Although in Su Ziqing's view, their behavior was very suspicious, being naive about the world, she could only let it go. Chu Liang then explained to everyone that he used a talisman to achieve such fast movement. As for Chu Liang possessing a magic tool like the Fuyao Shang, they didn't think too much about it. After all, Nanning Fong only had Chu Liang as its sole disciple, it was quite normal for him to have more good things. Later, led by Su Ziqing, to compensate Chu Liang for the used talisman, everyone divided the rewards of this mission among him, and mentally tagged him with the title of Shushan's model disciple. Early the next morning, on Nanning Fong. Since his master hadn't been around for 2 days, Chu Liang felt like he had become the boss of Nanning Fong, wielding great power. But even if his master returned, wasn't he still the vice peak lord? Suddenly, Chu Liang remembered something important. He came back too late last night. After parting with the Nanning Fong disciples, he went straight back to rest. He forgot to reward himself properly. Arriving inside the beta, Chu Liang looked at the golden soul spirit in the iron cage and pressed the refinement button. After understanding the reward from this refinement, Chu Liang knew he had struck gold. And not just any ordinary golden legendary item, Jotian Kuile, a puppet used to circulate the great heavenly cycle to assist cultivation. Consuming 1 Jukidan during the day, and 2 Jukidan at night, allows for non-stop cultivation all day. The resulting cultivation growth will all belong to the host. Meaning, he now had a 365-day, day and night cultivation assistant. And the most heaven-defying aspect of this puppet isn't just doubling cultivation speed. Having it allows him, during the 3 heavenly pass realms, to far surpass all cultivators of the same realm. Because among the human, earth, and heaven passes, the heaven pass competes on enlightenment. 1 moment of insight is worth decades of hard cultivation. The earth pass realms primarily compete on resources. One's own cultivation is secondary. But in the lower human pass realms, one's own hard cultivation is still the most important. In the human pass realms, body tempering refines the physical body, qi gathering expands the dantian qi si. Chu Liang's current Shini Jing realm focuses on refining divine sense. Cultivation growth at this stage relies on meditation, contemplation, and circulating energy, the so-called circulating the great heavenly cycle. But the time for cultivation each day is limited. Excluding eating, drinking, daily activities, one can cultivate at most 8 hours a day. And one cannot only cultivate true qi, there's also time needed for rest and practicing techniques. Moreover, Shushan disciples also need to do experiential tasks, exchanging tasks for magic tools and pills to aid cultivation. That being said, if one can consistently maintain 4 or 5 hours of energy circulation daily, their cultivation is already considered very diligent. And recently, he has been running tasks quite frequently. On average, he might only have 2 or 3 hours of cultivation time per day. Furthermore, cultivation time must be actual practice. Just sitting there daydreaming or slacking off won't count towards cultivation progress. But now it's different. With this big-headed doll, he can cultivate an extra 12 hours every day. The speed of cultivation growth might increase 4 or 5 times. Most importantly, he can devote more time and energy to slaying demons and eliminating evil. Thinking of this, Chu Liang hurriedly took out pills and stuffed them into the puppet's mouth. Jotian Kuile activation initiated. The cultivation technique Chu Liang currently practices is Shushan's Jotian Xuanqing Ju. Although Shushan's techniques in the cultivation world are famously unremarkable, they excel in stability and solidity. As long as one diligently cultivates to the same realm, the overall strength of a Shushan disciple often surpasses others. Now, synchronizing the technique onto the tool doll, once the doll starts running the technique and collaborates synchronously with him, then his cultivation will be doubly stable and solid, surpassing others by 2 measures. After a moment, Chu Liang completed the synchronization. Looking at the small figure before him, identical to himself, he was very satisfied. But when he took out an abacus and clicked away, a hint of difficulty appeared on his face. To ensure continuous operation for 12 hours a day, 3 Jukidan pills per day,
This consumption, though not small, isn't huge either.
Compared to the output of full-day diligent cultivation, it's definitely a huge gain. Therefore, Chu Liang made up his mind.
He absolutely cannot let the puppet stop. At worst, he'll go hunt Denglong Gui monsters to support it. Who would have thought?
The esteemed Shushan Sect, one of the Jotian immortal alliances, to ensure all disciples have flying swords for slaying demons,
actually introduced a disciple installment plan.
Not 998, not even 98. Apply now for just 50 Jianbai, and take home a brand new flying sword. It turns out, ever since Chu Liang refined the Jotian Kuile and became a vile capitalist, he started considering his shortcomings in attack power. Who knew that the flying swords in the Chuan Jiantang, the cheapest ones, started at 300 Jianbai? But upon learning he only had 50 Jianbai in assets, the senior sister at Chuan Jiantang didn't intend to let him go. She even personally, on the spot, customized a flying sword installment plan for him,
requiring only 10 Jianbai per month to take it home. Sounds cheap and practical. However, when Chu Liang calculated carefully, he realized there was a catch. Down payment of 50 Jianbai.
Each installment 10 Jianbai, 50 months of installments is 500 Jianbai.
That's almost double the price.
Therefore, he quickly made a tactical retreat. Just as he walked out of Chuan Jiantang, he bumped into Su Ziqing, who had changed into new clothes and was buying a flying sword.
Running into Chu Liang made Su Ziqing quite happy too.
Her trip down the mountain for experience was successful. Her brother specially rewarded her with a flying sword, letting her pick one herself at the Flying Sword Pavilion. Chu Liang heard this and instantly felt crushed. He worked so hard fighting monsters, only to end up worse off than someone's brother's simple words. But learning that Chu Liang was troubled about not having money for a flying sword, Su Ziqing, without a second word, offered to give him the flying sword her brother rewarded her.
Chu Liang looked at that utterly inhumane little face, reminded of an old saying from his hometown.
Women only affect the speed at which I draw my sword.
But a rich woman can get me a better sword.
Although the feeling of being sponsored by a rich woman felt good, one still has to have principles.
Chu Liang quickly refused Su Ziqing's kind offer.
A flying sword is so valuable, how can I accept it? Who knew? Upon hearing this, Su Ziqing quickly hugged his arm, a hint of displeasure showing on her small face.
Aren't we good friends? What's there not to accept?
Seeing this, Chu Liang quickly pulled his hand away. If other Nanning Fong disciples saw this, there would definitely be trouble later. No, cannot accept reward without merit. Small things like Lu Juki Dan pills are fine, but such an expensive flying sword cannot be accepted for free.
Just as Chu Liang was about to bid farewell to Su Ziqing, a hand suddenly pressed on his shoulder.
Junior sister Ziqing,
are you in trouble?
Your brother Ziliang is here to help.
I see you seem to have been rudely approached by a stranger. Do you need me to help junior sister Ziqing handle the trouble? This move completely stunned Chu Liang.
Fortunately, Su Ziqing stepped forward in time to explain to them. Senior brother Shang, you misunderstood.
This is a new friend I met on my last mission.
Hearing this, Shang Ziliang quickly changed his tone, apologized to Chu Liang, then focused back on Su Ziqing, asking if she was here to buy a flying sword.
Coincidentally, he had led a team to eliminate the Huali Jiang
water monster the day before yesterday, and his father said he would reward him with a new flying sword. He wanted to give it to Su Ziqing. As a poor commoner, Chu Liang, hearing their conversation, immediately chose to tactically retreat,
to avoid being accidentally injured by the two rich kids.
After a while, Su Ziqing grew slightly irritated by the fawning, pulled Chu Liang and was about to leave, saying there were some matters to discuss with him. Who knew Chu Liang remained silent throughout, still becoming a love rival in others' eyes after leaving, because they, on Su Ziqing and the other person, smelled a strong aura of life. If his guess was correct, that should be the scent adults have after fighting in bed. Meanwhile, on the other side, Su Ziqing was introducing Chu Liang to that bootlicker from earlier.
That Shang Ziliang just now is the son of Sect Master Shang from Yunyafeng.
He always relies on his father being the Peak Lord,
acting as if he's so formidable.
So Su Ziqing has never liked him,
but he insists on sticking close to me. So annoying. Yunyafeng's Peak Lord, Shang Shuan.
Chu Liang had also heard many stories about him. This person is a Confucian cultivator, once nominated in the Jiangnan Junzitang,
also considered famous throughout the Jianghu.
But that senior brother Shang just now didn't seem to take after his father much. Suddenly, a series of explosions echoed in the sky. Chu Liang immediately recognized it. It was his master's signature special effect. Quickly apologized to Su Ziqing,
rode his flying sword to greet his master. Watching Chu Liang leave, Su Ziqing was stunned for a good while.
They hadn't talked for long before he left. Inside the main hall of Nanning Fong, Di Feng was angrily cursing the Panglai sect. But, upon seeing Chu Liang, she still showed concern for her own disciple, asking if he had been bullied while she was away these 2 days. No, disciple went on another mission, which went quite smoothly.
Master, was your trip successful?
Thinking of this trip to slay demons, Di Feng became angry. At that time, she was searching the East Sea for any misbehaving demons. That group from the Panglai High Sect insisted on jumping out, saying I was disrupting the East Sea's ecology, insisting on driving me away. If it weren't for considering the entire Shushan sect, I would have definitely squared off against that damn #1 immortal sect. Who would have thought, both being chief disciples, Chu Liang not only had to go down the mountain himself for cultivation resources, even his cultivation level was at the bottom among his peers. Now, after struggling hard for over 10 years, he found he couldn't even afford the cheapest flying sword, while the Yujian Fong junior sister next door just went down the mountain for a novice task, not only received rewards from her master, even her flying sword was gifted by her loving brother.
Today, he finally knew the truth behind his Ying Jianfeng's poverty.
With the return of Master Di Feng, Chu Liang chose to meet her immediately.
As for Di Feng,
casually mentioning searching for demons in the East Sea, and finally being gently persuaded away by the Panglai immortal sect,
Chu Liang was the first to disbelieve. Based on his understanding of his master, when demons were causing trouble, Di Feng could help you clear the danger.
When there were no demons causing trouble, Di Feng herself was the danger. Probably stirring up the seas caused trouble in the East Sea, alerting the people from Panglai. That's why they stepped in to stop her.
Panglai High Sect is also one of the Jotian immortal sects. Their territory is right there in the East Sea area.
Naturally, they wouldn't allow her to cause such chaos on their doorstep.
Their actions were reasonable and justified.
Although Panglai High Sect's actions were reasonable, it doesn't stop me from providing emotional support for my master.
The people from Panglai High Sect are too impolite.
Just as Di Feng finished hearing Chu Liang's words, she felt something wasn't quite right.
Based on her understanding of her disciple,
it's impossible he would come back to greet her immediately.
Say, brat, do you have something to ask me?
Hearing this, Chu Liang tactically poked his fingers together.
Isn't it proper for a disciple to greet their master?
It's just that. The disciple also happens to have some matters to discuss with master. As he finished, Di Feng looked Chu Liang over with interest,
letting him continue. Disciple, on this mission, happened to travel with people from Yujian Fong.
Among them was a disciple at the early Jinan realm,
whose cultivation far surpasses mine. The flying sword techniques he used were immensely powerful. And this person isn't even considered a main force of Yujian Fong. Disciple is somewhat worried. How to compete with them during the Shushan summit.
Di Feng listened and waved her hand slightly. Chu Liang, there's still time to become stronger.
You must believe in yourself.
Little did she know, Chu Liang had already predicted his master would say this. When the Shushan headmaster initially forbade master from taking disciples, besides seeing her mischievous personality, it was mostly because she was a body cultivator. Body cultivators differ from martial cultivators. They use Taoist methods to cultivate the physical body.
Not practicing martial arts, only focusing on a powerful physique. Masters Qi Yin Shinuang Fati, achieving the Tao through body cultivation, its power is undoubtedly terrifying. However, body cultivators are extremely rare, requiring many coincidences and opportunities to succeed. What she cultivates simply cannot be passed down to disciples. However, the way Shushan disciples acquire techniques, besides inheritance from masters, there's also the Hufatang.
If one wants to practice techniques even the master hasn't grasped, just go by them directly from the Hufatang.
So the purpose of seeking master this time is only one, Disciple still has time to become stronger.
So disciple was thinking about how to enhance myself.
Besides diligent cultivation to improve my level,
disciple also has few mastered techniques and spells. So, I wish to ask master to teach me some more powerful techniques. Hearing her disciple ask her to teach techniques, Di Feng was stunned for a moment.
Disciple, did you wake up too suddenly? Still haven't recovered? Your master is a body cultivator. What techniques do I have to teach you?
Chu Liang spoke with a smile. So disciple wants to go to the Hufatang to buy some.
Di Feng frowned. Then just go buy them.
Suddenly, Chu Liang knelt on the spot, handing both hands towards his master's black silk stockings.
Isn't the disciple just short on funds? Di Feng finally understood.
Her disciple said so much, turns out he was after her wallet.
Seeing a chance, Chu Liang put more effort into his acting. This is all for Master's grand ambition. Chu Liang actually hit the mark on this point.
Di Feng indeed cared a lot about this bet. She could help Chu Liang get some pills and magic tools, but asking for money, she really didn't have any.
Chu Liang was clearly unconvinced. Master's monthly allowance in Shushan isn't low, right? Besides, didn't they say peak lords get extra funding?
Then Chu Liang thought back to his childhood.
Nanning Fong always seemed poor.
Growing up used to it, he didn't think much of it. Later, when he grew up and saw other peaks were very wealthy, he inevitably found it strange. Especially since Nanning Fong only had him as a disciple, there was no issue of resource allocation. Even if Master could give a little pocket money each month, saving it up should have been enough to buy a flying sword. At this time, Di Feng sighed deeply and revealed the truth. Not only is she currently penniless, she also owes a large sum of external debt.
Amidst Chu Liang's shocked expression, Di Feng picked up her wine gourd.
You think the wine that can make someone of my cultivation level drunk?
Is it that easy to buy? This Zui Xian Yang, one gourd costs 500 yen buy.
And so, Chu Liang's worldview collapsed. This wine he had been seeing his master drink since childhood, turns out one gourd costs as much as a flying sword.
This isn't alcoholism, this is clearly drinking money.
After saying this, Di Feng was completely unaware of Chu Liang's inner turmoil, and even proudly said she owned nothing but external debt. Chu Liang silently looked at his master for a good while, finally walking out of the main hall with a worried expression.
Plan to get money, major failure. Looks like from now on, I can only rely on myself.
Who would have thought, the main culprit making me poor since childhood was actually my most respected master. Luckily Chu Liang gathered the courage today to ask for money for a flying sword, otherwise, he would never have known his entire life. The wine his master usually drank cost 500 yen by per gourd. You know, a flying sword is only 300 yen by each. Since he could remember, he never sought his master without the wine gourd in hand.
How many flying swords is that?
If master could drink one less gourd each month, he might have been the second generation immortal his peers talked about.
Of course, this was just Chu Liang's fantasy.
Getting his master to quit drinking, it might be simpler to have himself annihilated for 7 generations.
But just then, Lin Bei's appearance gave Chu Liang hope. Brother Chu, you're finally back. I know of a task with a generous reward right now.
It requires 2 Shini Jing realm disciples with superb cultivation, sharp minds,
and dashing looks to complete together. I immediately thought, throughout Shushan, it must be you and me. Hearing this, Chu Liang was overjoyed and quickly asked for the location. Lin Bei responded with a hearty laugh. Yanjiao Chang, Nanshan Shuyuan. Time flies.
Late at night, outside Yanjiao Chang, at Nanshan Shuyuan, 2 sneaky figures hurried through the woods. Brother Xiao, recently no one dares come near this lake anymore.
Why did you insist on meeting me here? Isn't this where Situ Yan committed suicide?
The other person replied, to completely resolve this matter,
we can only come here.
Just then, a cold wind blew by the lake, sending chills down the spine of the scholar walking ahead. Suddenly, a black shadow flashed past behind him. The scholar quickly turned to look, seeing nothing, silently comforted himself it was just the wind. Only then did he reply to his companion beside him.
I don't know what there is to resolve. If you ask me,
this matter clearly has nothing to do with me.
When you guys bullied that Situ Yan back then, I barely participated. At most, I called her ugly monster twice. Now that she's dead, what can be done? Yes, you didn't do much. Then do you still recognize me?
As soon as these words were spoken, the timid scholar turned pale with fright.
Shouting loudly, Wu Xiaoan, what are you trying to do? If there's nothing else,
I'm not staying with you in this haunted place.
Worst case, I'll move my family out of Yanjiaocheng tomorrow.
Save myself the fear and worry.
Wu Xiaoan didn't answer, just slowly turned the other half of his face. Zhang Tong, do you really not recognize me? Wu Xiaoan's face was seen cracking bit by bit, revealing a withered and ugly face. Situ Yan. Situ Yan.
The scholar named Zhang Tong had already collapsed to the ground, muttering spare me while getting up and running into the woods,
wanting to get away from that lake.
He didn't know how long he ran. Exhausted, he finally stopped,
panting heavily.
As he wiped the sweat from his forehead, muttering escaped, suddenly his hand lost control, gripping his own neck tightly. Tried and failed to break free, Zhang Tong begged Situ Yan again to let him go. However, besides the cold laughter echoing around him, and the sound of his neck snapping, nothing else. At this time, within Yanjiaochang, the sun shone brightly. Shu Liang didn't understand why a haunting at Nanshan Shuyuan required them, Shushan disciples, to resolve. Although Yanjiaochang is near Shushan, ordinary ghost cases are often handled by Shushan sect disciples. But Taoism, Buddhism, and Confucianism are distinct. Matters of the academy seem to belong to Confucianism. Lin Bei from Xiaozhiguan smiled unchangingly and replied, hey.
Temple affairs belong to Buddhism. Academy affairs naturally belong to Confucianism. Of course, we won't overstep boundaries. We are only responsible for protecting an academy student. Brother Chu, we've arrived. Master Li is a well-known wealthy household in Yanjiaochang.
His only son, Li Ju, studies at Nanshan Shuyuan. Recently, Nanshan Shuyuan has been haunted, and 2 students have already died. He's worried about his son, so he asked our Shushan to send someone to protect his son for a period. Once this ghost case is resolved, our mission is considered complete. After hearing Lin Bei, Shu Liang felt quite disappointed. Turns out it's being a private bodyguard. He only heard Lin Bei say it was a high-paying task, didn't ask clearly and just followed along. This trip probably won't involve fighting demons. But thinking about Lin Bei mentioning payment calculated by the day, Shu Liang felt somewhat comforted.
Suddenly felt,
after finishing this job, getting a flying sword wasn't such a distant matter after all.
Because immortal cultivation sects often interact with the mortal world, mortal offerings of gold and silver can also support sect operations.
Assisting in producing the currency exchange rate between immortal and mortal realms would likely shock people in the previous world. Being able to hire immortal sect disciples with gold and silver, this Li family is indeed wealthy enough.
After a moment,
Shu Liang and the other received a warm welcome from the entire Li family,
and were given many introductory gifts.
Unlike the naturally sociable Lin Bei, when Shu Liang looked at the Li family's only son, Li Ju, whom they were to protect, he felt the boy was hiding many worries.
As Shushan's coolest guy, Shu Liang, right after debuting, single-handedly soloed 2 large demons.
Furthermore, under the leadership of a Jinan senior brother, turned the tide, successfully capturing the heart of the rich junior sister. Now, due to his own master's spendthrift ways, he was reluctantly acting as a hired hand for mortals. Master Li informed Lin Bei he had arranged for the 2 of them, the identity of academy students, to provide close protection for his son.
Hearing this, Lin Bei was quite puzzled, saying these requirements were naturally no problem, but could he ask why?
Master Li listened and told Lin Bei with slight panic, this is rather hard to explain. Shu Liang observed this scene,
thinking, asking for protection but not wanting outsiders to know? What are they feeling guilty about?
Nanshan Shuyuan, on the southwest land where Confucianism isn't particularly prosperous,
is one of the few famous academies.
Although historically it hasn't produced a Zhuang Yuan, top scholar, or Bang Yan, second scholar, it did achieve the Tanhua, third scholar, position. Although later the Tanhua scholar was imprisoned, Nanshan Shuyuan also lost some glory. But this place is still the top choice for the children of officials and nobles in Yanjiaochang. Today, Nanshan Shuyuan welcomed a new student.
Fellow classmates, let us welcome student Shu Liang to join our Gengzi band.
After the introduction, the teacher told Shu Liang to find an empty seat himself.
Shu Liang looked around and chose the seat next to Li Yu.
Lin Bei wanted to follow, but was stopped by the teacher, told the book attendant shouldn't go further in,
just wait outside, making him feel quite awkward.
Before leaving, he glared fiercely at Shu Liang, transmitting via voice, asking why, both coming to the academy, he is the student,
while I am the book attendant?
Shu Liang helplessly told him, probably just different temperaments.
Roles aren't divided by status, right? The identity of a book attendant is more convenient for gathering information. Go inquire more within the book attendant circle. Maybe you can find news about this ghost case.
After hearing this, Lin Bei was persuaded and accepted his current identity. Due to his unique social butterfly attribute, Lin Bei quickly blended into the small group of book attendants. Conversely, Shu Liang during class break was extremely relaxed, enjoying this long-missed feeling of attending class.
Earth within will let you boy be capable, huh? Good at sports, right? Good at cards and chess, right? Very good at games, huh? Now you're satisfied?
Such an important thing as the college entrance exam.
You only ranked 3rd in the province. Shu Liang, Shu Liang, what are you thinking about playing these? Shu Liang looked at Li Ju beside him. There shouldn't be any accidents in the academy first. Let's see if I can strike up a conversation.
But before he could finish thinking, Shu Liang suddenly noticed
A girl was staring at him with an infatuated expression, asking where he came from. Chu Liang casually made up a reason for himself, telling the girl he was originally from Chang, due to family reasons. The whole family moved over, so he had no choice but to come here. Hearing this, the girl continued to stare at him infatuatedly, saying Nanshan Shuyuan is quite good, ranking among the top in this southwest region. Seeing the topic opened, Chu Liang immediately introduced his question, saying he thought so too before. But after arriving, he suddenly became a little worried. Heard that this academy has been haunted recently? The girl was stunned for a moment first, then looked left and right, checking the surroundings. Seeing no one else nearby, only then did she quietly tell Chu Liang, telling him not to be afraid, only those few bad guys. Only then would be possible. Afterwards, Chu Liang obtained information on the 3 bullies. Suddenly, a loud voice rang out. Li Chuanxia! A tall man came up behind the girl, saying, "Are you being mouthy again?" Then came before Chu Liang, telling him sternly, "Just attend school. Just don't go snooping around." Yan Xiaohu, who are you yelling at again? The woman's gentle voice carried a hint of sternness. Yan Xiaohu nervously called out, "Teacher Song," quickly and obediently returned to his original seat. Chu Liang looked at the woman before him, very surprised in his heart. This academy teacher was actually so young. Teacher Song walked to Li Yu's side and woke him, her voice gentle. As Teacher Song announced the start of class, the male students who previously looked half dead immediately became spirited, drawing Chu Liang's scorn. The teacher from the previous class couldn't even wake them with shouts, but this Teacher Song, with a soft, "Let's start class," the whole class acted like they were on stimulants. At this moment, Teacher Song also noticed this new student. She introduced herself. Her name was Song Qingyi. She was Nanshan Shiyuan's poetry teacher. Chu Liang, at this time also sensed this Teacher Song was extraordinary. Although Song Qingyi was young, her foundation was deep. Her lecture throughout the class was profound yet easy to understand, quite interesting. During the lunch break after class, Chu Liang asked Lin Bei how his inquiries went. That Teacher Song is named Song Qingyi, from Jiangnan. She just arrived at Nanshan Shuyuan a few days ago. About 18 or 19 years old, similar age to us. Unmarried. Chu Liang heard this with a puzzled expression, not knowing why Lin Bei was telling him this. Time slowly passed. Lin Bei also realized the atmosphere was wrong. Gave a tactical cough, said his main task was still investigating the ghost case. Regarding the recent haunting at Nanshan Shuyuan, there are indeed many rumors. It's said it started with a girl named Situ Yan. Because she was bullied in the classroom, she drowned herself in the lake in the back hills. Chu Liang murmured Situ Yan's name. Then, 7 days after Situ Yan died, 2 more student bodies were found in the coral reef. Their deaths were extremely tragic and terrifying. Now the classroom rumor is that Situ Yan's ghost turned into a resentful spirit, came back to take revenge on the classmates who bullied her before. After hearing Lin Bei, Chu Liang told him if it was a resentful spirit causing trouble, then the matter wouldn't be difficult. But recalling the words and actions of the Li father and son earlier, still felt suspicious. Why was Li Yu so afraid? Could it be he also bullied Situ Yan before? After Chu Liang finished analyzing, Lin Bei dismissed it, saying, with Li Yu's introverted look, he can bully people? He's more likely to be the one getting bullied, right? As if to prove his words, Li Yu was pinned against the wall right in front of them. Remained silent at this moment, very skillfully took out silver from his sleeve. Seeing the silver obtained, Yan Xiaohu didn't trouble him further. Lin Lei saw this and asked Chu Liang if they should go help. Chu Liang told him, judging by Li Yu's practiced manner of taking out money, it was clearly not the first day he was bullied. If they rashly intervene now, it might instead expose their relationship with Li Yu. Besides, they don't know much about that Yan Xiaohu either. Let's not create extra trouble first, lest we delay the main business. Lin Bei was persuaded by Chu Liang, said as long as these people don't provoke him. Otherwise. Before his voice faded, slap, a sound echoed beside his ear. Lin Bei felt like someone had lightly patted his head. Because of his book attendance status, Yan Xiaohu ignored him, instead came before Chu Liang, saying he just arrived at Nanshan Shuyuan. Didn't know the rules here. To live peacefully here, one must pay 5 liang of silver per month as protection fee. Hearing about paying 5 liang of silver, Lin Bei instantly got angry. This amount is enough for an ordinary family to live on for several months. Even if Nanshan Shuyuan is full of princesses from wealthy families, this is indeed quite something, such a lion's mouth. The next second, the stone table cracked under his palm strike. Said paying 5 liang of silver is no different from robbery.
However, this scene didn't scare the guest, instead, another punch, saying, "So what if you can smash that stone table?"
Stop pretending. Don't you know who his young master is? At this moment, Lin Bei's face flushed slightly, saying, "Was it you who hit my head just now, huh?"
Seeing he was about to strike,
Shu Liang quickly stopped him.
Then took out 10 liang of silver, said he'll pay for 2 months first. "From now on, please take care of me, brother Xiaohu."
With the name received, Yan Xiaohu's attitude immediately changed. Told Shu Liang as long as he mentioned his name, guaranteed he could walk sideways in the Nanshan Shuyuan territory.
After brother Xiaohu finished speaking dominantly, Shu Liang asked if outside Nanshan Shuyuan,
"Can brother Xiaohu still cover for him in Yanjiaochang?"
Yan Xiaohu opened his mouth. A guest beside him told Shu Liang, his young master is the young master of the Heihu Bang.
And the Heihu Bang is protected by the Jin Bang. As long as you follow their young master, the entire Yanjiaochang is his to dominate.
After obtaining the desired information, Shu Liang, through a barrage of flattery, sent Yan Xiaohu off. However, Lin Bei beside him was still fuming, saying those people were at most equivalent to the body tempering realm.
He could take care of them in a few moves. Why didn't he let him fight?
Hearing this, Shu Liang told him not to rush, first, find out the background of this Heihu Bang clearly.
It wouldn't be too late to make a move then. As for the 10 liang of silver just now, just find Master Li for reimbursement.
Jin Bang, also known as Sihai Jin Bang, ranked among the 10 lands. And among the 9 heavens and 10 lands.
It's the only one that's a gang rather than a sect.
Yet it can stand alongside numerous immortal sections.
Its strength can be imagined.
Under its command, gang members spread across the 4 seas, numbering hundreds of thousands, dominating waterways, docks, and many other businesses.
Truly a behemoth.
If this Heihu Bang really has connections with the Jin Bang, no wonder Yan Xiaohu is so arrogant.
But now, let's check on Liyu's situation first. After thinking, Shu Liang entered the classroom again, asking Liyu if he needed their help with Yan Xiaohu. Liyu shook his head, saying he was already used to it.
Rather, he should leave first, lest people see their relationship. But just as Shu Liang returned to his seat, heard Liyu muttering something quietly.
"It doesn't matter to me. Anyway, he won't live long."
"What did you just say?" Shu Liang looked at him. Liyu quickly shook his head, claiming he said nothing. Shu Liang remained silent upon hearing this. He guessed this Liyu must know something.
The afternoon passed quickly. Lin Bei also investigated the background of the Heihu Bang thoroughly.
Told Shu Liang this Heihu Bang claims to be under the Jin Bang, but it's actually just using the name, probably wanting to ride on connections.
Never seen the Jin Bang participate in their affairs.
In Yanjiaochang, it is indeed considered a large gang. There are dozens of martial cultivators in the gang, but mostly first stage. There are a few second stage hall masters.
Only the gang leader is a third stage martial artist. Shu Liang nodded inwardly after hearing this.
If a gang can sustain dozens of finger pointing, where to hit martial cultivators long term,
and has a third stage expert overseeing, it's indeed not weak.
But for him, that was all it was.
So Lin Bei saw Shu Liang looking left and right.
Upon seeing Yan Xiaohu and his group, his face immediately lit up with joy. Then he greeted them with extreme excitement. At this moment, Lin Bei also understood Shu Liang's meaning. At this moment, Yan Xiaohu was unaware danger had arrived.
Still thinking Shu Liang was a smart person, worth recruiting as a follower.
Shu Liang smiled grimly.
Said didn't he ask him earlier to inquire about the Heihu Bang? He went to inquire.
Yan Xiaohu heard this, looked at Shu Liang suspiciously, asking, "So what now?" "So now we're taking the money back," Shu Liang responded. Who would have thought the famous demon-catching duo of Shushan, not only poor enough to act as bodyguards for mortals, now, even for 10 liang of silver, beating up academy students in the street.
Song Qingyi was walking down the road.
Suddenly heard noise from the side, and students heading there one after another. Hearing the miserable cries coming from New York, he realized students might be fighting,
and immediately followed.
The students noticed it was their teacher, began making way one by one.
Soon, Song Qingyi learned from them it was Yan Xiaohu, and an unfamiliar new student clashing.
Hearing it was Yan Xiaohu, Song Qingyi subconsciously assumed he was bullying the new student, quickly told him to stop.
Said bullying and beating classmates is not allowed.
If he didn't stop, she would call the dean to expel him.
However, when she angrily walked into the center of the crowd, she was completely dumbfounded.
Yan Xiaohu, known as the campus bully, was now lying on the ground like a dead dog.
His face beaten so badly even his own mother wouldn't recognize him. Sobbing that he had stopped long ago, not daring to even hit back once. He was beaten like this, yet she still wanted to expel him. Song Qingyi immediately sensed something was wrong. Yan Xiaohu, as Nanshan Shuyuan's little tyrant, and always accompanied by 2 gang thugs with martial cultivation, who could beat him up like this? Thinking of this, she immediately looked into the crowd, only to see those 2 martial thugs with cultivation, now holding their own ears with both hands, kneeling motionless behind Yan Xiaohu. Seeing this, Song Qingyi became even more confused. Where did the attacker go? Not only engaging in mass brawling within academy grounds, but also attempting to flee the scene, right? Thinking of this, she felt a little angry. Shouted loudly, "Who was fighting just now? Stand out!" At this moment, the academy teacher's authority was fully displayed, speechless. Seeing Teacher Song was angry, the students all retreated. Soon, only 2 figures remained. Large beads of sweat rolled down his cheeks. Shu Liang sighed inwardly. These Nanshan Shuyuan students have such tacit understanding. Then quickly explained to Song Qingyi, saying it was because he just arrived. Yan Xiaohu actually demanded 10 liang of silver protection fee from him. So he had no choice but to resist, violating academy rules. Please punish me, Teacher Song. After hearing this, Song Qingyi felt frustrated. Her scolding words hadn't even been spoken yet, blocked by Chu Liang's words. Now she couldn't even say them. The more she thought, the angrier she got. Finally, she could only force out one sentence. Said no matter what, fighting is not allowed in the academy. Seeing this, Chu Liang wasn't flustered, told Song Qingyi he also originally wanted to pay to settle the matter peacefully. But his book attendant was too indignant, and ended up fighting with the other 3. He will definitely punish him severely. Lin Bei wanted to flare up. Chu Liang immediately gave him a look. The next second, Lin Bei suddenly started clutching his wrist and wailing, said he seemed to have broken a bone, needed urgent medical attention. Chu Liang also followed suit, embodying an award-winning actor, told Song Qingyi he needed to take Lin Bei for medical treatment. Although Song Qingyi was atmosphere, she wasn't stupid. Now that the 2 gave her a way out, she didn't pursue it further. Agreed to let Chu Liang and the others go seek medical treatment respectively. Finished speaking, looked at Yan Xiaohu again, told him to come to the classroom tomorrow. She would then have the dean punish them. In the end, the victim was completely unharmed, while the perpetrator was beaten beyond recognition by his own mother. The attackers found that their young master seemed unconscious, wanted to quickly take him to the clinic. Suddenly called to stop. The 2 who left had now circled back, telling them to come over. The 2 attackers froze instantly, instinctively grabbing their ears. Shu Liang told them not to be so nervous, said they weren't unreasonable people either, then reached out and asked Lin Bei for a jian bai. Then, with a warm smile, told them this was for Yan Xiaohu's medical expenses. Remember to personally deliver it to their gang leader. After the 3 left, Lin Bei wondered why give them a jian bai. Shu Liang explained, jian bai is their Shushan's unique currency. After Yan Xiaohu's father sees it, he probably won't come looking for trouble anymore. Then why give his jian bai? Lin Bei wondered. Shu Liang cleverly stated his money was useful. Time flies. At night, Shu Liang stood behind Liu. Through Lin Bei's inquiries, he learned Liu used to study very diligently, but recently, for some unknown reason, he remained in a state of distraction. Only then did Liu notice someone extra behind him. Asked when Shu Liang arrived without saying anything. Soon, a silver ingot appeared on the table. Shu Liang told Liu this was the money he helped get back from Yan, Tiger's money back. From now on, you probably won't have to give it anymore. However, Liu showed no sign of happiness, just simply thanked Shu Liang. Shu Liang immediately responded, saying cultivators practicing chivalry is simply part of their duty. But there's one thing I still need to ask clearly. Why did you say Yan Xiaohu won't live long? Hearing this question, Liu was stunned for a moment, then looked at Shu Liang with some hesitation. Shu Liang noticed the change in his expression, immediately asked if it was because of Situ Yan. Liu lowered his head, saying he didn't know. After hearing this, Shu Liang said he knew. Is it because you used to bully Situ Yan? So that's why you know? This sentence seemed to hit Liu's sore spot. He abruptly stood up, telling Shu Liang not to ask anymore. Shu Liang didn't panic because of his reaction, just told Liu his father spent a lot of money to hire them to protect him. Every extra day they stay, the more money is spent. Solving this matter early is definitely good for you. After hearing this, Liu fell into a brief silence. Seeing this, Shu Liang asked again, the murderous resentful spirit, is it Situ Yan? Liu didn't refuse Chu Liang anymore, saying it should be her. Then you're so scared, is it because you bullied her too? Shu Liang asked. Hearing this, Liu very firmly told Shu Liang he had never bullied Situ Yan. Then Li Yu told Chu Liang a story. Situ Yan was an ordinary girl.
She wasn't beautiful, but her family was well off, living comfortably. She could have lived a sufficiently happy and fulfilling life. Unfortunately, 2 years ago, a big fire occurred in Situ Yan's home. Although she escaped the fire, half of her face was burned, leaving behind an ugly scar that could never fade.
Ever since Situ Yan was disfigured, the classmates in Gangzi Ban were afraid of her appearance.
Although she would cover her face with a veil, and keep thick hair covering the left half of her face, it couldn't completely hide it after all. A few mischievous classmates started bullying her often, wanting to force her to leave Nanshan Shuyuan. Zhang Tong would loudly call her ugly monster every day. Wu Shaoan often threw paper balls at her. Chen De knew she was particularly afraid of fire since then, yet often scared her with burning straw.
Yan Xiao, Tiger would demand 5 liang of silver from her every month. Situ Yan thought about giving up, not wanting to go to the academy anymore.
It was Li Yu who encouraged her at this time. The classmates either bullied her, or didn't dare look her in the eye.
Only Li Yu treated her genuinely well.
The usually quiet Li Yi and Situ Yan, who gradually became withdrawn after being burned,
instead seemed to have a kind of mutual understanding between kindred spirits.
He would encourage Situ Yan to bravely come to the academy, help her catch up on missed lessons, and when those bullies bullied her, stand up and speak righteously for her. Although, the result was often that he also became the target of bullying. Before Situ Yan was burned, their friendship was superficial. After she was burned, they became good friends. Li Yu thought that this way, he could slowly help Situ Yan pull herself together. But he didn't expect, one day when they were reading by the lake together, he unknowingly fell asleep. Woke up to find himself tied up by Situ Yan. When he realized something was wrong, the situation had already developed in a bad direction.
Situ Yan took out a small knife, aiming it at Li Yu.
Her eyes glinted with a frightening light.
Situ Yan said she had fallen in love with Li Yu.
As long as she scarred Li Yu's face, making him a monster too, then they could be together forever. Li Yu tried to dissuade her, but Situ Yan seemed hysterical, completely ignoring his words, just wanting him to become the same ugly monster. Thanks to Li Ju struggling frantically, he finally broke free just before her knife reached him. He pushed Situ Yan away, cursed her as a lunatic, then turned and fled, never daring to look back again.
However, the next day,
he found Situ Yan's seat empty. Only then learned Situ Yan had drowned herself in the lake.
Li Yu was confused.
He didn't know if he was right or wrong. Why did treating her sincerely all along result in such a return? That cursed lunatic, was it the last straw that broke her?
After 7 days, the bodies of Wu Shaoan and Zhang Tong were also found in the lake.
People in the academy were guessing if Situ Yan's resentful soul had returned for revenge.
Li Yu also thought so. It must be her return.
Everyone who bullied her would face retribution, but he didn't know if he would become a target of Situ Yan's revenge, so he's very scared. After hearing this story, Shu Liang said nothing and walked straight out of the room.
Lin Bei asked him how it went.
Shu Liang told him that since Zhang Tong and Wu Shaoan died, Chinda hadn't been to the academy,
hiding at home all along.
Yan Xiao, who acted as usual at the time, only he probably won't be able to go out for the next 2 days either.
If Situ Yan turned into a resentful spirit, she would likely still be around the lake in the academy's back hills.
Up here.
After saying this, Shu Liang planned to go check the lakeside, leaving things here temporarily to Lin Bei. Situ Yan had no cultivation before she died.
Even if turned into a resentful spirit, she shouldn't be hard to deal with. With this thought, Shu Liang immediately used Yufeng Shu, headed towards the small lake in the back hills of the academy. However, just as he landed, he sensed something wasn't right. Therefore, he decided to hide first, waiting quietly for the snake to come out of its hole would be fine.
Suddenly, a figure flitted through the forest, finally stopping by the lake.
Seeing this, Shu Liang immediately spread his divine sense. According to his scan, it seemed to be a woman's back. Then, Shu Liang rushed out from the midst, wanting to take down the female ghost in one move. The next second, he discovered, the figure by the lake had already disappeared. Shu Liang was very puzzled. Even a ghost couldn't possibly disappear without reason. And there wasn't a trace of Yin energy around. Just then, movement was suddenly heard from above. Instantly, the sound of metal clashing rang out. Shu Liang looked up to investigate, discovered the attack came from a Yuchi, Jade Ruler. That figure was repelled by him. Based on the brief clash just now, Shu Liang saw the opponent's cultivation was similar to his own. But the quality of the Yuchi undoubtedly far surpassed the flying sword in his hand. Moreover, the strike just now was filled with righteous energy, unlike a ghost.
But just after thinking this, Chu Liang let out a surprised exclamation. "It's you?" Seeing the person opposite was Chu Liang, Song Qingyi was also quite shocked, tentatively calling out Chu Liang.
She was the dream lover of the male students, and also the most popular teacher in the academy.
Even the most mischievous students, in her presence, would become obedient good babies. Yet today she was teased by a new student. Song Qingyi tentatively called out Chu Liang. Hearing the response, Chu Liang retracted his flying sword.
But while surprised, he was also confused.
Song Qingyi during the daytime, her chest didn't seem this magnificent.
Growing so much in just half a night was truly strange. As Song Qingyi approached, both simultaneously asked if the other was also a cultivator.
Time suddenly fell into a brief silence.
But just as they opened their mouths, the two asked the same question again.
"What are you doing here?" Song Qingyi's cheeks puffed slightly, telling Chu Liang not to copy her words.
Facing this teacher not much older than himself.
"Teacher," Chu Liang smiled and let her speak first. Hearing this, Song Qingyi's eyes showed superiority, said she felt something was off about him earlier. What cultivator was he? Chu Liang didn't hide it either, stated his identity and this mission. "Teacher Song?" Song Qingyi told Chu Liang, she came from Jiangnan Junzi Tang. A ghost case appeared in Nanshan Shuyuan.
It should naturally be resolved by them, the Confucian practitioners. Just worried about alerting the enemy, the situation was unclear, so she entered the school under the identity of a teacher. Hearing this, Chu Liang immediately clasped his fist to apologize. As a Shushan disciple, he indeed shouldn't interfere in this matter,
but entrusted by others, loyal to the task.
Afterwards, after a simple exchange, Chu Liang learned Song Qingyi had already been staking out this Lakeside for 2 days.
Until today, seeing him acting suspiciously, that's why she attacked, hoping he wouldn't mind. Chu Liang told him it was all right. Since their goals were the same, could they perhaps share the information they obtained? Song Qingyi didn't refuse, asking what he wanted to know. Hearing this, Chu Liang didn't hold back, said he wanted to know if Song Qingyi wore a chest binder earlier. Why was the difference between day and night so significant?
Song Qingyi subconsciously recalled, because she was afraid during class, it would seem slightly undignified like this.
So she realized something was slightly wrong. Blushing, she angrily shouted at Chu Liang, "Why talk to her about this?
If there's nothing related to the ghost case to say, just hurry back."
Chu Liang scratched his cheek embarrassedly, said he was just a little curious.
Only then did he return to the main topic.
Asked Song Qingyi about the deaths of those 2 students, whether it was the resentful spirits doing. Song Qingyi responded, the state was miserable.
Heavy energy present, confirming it was a ghost killing.
Just that she always felt it wasn't like a resentful spirit, and like some higher level ghost. Chu Liang also felt the same.
Resentful spirits have low intelligence, impossible to lure people to the lakeside to kill them.
Moreover, consecutively twice. An ordinary person without cultivation, the strength of their soul is very limited.
Even if resentment is deep after death, at most, they become a slightly stronger resentful spirit.
If anyone could become a powerful ghost with unlimited strength, wouldn't that mean intentions could directly take flight?
A higher level ghost either becomes one after turning into a ghost and continues to grow stronger through opportunities in cultivation,
or possessed cultivation before death. A strong soul is certain.
Situ Yan, who died recently, clearly doesn't meet these 2 conditions. Therefore, Song Qingyi believed another ghost committed the crime.
It's also possible a demonic cultivator is causing trouble.
Hearing this, Chu Liang also agreed.
Some demonic path cultivators specialize in refining souls with deep resentment, making them tools or weapons for their cultivation. The methods are cruel and harmful to human harmony.
Like the currently prominent demonic path sect, Ming Zong has many methods relying on heroic souls for cultivation.
After thinking this,
the 2 exchanged information. Song Qingyi learned that among those who bullied Situ Yan, only Di and Xiao are still alive. He plans to go check on both of them tomorrow. Among the 9 heavens and 10 earths, there are only 2 Confucian sects. One is Shanglong Shuyuan, backed by the imperial court, using the entire Yu dynasty as a base to cultivate talent.
The other is the relatively independent Junzi Tang. Jinan Junzi Tang was initially founded by several great Confucian scholars.
At that time, several contemporary great Confucian scholars often discussed studies and exchanged knowledge on Jiangnan's Yanyu Tower.
It became a celebrated story for a time. Then someone suggested, simply name this place Junzi Tang. Since then, Junzi Tang became a hall of honor for Confucianism. Anyone whose character and learning and cultivation are recognized as a Confucian gentleman
can be nominated in the Junzi Tang, passed down to later generations. Immortal fame for myriad ages.
Countless Confucian students aim for nomination in Junzi Tang as their life goal. Gradually,
Jinan Junzi Tang also developed its own inheritance, becoming one of the 10 land sects.
Lin Bei, upon learning Song Qingyi was from Junzi Tang, was quite shocked.
Shu Liang told him now the academy matter belongs to Confucianism, they probably don't need to worry too much.
The next day, Academy lunch break, Academy News Edition.
Lin Bei was extremely shocked.
Chen De is dead. Shu Liang asked Song Qingyi, "Can you tell me the specifics?" Song Qingyi told them the matter was quite strange.
After finishing her morning classes, she, under the guise of a teacher, went to visit student Chen Da's home. As a result, she saw the tragic scene at the Chen residence.
The Chen family's atmosphere was strange. One glance told her Chen Da's death was unusual. According to the Chen family,
ever since Zhang Tong and Wu Shouan died, Chen De had locked himself in his room, not daring to go out. Only when his parents brought food could they see him. Last night, when Chen Da's father was delivering food to his son, he happened to see Chen Da's mother holding a tray, walking in. Chen's father found it strange. It was clearly Chen's mother who asked him to deliver the food. Why did she come to deliver the food herself again? But when he returned to his room, he found something was wrong. It was precisely Chen's mother, lying in bed just now, who asked him to deliver food to their son. Now Chen's mother was still lying in bed, hadn't gone out. Chen's father immediately felt something was wrong, ran back to Chen Da's room to look, found Chen De already lying on the ground, charred black, apparently killed by a great fire. But there wasn't the slightest smell of smoke in the room, nor any traces of burning. Chen De hadn't made any cry for help either. Just like that, within moments, he was burned to death out of thin air. After her inspection, found densing energy, it was the work of a ghost. After hearing the information provided by Song Qingyi, Shu Liang directly ruled out evil cultivators skilled in illusion techniques
and demon races with innate abilities. Among ghosts, things that can perfectly impersonate a person. Only one, a Huapi Gue.
Lin Bei chimed in after hearing. Song Qingyi agreed with their speculation.
Among ghosts, only Huapi Gue can freely transform into others. Those two students earlier should have also been tricked to the Lakeside by the Huapi Gue. He couldn't figure out Situ Yan, who died only recently. How could she become a powerful Huapi Gue with magical abilities? If the ghost committing the crime wasn't Situ Yan, why did it kill only those she wanted revenge on? Huapi Gue are unpredictable, their movements uncertain.
Is 100 times harder to deal with than a resentful spirit.
However, before Chu Liang could speak,
Lin Bei directly stated, letting Song Qingyi rest assured, they,
Shushan disciples have always taken eliminating demons and defending the Tao as their duty,
will not allow evil spirits to run rampant, and will definitely help him with all their strength. Anyone who has been to a Qinglu knows, wanting an in-depth exchange with the ladies isn't that easy.
Therefore, in this world, Qinglu and restaurants are separated.
Restaurants are simple and direct, specializing in selling bodies, mostly small scale, location hidden.
It turned out, the place where Chu Liang captured Ini and Hong was a restaurant. Conversely, Qinglu
are gathering places for the city's scholars and refined gentlemen, leaning more towards selling artistry. Scale larger, with a stronger social gathering nature. Of course, if you insist on making other requests, as long as the lady agrees, it's not impossible. However, those popular courtesans are hard to get. Even if you spend a large sum of money, at most, you get some opportunities for light conversation.
Getting an in-depth exchange is not that easy. After concluding Situ Yan's Huapi Gue identity, Shu Liang decided to stake out near Yanshouvu,
letting Lin Bei stay behind to protect Li Yu. Hearing this, Lin Bei was very dissatisfied, asking why he wasn't acting together with Teacher Song.
Doesn't he want to see Teacher Song's sweet smile?
Shu Liang felt nothing stir within him.
Calmly told Lin Bei he just wanted to get the shoes.
Besides, the Huapi Gue's existence is a great danger to the world, it must be eliminated soon.
Lin Bei understood everything Chu Liang said, but he wondered why Chu Liang had to go out again. Last night it was him who went out, and ended up encountering instructor Song Jiaoshi. Tonight, he wanted to go out too.
Soon, Chu Liang shot him a disdainful look.
Saying he had a way to identify the Huapi Gue, did Lin Bei? Hearing this, Lin Bei obediently sat back down, reluctantly asking Chu Liang, when he returned, to bring him back a late-night snack. Not long after, there was a knock on the Yen residence's main gate.
Shu Liang didn't hesitate at all, directly using his superpower.
Successfully, from the loyal family servant, learned Yan Xiaovu's location. Kaiwei Tower, the largest brothel in Yanjiao City.
On the stage in the first-floor hall, several women dressed in soft gauze danced gracefully to the accompaniment of music. Below the stage, guests sat 3 or 5 to a table, enjoying feasts and music with lovely companions. The second floor had private booths.
Pearl curtains shielded the separated compartments.
The third floor held private rooms, a place where only the generous spenders, or the utterly shameless patrons would go. Yan Xiaovu was undoubtedly both generous and utterly shameless, while Chu Liang, relying on his good looks,
quickly found out which room Yan Xiaovu was in. The attendant asked Chu Liang to wait a moment, he would go in and announce him.
Chu Liang immediately stopped the attendant upon hearing this. Saying he could just go in himself, Chu Liang arrived at the door.
He told the 2 strongmen he was looking for Yan Xiaovu.
However, the only response he got was the word scram.
Saying their young master said he wouldn't see anyone. The next second, Chu Liang's aura changed drastically.
His fists crackled with faint lightning, telling the 2 guards that he would have to force his way in then.
Meanwhile, in the room, Yan Xiaovu looked gloomy. Asking the 2 women beside him about Miss Louis Gunyang, when exactly would she arrive?
Hearing Yan Xiaovu's sullen tone, the woman quickly explained that Sister Louis was currently chatting with someone. She would be here shortly, asking him not to worry.
But Yan Xiaovu was clearly not satisfied with this answer. Saying he had spent thousands of silver taels on Roi, front and back, couldn't he be prioritized?
Thinking about how he lost face badly at Nanshan Academy yesterday, he was already very depressed, now wanting some diversion. But he still had to wait. Yan Xiaovu grew angrier the more he thought, raising his hand, telling them he was very worked up right now. However, before he could slam his hand on the table, a loud noise came from the doorway first. Then, the 2 strongmen flew into the room. They told Yan Xiaovu that the man insisted on barging in. The 2 of them couldn't stop him. Seeing this scene, Yan Xiaovu wasn't afraid. Angrily asking who was outside the door, after speaking, he confidently declared that on Yanjiao City's turf.
Who would dare provoke him, Yan Xiaovu? Just as his voice fell, Chu Liang walked into the room and greeted him. Yan Xiaovu, who was incredibly arrogant just moments ago, instantly deflated. 2 days ago, he clung to his father's leg, begging for help with revenge. However, after his father saw the sword token Chu Liang sent, he shivered all over, and without hesitation, punched him. Saying Chu Liang was someone they couldn't afford to offend. Don't even think about revenge. Yan Xiaovu was also capable of adapting.
With a fawning expression, he said, "Brother Chu, it's you." After listening, Chu Liang pointed to the 2 men on the ground, saying he came to visit, but these 2 told him to scram.
Yan Xiaovu immediately cursed, saying they were truly impolite. Now get out quickly. Witnessing this scene, the 2 young women were stunned. Yan Xiaovu was already considered Yanjiao City's fiercest little tyrant. Why was this handsome young man making him so afraid? Soon, Yan Xiaovu invited Chu Liang to the table, saying, "Brother Chu, you sit here, in the main seat."
The 2 women were initially quite scared, but the moment Chu Liang sat down, their cheeks immediately flushed red. A handsome gentleman, gentle as jade, beautiful brows and eyes like shimmering waves, even more purely moving.
Thinking such a handsome boy with such a nice smile, surely couldn't be a bad person, right?
However, just as they thought this, they heard Chu Liang's voice, telling them to look out the window and see what was there.
With 2 thuds, the fangirls were down. Chu Liang's move made Yan Xiaovu's heart pound with fear. Thinking his Yan family was passed down through generations, what kind of items hadn't they seen? But this was the first time seeing someone play with bricks. What kind of fetish was this? Chu Liang told Yan Xiaovu they were fine. They just happened to trigger the stun effect. But you are in danger, you know? Yan Xiaovu was confused. He was in danger? But when he saw the golden brick in Chu Liang's hand, he thought, right, with you here, aren't I in great danger? Chu Liang didn't know his inner thoughts. Continuing, Chendi died last night. The only person left who bullied Situ Yan is him. Situ Yan might have become a Huapi Gue, possessing the ability to shapeshift into others. Anyone approaching him could possibly be Situ Yan in disguise. Yan Xiaovu heard this, immediately hugged Chu Liang's leg saying, "Brother Chu, save me." Originally, he thought even if Situ Yan really turned into a vengeful spirit, he couldn't get close to him, but a Huapi Gue was different. Killing him, a martial artist of the first realm, wouldn't that be easy? Chu Liang told him not to be afraid, saying he was here precisely to save him. Therefore, anyone who approached him tonight, he needed to test them. Hearing this, Yan Xiaovu became even more frightened, hurriedly asking Chu Liang to test the 2 men on the floor. Chu Liang looked at the 2 on the ground in silence.
awkwardly stating that he had already tested them. Suddenly, there was another knock on the room door. Yan Xiaowu quickly sat back in his original position. Chu Liang cleaned up the scene. This time, the person who came was the madam, lured by Chu Liang's beauty. She told Yan Xiaowu, Roi happened to have an appointment with an official gentleman. He had just gone in before Yan Xiaowu arrived. After all, they were running a business, they couldn't offend people.
Compared to her enthusiasm, Yan Xiaowu was extremely nervous.
Hurriedly getting up, saying she could sit there, just don't come near him. Little did she know, when she sat in that position, a figure holding a brick had already targeted her. The woman never expected that she, a dignified academy instructor, would now be forced to step into such a place of pleasure.
It turned out, just moments ago, Song Qingyi learned that Yan Xiaowu,
ignoring the pursuit of the Huapi Gui, was out seeking pleasure in a brothel at night. As a result, just as he kicked open the door, before he could even question him, he encountered an awkward scene. The three just looked at each other. Chu Liang didn't know how to explain for a moment. Song Qingyi saw this, and subconsciously thought of indescribable scenes. Yan Xiaowu, seeing the situation was bad, immediately sold Chu Liang out completely, claiming everything was his idea. Apparently, Chu Liang, in order to prevent the Huapi Gui from disguising itself as others to approach. Yan Xiaowu had no choice but to knock out everyone who entered the room. Unexpectedly, after Song Qingyi heard this, he cast a scrutinizing gaze towards him, then glanced at the unconscious madam on the floor,
thinking, who are you kidding?
But considering Chu Liang's identity as a Shushan disciple, he reluctantly chose to believe him. Then he glanced at the three unconscious people behind the screen,
asking him if his method of verifying the Huapi Gui was to see if they would fight back.
Noticing Song Qingyi's gaze on him at this moment, Chu Liang felt numb inside. He didn't know why. Ever since he came down the mountain to exorcise demons, he was always mistaken for a pervert.
Just then, movement was heard outside the door again.
The three tacitly returned to their positions. The room door opened. A soft, weak voice reached the ears of the three.
Yan Xiaowu's eyes instantly filled with affection upon hearing it.
Looking at the girl's graceful figure, the anger in his heart dissipated. However, the girl had just begun to display her talents when she saw Yan Xiaowu suddenly stand up, telling her to sit opposite him, stating he wanted a better view to appreciate her beauty. Little did she know, a man's words are deceitful lies. Yan Xiaowu told her it might hurt a little. Just bear with it, the girl chuckled upon hearing this,
saying Yan Xiaowu was really naughty, always teasing her, still teasing. Yan Xiaowu looked at the murderous glint in their eyes.
He had already cursed the girl's entire family countless times, because while chatting, the girl mentioned his daydreaming in class, Song Qingyi wanting to find someone to kill him, and Chu Liang's matters were all revealed. As a result, before the three could clean up the battlefield, the room door was kicked open again. Luckily it wasn't an outsider. It turned out Lin Bei was guarding the house when he suddenly noticed Li Yu had disappeared. However, observing the scene, Li Yu most likely wasn't kidnapped, but rather slipped out on his own.
Chu Liang believed Li Yu was still hiding something.
He himself might also be Situ Yan's target, just as the two didn't know where to start. Song Qingyi stated that his Confucian school had a secret technique that could roughly locate a person's position. Golden Light Blessing Cave. Treasure points to Green Mountain. As the characters for Li Yu were written inside, the paper seemed to gain sentience, floating towards the window.
Chu Liang and the other were responsible for tracking.
As for Lin Bei, using the excuse of protecting Yan Xiaowu, he directly started ordering food. On the way, Chu Liang's eyes shone.
Especially envious of Song Qingyi's artifact. With this paper, wouldn't there be no one in the world they couldn't find? Song Qingyi told him not to idealize it too much. Using the artifact required corresponding cultivation level. With his current cultivation, he could only track within the range of Yanjiao City and its surroundings.
However, this was given by his master for self-defense. Besides finding people, there were many other uses he hadn't fully mastered. Hearing this instantly shattered Chu Liang's composure, thinking how nice other people's masters were. Because this kind of thing, in other immortal sects, was the most normal occurrence for disciples. Yet for him, it was unobtainable. He even had to guard his money from being taken by his master to buy alcohol. Before long,
Chu Liang and Song Qingyi were at the academy's back mountain, by the small lake. They found Li Yu. However, Li Yu hadn't noticed the two of them.
Instead, he was repenting his sins. It turned out Situ Yan didn't commit suicide. It was Li Yu, when escaping, accidentally pushed him into the lake. By the time he remembered Situ Yan couldn't swim, and rushed back to the lake, the person was gone. The tea had gone cold. During these days, every time someone died, his sense of guilt increased. He now only prayed for Situ Yan to appear and kill him, and stop taking other people's lives, understanding the cause and effect. Chu Liang also understood Li Yu's behavior these past few days. Now he probably couldn't bear the torture anymore, so he ran here seeking release. However, what the two didn't expect was, Li Yu, seeing Situ Yan hadn't appeared for a long time, actually walked into the lake himself. Song Qingyi saw this, wanted to step forward to save him but was stopped by Chu Liang, telling him to wait a bit longer. As Li Yu sank to the bottom of the lake, a sinister wind passed through the two of them, flying towards the lake surface. A fiercing wind blew, Li Yu was thus sent back to the shore. At the same time, Situ Yan no longer hid his form, appearing before him. However, facing the fierce ghost, Li Yu showed no fear at all, only wanting a quick release. Instead, Chu Liang and the other felt something was wrong, because this level of Yin energy was definitely not from an ordinary evil spirit. It had a certain level of cultivation, although Chu Liang didn't know why a normal person could turn into a cultivated fierce ghost. But it was certain that Situ Yan was that Huapi Gue. However, the following development exceeded everyone's expectations. Situ Yan told Li Yu he didn't hate him, and couldn't kill him. After saying that, he told Li Yu to leave quickly. It seems something was controlling him, wanting him to kill Li Yu. Suddenly, the Yin energy within Situ Yan went out of control. The cold, fierce wind seemed to become the main theme of this world. The boy never expected being a mortal could be so insignificant. Even after death, turning into a fierce ghost, he was still just an ant in the eyes of cultivators. It turned out, just moments ago, the well-behaved Situ Yan suddenly lost control. As a result, Li Yu hadn't run far before being locked onto by the icy killing intent from behind. At the same time, Song Qingyi's figure shot out. A green jade ruler appeared out of thin air. The CUNXIN ruler, ranked in the Myriad Treasures record, was imitated from the ancient artifact Lianghe Jade Pond. Hidden within it was the righteous aura of a Confucian gentleman. It was the nemesis of ghosts and evil spirits. In just a moment, Situ Yan, also at the Divine Will realm, was already defeated. Unexpectedly, Li Yu suddenly protected Situ Yan, pleading for him. Little did he know, in this world, once one becomes a ghost, only by being dispersed can one enter reincarnation normally. Otherwise, they would be eternally damned. Chu Liang saw this and knew it was bad. Wanting to step forward to rescue, however, everything was already too late. Situ Yan used Li Yu as a shield, resolutely attacking Song Qingyi. However, Song Qingyi's strength exceeded his expectations. While dodging the fatal attack, golden light flashed in his hand. The golden paper transformed into a brilliant sun. Confucian true words manifested in the void, turning this space into a cage. This maneuver made Chu Liang extremely envious. You know, Song Qingyi was only at the Divine Will realm now. Combined with the artifact, he could actually use such a divine ability. However, things didn't develop as expected. When the smoke cleared, two identical Li Yes appeared before Song Qingyi's eyes. Although he knew this was the Huapi Gue's divine ability, due to realm limitations, he couldn't distinguish them. Just then, Chu Liang slowly walked over. A golden brick gleamed behind him. The two Li Yes were completely unaware of the impending encounter. Still trying hard to explain who was real, Chu Liang came up behind them, stating the fake Li Yu hadn't met him before. Whoever could say his name was the real one. As a result, just as one Li Yu popped his head up, the 20 gene brick smashed onto the back of his head. Instantly, this Li Yu's face, like fragments, began to crack and fall off. The next moment, his true form manifested. Chu Liang, seeing this, materialized a golden light sword in his hand, instantly piercing through Situ Yan's soul body. As the soul was about to dissipate, a warm, sun-like smile reflected in Li Yu's heart. Seeing this scene, Song Qingyi didn't know what to say, asking Chu Liang how he saw through the disguise. Chu Liang replied very seriously that he didn't know either. Just hit whoever popped their head out first. Anyway, hitting both of them once would reveal the truth. After speaking, he looked at Li Yu, who was still dazed, saying if he had the heart to atone, he should turn himself in to the authorities. Looking at the boy whose tears hadn't dried from the corners of his eyes, recalling the scenes he had witnessed, Song Qingyi felt mixed emotions. In the end, it could only turn into a helpless sigh. Meanwhile, somewhere in Yanjiao City, an extinguished white turbid candle was slapped down by a black-robed man. That was the Huapi Gue he spent great effort refining. He originally intended to use it to collect more living souls, to get promoted at the next soul-gathering meeting. Now it was killed by someone. How could this not infuriate him? The girl never expected her choice of kindness to save the world, unexpectedly. This kindness also pushed him into the abyss of hell. It turned out, just after dealing with Situ Yan, Chu Liang didn't expect his soul would also be captured by the White Tower. But Situ Yan's soul had clearly entered reincarnation. However, Chu Liang quickly figured out the reason. The golden phantom inside the White Tower should be a type of energy imprint, not the actual souls of the slain demons and ghosts. If it were souls, they would more or less carry some spiritual essence. Figuring this out, Chu Liang no longer hesitated and chose to refine it. However, this time no golden legend appeared. Instead, it was a one-soul curse. The effect was particularly peculiar, able to swap souls with a designated target for 3 breaths of time. And it could only be used once. Looking at the talisman in his hand, Chu Liang felt a sting in his nose again. This talisman belonged to the category of jade talismans. Jade talismans are items specifically for storing spells, usually used by elders in a family for the younger generation's protection. But he had to rely on himself for everything. Meanwhile, in the side courtyard of Nanshan Academy, Song Qingyi stretched lazily. These past few days, to deal with the Huapi Gue, he had been staking out for several consecutive nights. Now he could finally rest properly for a while. However, things often don't go as planned. The sudden cry of a small child echoed clearly in Song Qingyi's ears. Song Qingyi didn't think much of it, changed his clothes and flew towards the source of the sound. Looking at the small child's back not far away, he chose to approach slowly the dark woods. The sudden appearance of the child put Song Qingyi on alert. But thinking about the ghost haunting incident at the academy, he assumed the child had accidentally gotten lost. Thinking this, he was about to step forward and help the child up. And this moment of carelessness also made him pay a heavy price. A powerful mental shockwave hit Song Qingyi. Instantly, the child's face peeled away, revealing raw red flesh. At this moment, Song Qingyi's soul felt like it was hit by a heavy hammer. His body was also restrained. Fortunately, the ghost's cultivation wasn't high. He would be able to break free soon. However, this was clearly a trap. Countless ghostly hands emerged from the ground, firmly gripping his ankles. Song Qingyi reacted quickly, decisively biting his tongue, letting the pain stimulate his body to recover faster. But just as he was about to break free, suddenly a cold touch slid across his skin. A fierce ghost had appeared behind him at some point. Song Qingyi now guessed he had been plotted against. The black-robed man, seeing this, no longer hid, revealing his form, stating Song Qingyi actually destroyed his Huapi Gue. Now he himself would become his new ghost puppet. Little did he know, Song Qingyi was already prepared. Golden leaves rose into the air, but the moment they killed the ghost, they also forced the black-robed man back. From this exchange, Song Qingyi already knew the man's cultivation was at least golden, core cultivation. He was no match, however, before he could run far. A slingshot had already locked onto him. The next moment, Song Qingyi's chest was pierced through. His body crashed straight to the ground. At the same time, a name surfaced in his mind. Ming Sect artifact, soul-chasing nail, if unfortunately pinned, at best, soul and magic power sealed, at worst, soul destroyed. The black-robed man, seeing this, didn't linger. Like a corpse herder, guiding Song Qingyi away. At the last moment, a golden paper fell from Song Qingyi's hand and flew out. Within it were written the 2 characters Lin Bei. In the brothel, Lin Bei was surrounded by beauties on his left and right. Jade arms exploring depths. Suddenly the scene changed. He was abruptly woken up. Chu Liang was attracted by Lin Bei's movement, recognized this as Song Qingyi's artifact, and concluded that Song Qingyi had encountered danger. As for why Lin Bei's name was written, it further indicated that Song Qingyi's current situation was very critical, forcing him to choose Lin Bei, whose name had fewer strokes. After hearing Chu Liang's analysis, Lin Bei also dismissed the idea that Song Qingyi had a crush on him. Asking Chu Liang what they should do now, it had to be said, the brain that ranked 3rd in the province was indeed sharp. Chu Liang immediately deduced that the person who attacked Song Qingyi might be a 4th realm golden core cultivator. Therefore, he planned to split up, have Lin Bei go to Shushan to find his master, while he himself would investigate the situation. As for why he was the one investigating, it was because his cultivation was already mid-stage divine will realm, one minor realm higher than Lin Bei, making Lin Bei quite jealous, not only popular with women, but also the sole disciple. Now his cultivation was higher too. But during this period, neither of them clearly had time to cultivate. Lin Bei seriously suspected Chu Liang was secretly cultivating. Sect secret, Chu Liang naturally wouldn't tell Lin Bei that he had a 24-hour, diligent clone helping him cultivate all day. Thinking this, he clasped his hands behind his back and asked Lin Bei if he had ever seen Yanjiao City in the morning. After saying this, Chu Liang didn't explain further, telling Lin Bei to act immediately outside Yanjiao City at this moment. Song Qingyi's situation could be described as extremely dire. The black-robed man was debating whether to refine his soul into a heart-bewitching Mei Luo Cha, or the unpredictable southern ghost in the painting. Engaged in a fierce internal struggle, the man never expected, he thought it was just a minor figure among demonic cultivators. Unexpectedly, it was a late-stage golden core, fourth realm cultivator.
Boundless divine sense swept over, instantly locking onto his position.
It turned out, just moments ago, Chu Liang, based on the artifact Song Qingyi left him,
recalling his appearance, writing his name, tracked him all the way.
Finally, on the outskirts of Yanjiao City, he located Song Qingyi's position. As a result, as soon as he approached the small wooden house, he smelled blood.
Because of this, Chu Liang could no longer hold back his divine sense. It began extending from his body, soon discovering Song Qingyi hanging in mid-air.
Unexpectedly, the demonic cultivator's cultivation was far higher than his. In just an instant, his divine sense probe was detected by the opponent, who even used his divine sense to reverse locate his position. Chu Liang, seeing this, initially wanted to lure the demonic cultivator away, waiting for his master's arrival. However,
the demonic cultivator's cultivation was even higher than he imagined. Also in an instant, he appeared behind him.
Even though Chu Liang used his flying sword, artifacts, and techniques all at once,
he still couldn't last 3 rounds against the demonic cultivator. The soul-chasing nail pierced his chest, cultivation and divine sense were all suppressed.
Only then did Chu Liang understand the gap between a third realm cultivator and a fourth realm cultivator.
It was like an insurmountable chasm.
Wanting to fight above one's level required cheats. Soon, he too became one of the materials for the demonic cultivator's ghost refinement. Song Qingyi, seeing this, was filled with regret. He had doomed Chu Liang. But the demonic cultivator clearly wasn't in the mood to watch them, the two crying,
telling Chu Liang to give up struggling.
After he absorbed Song Qingyi's soul into the Netherworld Mansion Heavenly Book, he would be next. Then the two of them would be right next to each other. They wouldn't be lonely. The demonic cultivator also didn't expect losing one Huapi Gue in exchange for 2 divine will realm cultivators was simply a huge profit. After speaking, he was about to start refining Song Qingyi. Just then, a piercing voice sounded in his ear. Yin Yang person.
Chu Liang used his beautiful hometown dialect to greet the demonic cultivator. The demonic cultivator initially didn't want to bother,
but Chu Liang's mouth was like a Gatling gun spitting fire. Every time he was about to refine Song Qingyi, beautiful Chinese culture would echo in his ears, and each word was unique, without repetition. Finally, under Chu Liang's massive output of foul language, the demonic cultivator gave up refining Song Qingyi first, deciding to deal with him instead. Little did he know, Chu Liang was waiting for this. The soul confusion curse, obtained from refining the Huapi Gue, could forcibly swap souls with a designated party. For 3 breaths of time, profound magical text manifested in the room.
Chu Liang and the demonic cultivator's souls instantly swapped.
The Netherworld Mansion Heavenly Book, which should have taken Chu Liang's soul, now targeted the demonic cultivator himself. 3 breaths passed.
Song Qingyi's figure crashed to the ground.
Looking at the motionless Chu Liang not far away, tears streamed down again. His mind was completely blank at this moment, only thinking he had caused Chu Liang's death, not even realizing he was already free from control. Meanwhile, Chu Liang's soul began to leave the demonic cultivator's body, flying towards his original body. When he opened his eyes, tears had unknowingly wet his face. He saw Song Qingyi, tears in his eyes, constantly apologizing to him. Seeing this, Chu Liang quickly spoke up, telling Song Qingyi he wasn't dead yet. It was also at this moment that Song Qingyi discovered the soul-chasing nail in his chest had long disappeared. Soon, under Song Qingyi's puzzled gaze, Chu Liang walked straight towards the demonic cultivator's corpse. As for what he was doing? Of course, looting the body. Song Qingyi beside him was very confused. The Netherworld Mansion Heavenly Book was clearly aimed at him. Why did the demonic cultivator die instead? However, Chu Liang didn't plan to tell him the truth, suggesting the demonic cultivator might have suffered cultivation deviation, or something went wrong while casting a divine ability.
Song Qingyi wasn't stupid. Cultivation deviation probably wouldn't even fool a 3-year-old, but he didn't press further. Everyone has their own secrets.
At the same time, he felt deeply shocked. A disciple of the 9 Heavens Immortal Sect was actually this terrifying, silently slaying a golden core cultivator while at the Divine Will realm. Before long, Chu Liang found all the demonic cultivator's belongings. What surprised him though, was that although this demonic cultivator looked plain, he still looked like a young man. When talking to him, the old, hoarse voice didn't match at all. He quickly thought of the black robe on the demonic cultivator. It might have the function of concealing appearance and changing voice. After thinking, he looked at Song Qingyi again, wanting to split the loot 50/50ths with him. truly a great philanthropist in the cultivation world. As a result, just as Song Qingyi finished saying he didn't need it, Xu Liang had already started putting the spoils into his own storage bag, while saying sorry. Song Qingyi suddenly felt a bit unable to understand Xu Liang.
Xu Liang was usually gentle and polite in conversation.
When cursing people, his vocabulary was endless. Now he was happily looting the corpse. He had never been as poor as Xu Liang, so naturally, he wouldn't understand. Saying this, Xu Liang sped up the looting. Song Qingyi thought there were still enemies outside. Little did he know, it was because Xu Liang's master was about to arrive. The next moment,
the cry of a phoenix echoed from the horizon. Extremely brilliant flame brilliance illuminated the entire outskirts of Yanjiao City.
Then, a mushroom cloud rose from the ground.
When the dust settled, Song Qingyi's eyes were glazed over. Who am I? Where is this? Then, a female figure descended before him.
The newcomer had a divine artifact floating before her chest. Her left hand held the terrified spirit tail Empress Nanning Fong.
Eyes burning, asking Xu Liang where the enemy was. Learning the demonic cultivator was already dead, she instantly lost interest.
Started drinking the wine in her hand, glanced at the demonic cultivator on the ground. She was curious how Xu Liang and the other could kill a golden core demonic cultivator. Xu Liang immediately explained that the demonic cultivator's death was somewhat strange.
He was more inclined to call it a staged accident. Nanning Fong only thought for a moment after hearing this,
completely ignoring her disciple's guilty expression. Saying life is unpredictable, large intestine wraps small intestine, a mere minor golden core cultivator, don't even think about framing them.
Things related to Yingjian Peak weren't impossible either.
After saying this, she planned to return to Shushan.
As for the encounter between Xu Liang and Song Qingyi, it ended here.
With the ghost case at Nanshan Academy resolved, they both returned home, the girl, clearly one of Shushan's strongest prodigies, now towards a minor sect newbie, revealed a girlish demeanor. It turned out, the trip to Nanshan Academy last time, Xu Liang could be said to have suffered a double loss. That golden core demonic cultivator was not only poor, but also turned him into an undercover agent. Because the token he brought back from looting was the contact token for the Ming Wang sect, just inject divine sense, and one could connect to the Ming Wang sect's Hunyu space, becoming demonic cultivator number 58. So Nanning Fong had him continue lurking as an undercover agent. She and her disciple would conduct a thrilling fishing operation. And the reason Xu Liang could use the token was also simple, that golden core demonic cultivator was indeed dead. But his divine soul hadn't dissipated. It was absorbed by himself into the netherworld mansion heavenly book. However, just as Xu Liang planned to continue his intense cultivation, he suddenly noticed a letter on the tea table. Taking a closer look, it was actually written to him by the rich junior sister, inviting him to meet at 13 guests on Baoda Peak. The handwriting was just a bit ugly. Shushan's 36 peaks referred to those peaks with inheritances. If counting the desolate, ownerless mountain peaks, the continuous sea of clouds far exceeded 100, and Baoda Peak was one of those desolate mountains. But it too once had its glory days. Because this was where the divine artifact, the demon suppression tower, was located 500 years ago. Only after the demon suppression tower disappeared did it gradually fall into decline. Soon, Xu Liang reached the agreed location. However, he didn't see the rich junior sister Su Ziqing, but a large, adorable spirit beast rushing towards him. At the same time, 3 figures appeared not far away, cheering loudly in Xu Liang's direction. It turned out the letter wasn't written by Su Ziqing.
It was Shang Ziliang and 2 bad friends trying to teach Xu Liang a lesson,
to make him stay away from Su Ziqing, but afraid of being discovered by Nanning Fong,
thus setting this trap.
He wanted to use the divine beast by Ze to teach Xu Liang a lesson,
because last time he accidentally entered the little Bai Zhe's territory, he was mercilessly beaten up. This time, Xu Liang definitely wouldn't escape either. As a result, the scene they imagined didn't happen. Instead, the little Bai Ze started sniffing Xu Liang excitedly,
continuously licking his face, looking particularly happy. Xu Liang also recognized the little Bai Ze at the same time. But what he couldn't understand was, this was clearly their first meeting. Why did the little Bai Ze seem so familiar with him? The little Bai Ze saw his confused expression, and made a few luo sounds at him, as if saying, I like you. After speaking, it began nuzzling Xu Liang's face, and Xu Liang, faced with the little Bai Ze's enthusiastic manner, felt quite embarrassed and thought of responding. Reaching out to stroke the little Bai Ze's fur, unexpectedly, with this touch, the little Bai Ze became even happier, circling him twice before, gesturing for him to ride on its back.
Chu Liang initially wanted to refuse, but looking at the little Baize's fiery enthusiasm, he had no choice but to comply with this little cutie, just hoping it wouldn't suddenly turn hostile. After all this happened too suddenly. As a result, Chu Liang had just climbed onto its back. Before he could even settle properly, he saw the little Baize make two luo 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 sounds, then at an unimaginable speed, carried Chu Liang deeper into Bada Peak. Soon, the person and beast passed through the peach forest, arriving before a waterfall. The little Baize leaped into the air, taking Chu Liang headfirst into the waterfall. The next moment, a hidden cave appeared within the water. As the little Baize continued deeper, a stunningly beautiful figure reflected in Chu Liang's pupils. The girl had pink clothes and red eyes, slurping noodles from a bowl. At this moment, both Chu Liang and the girl stared blankly at each other. The little Baize even carried Chu Liang around the girl twice. Chu Liang, seeing this, carefully stopped the little Baize. Clasping his hands, apologizing to the girl, he intruded unintentionally. While the little Baize continued circling the two, the girl stood up, coughed lightly to ease the awkwardness, then glared at the little Baize behind her. Only then did the little Baize realize it seemed to have done something wrong. Actually, Chu Liang had already recognized the woman before him. She was the leader among their Shushan's young disciples, Jiang Yuebai, but just as he wanted to confirm her identity with the girl, he was directly denied by her, leaving Chu Liang speechless. He hadn't even said the name yet. Meanwhile, outside Bada Peak, Shang Ziliang was still angry about why Chu Liang wasn't beaten up. Suddenly, intense purple light enveloped the three instantly. Shang Ziliang raised his head hastily, thinking it was some elder's mount. After all, Bada Peak still held the residual aura of the demon suppression tower. No demonic beast had ever dared set foot here. His lackey saw the demonic beast's posture, advised Shang Ziliang whether they should hide first. It seemed like it was about to land. Shang Ziliang heard this, face full of disdain, looking across the entire Shushan, whose mount would dare land on his head. As a result, before he could finish speaking, with a boom, the earth shook. The demonic beast raised its head and sniffed, as if confirming something, then went full throttle, chasing after the little Baize. As for Shang Ziliang and his two friends, they could probably still be saved. Inside the hidden cave, Chu Liang introduced himself first. Jiang Yuebai used the alias Jiang Xiaobai to explain to Chu Liang, saying she just occasionally stayed here temporarily. The little Baize originally promised to guard for her. Who knew why it brought him here today? Resulting in the current situation while eating, Chu Liang felt speechless. Even if this Jiang fairy wasn't willing to reveal her real identity, at least change to a name that wasn't so similar. Unexpectedly, just after he complained internally, the little Baize slipped out again. Chu Liang, seeing this, couldn't help cursing inwardly. He hadn't gotten on board yet. Jiang Yuebai told him not to worry. Since the Baize recognized him, it meant he was also a kind-hearted person, hoping Chu Liang wouldn't reveal seeing her here. Chu Liang also understood why Jiang Yuebai was like this. If he revealed the news today, this water curtain cave probably wouldn't take long before being filled by male disciples. Saying this, Chu Liang was about to bid farewell to Jiang Yuebai. Suddenly, a purple beam of light flashed inside the cave. Jiang Yuebai immediately rode the wind into the air, telling Chu Liang to hide first. The next moment, powerful, scorching forest pressure enveloped Chu Liang. Just the back view was enough to make people look up in awe. Chu Liang believed, among cultivators of the same golden core realm, if that demonic cultivator faced Jiang Yuebai, he likely wouldn't last 3 moves before being slain. Soon, the little Baize rolled in. The demonic beast's huge head also appeared in Chu Liang's vision. As far as he knew, the little Baize was equivalent to a human golden core cultivation. Yet now it was beaten rolling on the ground. One could imagine the power of the demonic beast outside the cave. Jiang Yuebai, seeing this, wasted no words, fingers together. Incantation activating the 100 sword art. The next moment, the long sword before her instantly turned into white targets, blocking the demonic beast's attack. According to Chu Liang's observation and analysis, the demonic beast was at least an adult nearing the 6th realm, equivalent to a human peak 5th realm cultivator, and its attention seemed focused entirely on Jiang Yuebai. Right now, he was just a 3rd realm newbie. Helping was out of the question. Whether he could even successfully escape was probably uncertain. At this time, the giant beast opened its huge mouth, seemingly wanting to swallow Jiang Yuebai. Jiang Yuebai activated her technique again. The surrounding swords merged into one, flying straight into the giant beast's mouth. Then using the immortal art, ground shrinking to avoid the attack.
It was truly executed to perfection, heaven sword art. The next moment, golden light filled the giant beast's mouth, following Jiang Yuebai's command. A huge light sword broke through the giant beast's head, finally gradually returning to its original size, returning to Jiang Yuebai's side. Seeing this scene, Chu Liang was inwardly stunned. Resisting a peak 5th realm demonic beast with peak 4th realm cultivation. This senior sister Jian was simply unbelievably strong. Moreover, performing immortal arts and powerful sword techniques seemed effortless, done with ease. Her proficiency made Chu Liang green with envy. Suddenly, the fallen giant beast struggled up again. Charging towards Jiang Yuebai again, ground shrinking activated instantly. After Jiang Yuebai dodged the giant beast, the cave entrance was clear. Chu Liang also hurriedly ran. Jiang Yuebai turned back, intending to hold back the giant beast. Seeing he could only hide behind a woman, Chu Liang couldn't stand it anymore, pulling out the item from that golden core demonic cultivator. The only item dropped from him, Xian thunder. He only heard from his master that this thunder was powerful. Never thought it would instantly kill the giant beast. Soon, the beast's spirit appeared in his hand. Chu Liang also didn't expect a golden core cultivator would possess an artifact capable of killing a 5th realm being. The little Bai Ze, seeing this, celebrated first, starting to circle the two. And Chu Liang looked at Jiang Yuebai's expression. She probably hadn't used her full strength yet. After all, this senior sister hadn't even taken out an artifact earlier. If she used artifacts and immortal arts together, her combat power could probably rival the legendary enhanced +18 Great Demon King. Jiang Yuebai was curious what artifact Chu Liang used to actually instantly kill a 5th realm demonic beast. It just looked rather evil and sinister. Chu Liang didn't hide it, retelling the origin of the Xian thunder. As for the Xian thunder, Jiang Yuebai had heard of it. Said to be expensive to make, just hadn't seen it before. Therefore, she planned to compensate Chu Liang with some sword coins to make up for his loss. Chu Liang heard this and immediately put on a strong front, saying they were all Shushan fellow disciples, but thanks were still needed. Asking if Jiang Yuebai could teach him a couple of divine abilities. Jiang Yuebai was also shocked by Chu Liang's shamelessness for a moment. However, she didn't refuse. As for ground shrinking and the heaven sword art, Chu Liang's cultivation and talent might pose some difficulty. Chu Liang wasn't overly ambitious, saying teaching some ordinary ones would be fine. Casually mentioning his master was a body cultivator. Unexpectedly, Jiang Yuebai, upon hearing his master was a body cultivator, immediately guessed it was Nanning Fong, and even expressed admiration for her. Chu Liang just chuckled twice, offering no explanation. So Jiang Yuebai agreed to meet him, tomorrow at 5 o'clock, right here, to teach him divine abilities. Chu Liang was overjoyed upon hearing this, clasping his hands in thanks. He was just somewhat curious, why a demonic beast would attack him within the sect grounds. Shouldn't it be reported? However, Jiang Yuebai's voice lowered slightly upon hearing this, stating she would handle the golden jade matter. Something was strange. Chu Liang was puzzled hearing this, and Jiang Yuebai thought her own master and Chu Liang's master were good friends. So he wasn't really an outsider. Thinking this, she explained the reason to Chu Liang. She possessed a natural immortal spirit body. Although her cultivation talent was exceptional since childhood, her bloodline held immense attraction for demonic beings. It seemed eating her could cause a surge in cultivation. Therefore, usually, she kept her distance from the sect's spirit pets and mounts, but being female, there were always a few days of bleeding that were unavoidable. However, Chu Liang's attention wasn't focused on her at all, still fantasizing how great it would be if he had this physique. Jiang Yuebai saw this, coughed lightly, blushing as she continued, saying later, she would come hide in this Bauta Peak for a few days each month. Plus, with the little Bai Ze driving away outsiders for her, she could always stay here peacefully. Until today, when it suddenly brought Chu Liang back. As for that giant beast, there must be something else strange about it. Not only appearing on Bauta Peak where no demonic beast dares tread, but even accurately finding her hiding place. Chu Liang wasn't stupid either. This clearly meant someone within Shushan wanted to harm her. Therefore, Jiang Yuebai told Chu Liang not to spread the word yet. She would first report back to her master, then plan accordingly. However, before leaving, Chu Liang had one more thing he was curious about. Previously, the 7-star tabloid wrote that she and Feng Chaoyang from the Tianwang sect had ambiguous relations. Was it true? Hearing this made Jiang Yuebai angry, explaining that time she went to Jiangnan for a mission. That Suiyue Tower was so famous, she thought of experiencing it, but unexpectedly met that Feng Chaoyang halfway. She had clearly booked the entire place.
Yet he shamelessly insisted on following her in, out of consideration for sect relations. She didn't force him out.
So she let the owner set up a separate table for him, considered it her treat, her expression clearly showing disgust. Having someone watch while eating, it was so uncomfortable. Hearing this, Chu Liang recalled the scene when they first met. This senior sister with foodie attributes, her eating manners were indeed somewhat poor, being watched probably made her feel restricted.
Thinking this, he joked, wasn't senior sister Jiang Xiaobai? He clearly said Zhang Yuebai just now.
Zhang Yuebai huffed lightly upon hearing this, telling Chu Liang to leave if he had nothing else. She still had things to attend to. The girl, considered Shushan's once-in-a-millennium top prodigy, now faced a minor sect newbie, being ruthlessly crushed in terms of talent. A divine ability she took a whole day to master. The man, in less than a minute, could split his sword into 100, controlling them freely. It turned out after Chu Liang bid farewell to Zhang Yuebai, his sense of inferiority grew infinitely.
Because she was just too damn strong, clearly the same age, she could already fight peak 5th realm demonic beasts, while he was still a 3rd realm little weakling. The only one in Shushan who could contend with that senior sister Jiang was the equally top prodigy from Yujian Peak. Su Ziang, however, very unfortunately, in 3 months, he would have to face Su Ziang's Yujian Peak to conduct an EV1 duel. He alone challenges the entire Yujian Fong.
One can only say having a troublesome master makes life really tiring. But Chu Liang still has hope. Today he unexpectedly snatched Zhang Yuebai's kill, a peak Wujin realm demonic beast. Wonder what great treasure it can be refined into. As a strong golden light flashed, Chu Liang knew he definitely got lucky this time. Soon, an ancient, common-looking sword appeared before him, named Zhan Hongming, but it's a bit troublesome.
Because this is a sword of justice, when facing evildoers and enemies shrouded in bloodlust, it gains a powerful strength boost. If the opponent is an ordinary enemy, it's no different from a common iron sword.
You could say Chu Liang has been forced into the role of a hero, only able to fight demonic cultivators.
It's useless for the duel 3 months later. A day passed in the blink of an eye. Chu Liang arrived at Shuiliandong as agreed upon. Just as he reached the entrance, he heard Zhang Yuebai's scolding voice. Turns out divine beasts can also wreck the house. Chu Liang immediately greeted Zhang Yuebai.
Xiao Baizhe, seeing Chu Liang arrive, wanted to use the chance to escape, but with just one look from Zhang Yuebai, he obediently went back down. Seeing this, Chu Liang wanted to plead for Xiao Baizhe, but unexpectedly, Zhang Yuebai told him,
if he didn't study seriously later, he'd get the same treatment.
When Xiao Baizhe heard this, he immediately gave Chu Liang an expectant look.
Hey buddy, I was pleading for you, but you want me to stand punished with you? Chu Liang couldn't help but curse inwardly. However, Chu Liang was also curious about Xiao Baizhe. Why did it listen to her so well? Zhang Yuebai didn't hide anything.
When she was very young, Xiao Baizhe often came to play with her. They were childhood playmates who grew up together.
As for why, just like how Xiao Baizhe is close to Chu Liang, she also didn't know why. After hearing this, Chu Liang fell into deep thought.
Talent was naturally impossible. As for being kind-hearted, there were definitely many such people in Shushan. The only possibility he could think of was that Xiao Baizhe only played with good-looking people. Facing this blatant flattery, Zhang Yuebai stared at Chu Liang for a moment, decisively nodded, affirming his appearance, then told Chu Liang to follow her. They went to an open area to practice divine abilities. She planned to teach Chu Liang the most basic Bai Jianju. Although it's a basic sword technique, its potential is extremely high. From 100 to 1,000, from 1,000 to 10,000. If cultivated to the Wan Jianju, it's comparable to top-tier divine abilities like the Tian Jianju. After listening, Chu Liang clasped his fists in thanks. And Zhang Yuebai wasn't one to dawdle. She planned to recite the essentials while demonstrating for Chu Liang. The next moment, profound characters swirled between Zhang Yuebai's jade-like fingers. As she moved her body, the essentials of the Bai Jianju manifested along with her movements. At this moment, the boy's blushing face said it all. Senior sister teaches quite beautifully. Unexpectedly, Zhang Yuebai caught him red-handed. She asked what he was spacing out about. Chu Liang instantly got defensive, saying he was listening. How could Zhang Yuebai believe him? She asked Chu Liang to repeat what she had just said. The result? Chu Liang actually recited it all, word for word. This made Zhang Yuebai have to praise him, saying that being able to multitask made him perfect for practicing Bai Jianju. Finally, she told Chu Liang the most important point of Bai Jianju is not to blindly pursue quantity. It's best to precisely control each sword projection before pursuing an increase in their number. A Bai Jianju that moves with the heart is better than a numerous but chaotic Wan Jianju.
After saying this,
Zhang Yuebai made another agreement with Chu Liang. The time for ordinary disciples to master Bai Jianju is usually around 7 days, but since Chu Liang was being personally taught by her, the requirement was naturally higher. As long as he could master it within 3 days, she would teach him another divine technique next time.
If he couldn't learn it, there would be no next time. Hearing this, Chu Liang's heart bloomed with joy.
He originally thought it was just a one-time deal, but now there was a chance for long-term teaching. With that thought, he began learning Zhang Yuebai's Bai Jianju. Wind sweeps shadows, form follows the heart. The next moment, he instantly manifested dozens of sword projections. However, when Chu Liang tried to control them, the sword projections became chaotic. But it wasn't that Chu Liang was bad, he just hadn't found the right approach.
One person can't possibly have 100 wills.
He should let each sword have its own will. Then, he would only need to issue commands. With that thought, Chu Liang silently recited the incantation.
100 sword projections instantly manifested.
This time, the sword projections were no longer chaotic. Each sword projection seemed to possess life, following the changes in Chu Liang's thoughts. This scene left Zhang Yuebai completely stunned.
Isn't this too exaggerated?
Ordinary Shushan disciples usually manifest 1, then 2, then 10 projections, following a gradual process. It took her a whole day back then to master this basic Bai Jianju.
But Chu Liang? Only 2 attempts?
At this moment, Chu Liang had no idea how much shock he had brought Zhang Yuebai. He told her he seemed to understand it a little.
What else could Zhang Yuebai do?
She could only silently complain in her heart. She couldn't possibly say, "Junior brother, you're amazing, thousands of times better than senior sister was back then, right?" Where would her pride as a Shushan prodigy go? She could only stammeringly tell Chu Liang, "You're quite smart."
As a result, Chu Liang was really adorably naive.
He had absolutely no concept of his own talent, saying if he made progress, it was because senior sister taught well. And Zhang Yuebai's praise also made Chu Liang fall into self-doubt.
Was he smart, as senior sister Jiang said?
Chu Liang had seriously considered this question before.
When he wasn't very old, he once thought he was indeed exceptionally smart.
But later found out he was just average. After all, he only ranked 3rd in the province.
Overall, this training session went very smoothly.
Zhang Yuebai arranged with him to come learn a new divine ability tomorrow.
However, after Chu Liang returned to Nanning Fong, another letter appeared on the tea table. The sender was Ming Yuan. As for the content, it was about his still charming Mao Nyang, Madame Ming.
She was missing. The man never expected his still charming Mao Nyang, Madame Ming, who said she was visiting family, had actually remarried someone else. Originally, after learning Madame Ming was missing, Chu Liang immediately went to his own Grand Master, Nanning Fong. She took the letter without saying much, took out the Suishing Fa Zhou left by Madame Ming. It could help him locate her, and also satisfied Chu Liang's wish for a divine ability or magic treasure. Because the Suishing Fa Zhou in his hand was also Nanning Fong's summoning talisman. Just by shattering it, Nanning Fong, the 7th realm master, would arrive by his side at the fastest speed, much stronger than any divine ability or magic treasure. Of course, if Nanning Fong were reliable, she wouldn't be Nanning Fong. The prerequisite for her coming was that she wasn't drunk. As for expecting a drunkard to rescue him in time, Chu Liang might as well rely on himself.
One early morning, Chu Liang finally arrived in Xingzhouchang after traveling.
He learned from Ming Yuan that his wife suddenly cried at night 2 days ago, saying she dreamed of her parents. Remembering that for 10 years, fearing exposure, she hadn't dared return to the mountains to see her parents and older brother.
Now that they could live peacefully, she wanted to go back for a family reunion. For buddies unfamiliar with the earlier plot, please see episode 2.
At that time, Ming Yuan wanted to go together, but Madame Ming refused, afraid of scaring him.
Who knew that after leaving, there was no news?
As for searching, he had tried, but in the vast mountains, how could he?
A mortal, possibly traverse? He couldn't see through or find her. Chu Liang wasn't one to dawdle, he reassured Ming Yuan.
He had the Suishing Fa Zhou left by Madame Ming. He should be able to find her trace soon.
East Mountain of Xingzhouchang.
Guided by the Suishing Fa Zhou, Chu Liang soon discovered a demonic clan's cave dwelling.
Since this was near Xingzhouchang, close to humans, the demonic clans here wouldn't be too strong.
Chu Liang chose to knock directly. However, the moment he stated his identity as a Shushan disciple, it still scared the lesser demon quite badly. This showed the status of Shushan cultivators in the hearts of the demonic clans. Soon, Chu Liang met a demon calling himself King Shanmao. However, upon learning Chu Liang was looking for Madame Ming, he claimed not to know, but his tone and expression were full of holes. So, Chu Liang gave him a kind and amiable smile, holding the Kuang Yasheng in one hand and the Suishing Fa Zhou in the other, asking him to rephrase his words. Unexpectedly, Shan Mao Dewang saw his cultivation realm was similar to his own and still held on to some hope. Because of this, he became the third demon to experience the Kuang Yasheng. Every knot was so tight and intricate, it scared Shan Mao Dewang into thinking Chu Liang was going to do something strange to him. After a short while, Chu Liang saw the still charming Mao Ernyang, Madame Ming. Turns out Shan Mao Dewang was Madame Ming's older brother. As for her parents, they had long passed away. At that time, she learned her brother had established a cave dwelling and become a mountain king, so she wanted to pay him a visit. Unexpectedly, a demon king was visiting the cave and took a liking to her at first sight, wanting her to marry him. She refused to death, so her brother tied her up here. After hearing this, Chu Liang cast a contemptuous look. So you're this kind of brother? Shan Mao Dewang cursed, saying Chu Liang didn't understand anything. In recent years, more and more outside demons have come. Dongshan is only so big, they fight over territory and food. They don't dare go towards human cities, so they can only fight amongst themselves. His parents died in these struggles. He didn't want to be a king either, but Dongshan needed a sanctuary for the cat clan. That's why he took in all the stray cat demons and established this cave dwelling, managing it painstakingly for years, only barely surviving in the dog-eat-dog Dongshan. Until a few days ago, he met King Hu from Tson Lingshan, and seeing that cats and tigers were originally family, he was willing to befriend him. As long as he maintained a good relationship, he wouldn't have to fear other demons snatching territory. But just as he hosted a banquet, Hu knew his little sister would show up. If his little sister refused to marry him, perhaps there would be no Shan Mao clan left in Dongshan. Chu Liang was puzzled. Didn't Shan Mao Dewang tell King Hu that Madame Ming already had a husband? At this, Shan Mao Dewang's face showed helplessness. Of course he said it, but guess what? King Hu got even more excited. He didn't want to force his sister either, but when King Hu left, he said he was going back to prepare the wedding, and would come to marry his sister in 3 days. If he didn't see her then, he would get angry. Chu Liang was curious, didn't Madame Ming mention help from Shushan? Turns out, it wasn't that Shan Mao Dewang hadn't heard Madame Ming say it, but he didn't dare ask Shushan for help, because these small mountain demons like them feared human cultivators the most. Normally, forget harming people, even if they encountered someone lost in the mountains, injured, or drowning, they had to quickly rescue them. They were just afraid if someone died in the mountains, humans would suspect demons did it and needlessly come in for an extermination sweep. The conflict between humans and demons has existed since ancient times. It's not something that can be explained in a sentence or two. Nowadays, human influence is dominant. Good-natured demonic clans living near human settlements indeed have such thoughts. Chu Liang thought about it. He stood up to comfort Shan Mao Dewang, saying he didn't know about other sects, but their Shushan sect was reasonable. As for helping the Shan Mao clan escape, Chu Liang had considered it, but the difficulty was higher than fighting a Wujin realm demon. Food, supplies, a suitable living environment, couldn't be solved just by finding some random wilderness. Therefore, Chu Liang planned to investigate King Hu's strength clearly before taking action. He learned from Shan Mao Dewang that King Hu was a tiger demon with 700 or 800 years of cultivation. His strength should correspond to a human 5th realm cultivator. At the same time, San Lingshan was also within the Xingzhouchang area, the largest demonic clan force within a 100-li radius. He had hundreds of lesser demons under him alone. From this information, it could be seen that King Hu was a demon king with accumulated background and resources. His overall strength definitely surpassed previous powerful foes. As for learning senior sister Zhang's cross-realm combat, Chu Liang still had some hope. After all, this time he not only had the Grand Master's summoning talisman, but also the flying sword Zhan Hongming as a backup. Thinking of this, Chu Liang decided to help Shan Mao Dewang kill this lustful demon, King Hu. The man never expected. What he thought was an exciting plot of stealing another's wife, unexpectedly turned out to be cliched propaganda mixed with heroism. Turns out, after Chu Liang decided to kill King Hu, he transformed into a cat demon, and awaited the arrival of the wedding procession with Shan Mao Dewang. As a result, he originally wanted to see this King Hu first before deciding whether to use the Grand Master's summoning talisman. Unexpectedly, Zhan Hongming in the White Pagoda was almost vibrating out. It was hard to imagine just how many innocent lives this tiger demon had killed.
But the things that surprised Chu Liang were far from over. A black-robed person abruptly arrived at the wedding scene.
King Hu even stood up to respectfully welcome him.
The newcomer was called Shinshi.
He heard King Hu was getting married today, so he specially brought a grand gift. As he signaled his subordinate to open the wooden box, a marvelous landscape manifested from within the wooden box. It was actually ranked among the human race's myriad treasures list, the 140th ancient divine weapon, Jinshan Hiji. This scene stunned Xu Liang completely.
Wasn't this supposed to be about stealing someone's wife? This plot development feels a bit off.
You must know, Jinshan Hiji has always been one of the Zhoutian Shenmen's, Tiangang men's divine weapon. And a Shenshi who could snatch the divine weapon from Tiangang men. How could he be simple? Only when Shinshi explained the reason was the case solved.
Turns out he met a human genius on the road, skilled but not very bright.
With a small trick, he got this divine weapon for free. As for King Hu forcefully taking Madame Ming, it was purely a temporary surge of lust. His real purpose for coming to Dongshan this time was to announce the arrival of the god.
Originally,
he and the black-robed man both came from Shiyu's Qi Wangling.
The so-called Qi Wangling was established by 7 powerful demon kings together, a demonic clan. Force focused on the revival of the demonic race.
And the god he mentioned was an honorific for an ancient existence of the demonic race.
Mortal cultivation is divided into 9 realms.
But the 9th realm, Tongxian, has always been a legendary realm.
Those who can reach this realm are truly once in a millennium.
However, 3,000 years ago, there was a peerless demon emperor of the demonic race who reached this supreme realm. He was also the only Tongxian realm being in the world at that time, known by the demonic race as the demon god. He led the demonic forces, fighting all the way, wanting to pull the human race down from their pedestal.
But even though his realm was Tongxian, he was still not an immortal.
The human race's individual combat power was indeed inferior, but their foundation was deep. 7 Shushan Tianyuan realm elders came charging with the peerless divine artifact, the Jinyata. At the cost of 6 lives, they sealed this god of the demonic race into the tower. It was precisely that battle that established the Jinyata's status as the #1 divine artifact in the mortal world. Legends say that even the Jinyata couldn't erase him, only seal him. So in the long years that followed, there were always demonic clans attempting to breach the Shushan sect and open the Jinyata, to release that former demon god. Unfortunately, these demonic clans who tried, openly or secretly, without exception, remained inside the Jinyata. Until 500 years ago, the Jinyata suddenly disappeared. Therefore, the 7 kings of Shiyu believe their god will one day successfully return.
And King Hu is the vanguard sent out by their Qi Wangling to expand territory.
Now, just join Song Ling Shan and you can follow the god's footsteps.
Everyone, what are you waiting for? Of course, if you're unwilling, it doesn't matter. God loves every child of the demonic race. Watching the already brainwashed demons cheering inside the cave, Xu Liang was completely numb now. It was supposed to be a marriage dispute. Who knew there'd be this kind of development? Especially seeing Shan Mao Dewang beside him also raising his hand cheering, Xu Liang was really afraid he'd get hot-headed and report him. Fortunately, Shan Mao Dewang was a smart demon.
He reminded Xu Liang to act quickly, otherwise King Hu would be heading to the bridal chamber soon. Xu Liang and his original plan was for Madame Ming to poison the wine, while he waited for an opportunity to stab the poisoned King Hu. As a result, just as Xu Liang was about to bypass the small fries and sneak into the bridal chamber, suddenly a large hand landed on his shoulder, asking him for the password. Unexpectedly, Xu Liang just randomly made one up, Tian Wangai Di Hu. Thinking if it was wrong, he'd use the Grand Master's summoning talisman and kill all these demons. As a result, after the bull demon said okay to him, he confidently approached the patrolling lesser demon and uttered the password Tian Wangai Di Hu. The lesser demon instantly saw through it, shouting, "There's a spy." This move really dumbfounded the bull demon. He cursed Xu Liang as a bastard. Seeing he was exposed, the bull demon didn't hold back anymore. He immediately showed Xu Liang his explosive transformation. With an Iron Mountain charge, he sent all the arriving lesser demons flying. Then, using a powerful fist technique, he wreaked havoc. Through observation, Xu Liang could tell the man had at least 4th realm cultivation. He should be a core disciple of some major sect. Thinking about Jinshan Hiji and what Shinshi said, Xu Liang felt certain. This brother was the big brain who got tricked out of the divine weapon. At this time, the nearby lesser demons had all been knocked down by the man. But he found that the back hall where the gifts were stored didn't contain his precious treasure. Suddenly, a loud roar sounded from behind the man. King Hu, holding Jinshan Hiji, arrived beside the man. Without any nonsense, he swung it down. However, he underestimated the man. The powerful blow was not only blocked barehanded, but even his pride, his physical strength, couldn't match the man's at this moment. The man never expected that one day, he too could be the great sword immortal in the eyes of the world. A true hero, sword-ringing, suppressing demons and exterminating evil. Turns out, just now, when King Hu attacked with Shushan Hiji, seeing his strength contest was losing to the man, he secretly used his tiger tail for a sneak attack. The flexible tiger tail instantly turned into an iron spear, striking towards the man's abdomen. Its power was no less than a small missile's instantaneous impact. But even so, the man's body remained as hard as crystal stone. Yang blood chi gathered, his right fist like an ancient heavenly hammer. One punch blasted away the slash instantly, then a powerful return kick with the left leg. King Hu's body was instantly heavily wounded, and shattered along with it was the pride in his heart. A mere fourth realm human physique, how could it be stronger than his, a fifth realm demon king? But fifth realm was fifth realm after all. They possessed an essence that fourth realm beings lacked. The Tiger King's true form manifested, shaking heaven and earth. Innate divine ability, tigers roar. No matter how the man resisted, he found himself unable to move even an inch. King Hu seized the chance, wanting to bite the man into mincemeat. Unexpectedly, the man's toughness far exceeded his imagination. He actually blocked the bite with his physical strength. Seeing this, Chu Liang also disregarded exposing his identity. Zhan Hongming was released by him from the White Pagoda. The next moment, the sound of the sword cried out between heaven and earth. Sword projections surrounded him, splitting into 10,000 paths, by Jianzhu unleashed. King Hu's ears twitched, hearing the words by Jianzhu, he couldn't help but sneer at Chu Liang in his heart. A mere minor divine ability trying to hurt him? But when he turned his head, densely packed sword projections filled the entire space. You call this by Jianzhu? Actually, Chu Liang hadn't noticed anything wrong at first either. Only after King Hu's reminder did he notice, holy cow, 100-fold boost. But now wasn't the time to consider this problem. The only thing Chu Liang wanted to do was kill the enemy. 10,000 sword projections, like the brilliant sunlight, attacked King Hu's body together. Each sword seemed weak individually, but after hundreds and thousands accumulated, its upper limit was far beyond what King Hu, this fifth realm demonic beast, could withstand. In a moment, the mountain-sized true form of the Tiger King was completely shredded by the myriad flying swords. At this moment, Chu Liang was the embodiment of strength in the man's eyes. His admiration flowed like the Yellow River, endlessly. The man was from Tiangang Men, Ling Yun Chaoxian. After learning Chu Liang was also a disciple of the Jotian Xianmen, the fervor in his eyes became even less concealed, making Chu Liang feel a chill down his spine. After a brief conversation, Chu Liang learned this stalwart brother was actually ordered by his sect to hunt down Shinshi. Including him, there were 3 others. They were separately pursuing the 4 Shinshi of Qi Wangling. As for losing Jinshan Hiji, it was because his brain was occupied by muscles at the time. He was foolish enough to agree to a barehanded duel within a drawn circle with that Shinshi. As a result, just as he got ready, that Shinshi tricked him out of it empty-handed. Speaking of this matter, Yun Chaoxian couldn't help but curse that black-robed Shinshi for having no martial ethics. What could Chu Liang say to this? All brawn, no brain. Unexpectedly, after Yun Chaoxian told him the reason, he actually invited him to hunt down Shinshi together. Hearing this, Chu Liang was quite bewildered, he even doubted his own ears. Turns out Yun Chaoxian didn't know that Chu Liang's amazing performance just now came from Zhan Hongming's 100-fold boost. He thought Chu Liang was a human prodigy with outstanding cultivation. However, Chu Liang didn't refuse. After all, that black-robed Shinshi was definitely not a good person. Even if he couldn't get Zhan Hongming's full boost, he still had the Grand Master's summoning talisman as backup. Kaoshan Chang. Chu Liang used the rest time to enter the White Pagoda. Facing a 5th realm great demon, it would be a lie to say he wasn't expectant. However, this time nothing particularly strange came out. Meng Hu Pei Yuan Dan. A high-grade pill containing innate fierce tiger essence source. The user can gain the strength of 10 tigers, enhance chi and blood, improve sleep, and restore male vigor. In other words, it's a pill that permanently increases constitution. Looking at the pill in his hand, Chu Liang swallowed it without the slightest hesitation. Instantly, surging innate essence swept through his entire body. Chu Liang could feel every cell in his body as if being roasted by fierce flames. Until an incense stick's time later, the body tempering effect finally ended. As a result, Chu Liang felt thirsty.
And with a slight exertion, the teacup in his hand turned into porcelain fragments. Just then, hearing the noise, Yun Chaoxian rushed over. He saw a scene unsuitable for children. From a tough guy's perspective, Shu Liang at this moment also had an impressive physique. The man never expected, he thought he had found strong support, just needing to follow behind and do nothing. But not only did he fail to latch onto the support, even his own innocence might be at risk. Turns out, just now, Yun Chaoxian heard the noise and rushed over. As a result, from his tough guy perspective, an inappropriate image involving the youth arose, making Shu Liang feel baffled, even feeling a faint chill down his lower back. What's with the blushing? Kaoshan Chang, late night. Turns out Yun Chaoxian had placed on the black-robed Shinshur a tracking spell involving sound waves. This was also why he could find Jinshan Heji on Dongshan. It's just that his brain didn't reserve much space for wisdom. After confirming the location, he wanted to charge right in. Fortunately, Shu Liang stopped him in time, saying it was too quiet around. He felt something was wrong. But Yun Chaoxian didn't feel anything was wrong. After all, it was already late at night. Shu Liang didn't know how this idiot cultivated. He explained he had just used his divine sense to scan the entire front courtyard. It was empty, nothing there. Before he finished, he pulled Yun Chaoxian to hide in a corner and observe. As a result, after a short while, a group of constables rushed out from the surroundings. The moment the door opened, it also triggered the formation left by Shinshur. However, the formation wasn't very strong. After chopping down those trees, from the large courtyard, very quickly came the sounds of constables discovering bodies. Hearing this, Shu Liang thought, damn, if he had let silly big brother rush in just now, he would definitely have become the scapegoat. Hearing this, Yun Chaoxian started praising Shu Liang profusely. However, he couldn't quite figure out this trap, how it seemed specifically prepared for the two of them. Shu Liang told him to remove the word seemed. That Shinshur must have received news from Tsongling Shan, therefore he was certain that a tracking method must have been placed on him. So he turned the tables and set this trap. Fortunately, Yun Chaoxian still had some brains amidst his muscles. He could understand Shu Liang's words and also realized his Tianyin wave must have failed. So, under Shu Liang's arrangement, the two inquired with the waiter early the next morning. They learned that last night, there occurred an extremely vicious family extermination case. A family of 17, none survived. The victim was a medicine merchant within Kaoshan Chang. Some valuable medicinal herbs were indeed missing from the home. The most precious among them was a Ming Jinlian. The preliminary judgment was murder for wealth. The authorities had immediately sealed Kaoshan Chang. They also issued a large reward for the perpetrator and the Ming Jinlian's whereabouts. During this time, Yun Chaoxian tried the Tianyin wave several times, but couldn't locate Shinshur's position. Compared to his disappointment, Shu Liang didn't mind. He said Shinshur's actions were a case of being too clever for his own good. After committing the murder, he reported it himself, originally wanting to pin the blame on them. But they didn't fall into the trap. The authorities didn't catch a suspect and chose to seal the city immediately. And when the crime occurred, the city gates weren't open, no chance to escape. So that Shinshur was most likely trapped inside the city too. Although Chu Liang spoke in human language, Yun Chaoxian clearly didn't understand a single sentence. Therefore, he decided to get straight to the point, asking Chu Liang where they should go to catch the person. Now, about this, Chu Liang actually had an idea. He and Yun Chaoxian were both righteous path people, so their perspective was limited. But if they knew brothers from the underworld, it would be different. Soul domain space. Chu Liang once again transformed into demonic cultivator number 58, and packaged the news about Kaoshan Chang having a Ming Jinlian, hoping the group leader could give him a location. At this time, inside Kaoshan Chang's Wanyuelu, the Ming Jinlian was held in the palm of the black-robed Shinshur. He intended to give it as a gift to the elder of Heishan Zhai. The reason was simple: Ming Jinlian, as a rare resource, could be used for cultivators breaking through to the fifth realm. And Heishan Zhai, in recent years, had been having an increasingly difficult time in the southern region. Not only dealing with the struggles against Baiwu Cun, but also being suppressed by Sanju Gu. Their desire for this kind of rare resource had reached its peak. If not for this, they wouldn't have allied with the demonic race. However, many of their elders were still worried. What if the demonic race's plan succeeded? Would they completely exterminate the human race? Hearing this, Shinshur immediately launched into his professional field, saying that in the era when humans were dominant, didn't they also not completely exterminate the demonic race? Even when the god returns, the human race will still need to exist. At that time, humans will still rule humans.
However, no matter how he tried to fool them, the Heiwu elders were still somewhat unconvinced, worried their god was fabricated.
Meanwhile,
Seoul Domain Space, Chu Liang had successfully fooled the group leader. Ming Hai Jin Lian was also an important he needed to break through to the third layer of the fifth realm. However, he didn't have news about the black-robed Shinshur, but he told Chu Liang the contact method for Kaoshan Chang's underworld.
Gu Yan's tavern. Reality, a certain tavern in Kaoshan Chang.
2 pots of Xian Ringjilu, one for the lady boss, one for me. The waiter heard this and immediately acknowledged. Half an hour later, he asked Chu Liang to follow him to get the wine.
Soon, under the waiter's guidance, Chu Liang finally met that Gu Yang.
Taking a closer look, skin white as jade, legs straight and slender.
She was a rare, top-quality beauty. This is a gu worm that can grow by devouring treasures.
And what the man had to do was to raise it to golden quality within 3 days. Turns out, after Chu Liang successfully connected with Gu Yang, he obtained general information about the Ming Hai Jinlian and Shinshur. Due to Sanju Gu's increasingly harsh suppression of the Heiwu clan, 17 Xiaowu villages in the southern region united, wanting to ally with the demonic race against the righteous path.
That Shinshur met with the Heishan Shai representative yesterday at Wanyue Lu for the handover. As for what they were doing, what preparations were made, Gu Yang didn't know either.
And Chu Liang offered the precise location of the Renmian Eugene Hua in helping Gu Yang within 3 days.
Raise the Jin Xian Gu to golden quality as payment.
If there was one place Chu Liang least wanted to go in his past life, the casino would be one of them.
But now, everyone understands.
To put it bluntly, he had no money to raise the Gu. Afraid the staff would think he had no money, Chu Liang didn't hesitate, pulling out his 24K pure gold brick,
successfully obtaining a VIP seat. As for the gambling outcome, whether in his past life or now, Chu Liang possessed photographic memory.
The casino owner's expensive measures against cultivator cheating.
The formation just happened to help Chu Liang. It ruled out the possibility of him cheating with Shinshur, making the gambling den boss have to back down, advising him to leave some leeway for future encounters. Chu Liang also snorted coldly, saying if they couldn't afford to lose, they shouldn't play. With that, he made a stylish turn and left, stating he didn't want a single coin he won tonight.
Then he slicked his hair back, telling the few people to remember his name, Gambling God Gao Jin. As a result, shortly after Chu Liang left, both the gaming tables and the treasures inside the room all turned to dust. It turned out while Chu Liang was battling the gamblers, Jin Gu was secretly absorbing the gold and silver from the gambling den. After returning Gu Chong to Gu Yang along with the wealth energy, Chu Liang returned to the inn and arranged to meet Yun Chaoxian.
But in order not to alert the enemy,
Chu Liang planned to go up first and investigate himself,
while Yun Chaoxian waited outside for his news. However, on the vast upper floor of Wangshan Lu, Chu Liang didn't see a single person.
Just as he was about to summon Yun Chaoxian, his footsteps suddenly halted.
A powerful mental force struck his sea of consciousness. The next second, a huge illusory skeleton manifested, wanting to swallow Chu Liang whole. Fortunately, Chu Liang reacted in time. He almost ended up dead on the spot. It turned out the Heiwu Zoo people were already prepared. They had heard Chu Liang's story from the black-robed Shinshur. A human genius who could instantly kill a 5th Jin Huang was not someone his old and weak 4th Jin self, or the Xiao Heiwu team could handle. Chu Liang, hearing this, called it harmful fake news. He himself was just a 3rd Jin nobody. Therefore, they had specially prepared a grand gift for Chu Liang. As a finger was cut, streams of profound magic inscriptions filled the entire room. Jin Fagd, the old man's signature technique. As long as one is within this space, all divine abilities and techniques will be suppressed. After all, in his view, Chu Liang was just a cultivator. Losing his abilities and techniques, his physique would be weak. While their Heiwu Zoo had all grown up fighting tigers and leopards since childhood, running through towering mountains. Even ordinary martial artists were no match for them. As soon as he finished speaking, he suddenly realized the look in Chu Liang's eyes towards them was very wrong. Not only was there not a trace of fear, but there was also a kind of kingly presence in his eyes. That's right, 2 days ago Chu Liang's physical body was indeed weak, but unfortunately, he had just taken medicine last night. So, the moment everyone charged, Chu Liang's figure also disappeared from his spot. Appearing behind the old man at some unknown time, he violently swung the 24K gold brick forward. The old man's head was smashed on the spot, a mess of white and red. Having done this, Chu Liang puffed out his chest and pointed at the others. His face screamed invincibility.
Although the remaining four were stunned by this scene, they were only dazed for a moment. They had agreed to charge together, but the other three turned and ran. But it was already too late to run now. Shu Liang's physical fitness far surpassed theirs. In the blink of an eye, he had dealt with everyone. As for Yun Chaoxian, Shu Liang was certain he had already encountered the Shinshur. At this moment, below Wangshan Lu, Jinshan and several others were being completely outplayed by Yun Chaoxian. And that Shinshur was likely a tree demon. Even though Yun Chaoxian struck with all his might, it was difficult to injure it. Who would have thought that the once despised Sect novice had unknowingly become what his master called a true man capable of holding his own? It turned out, just moments ago, Shu Liang saw Yun Chaoxian struggling to defeat the Shinshur. Without any hesitation, he immediately joined the battle. Finally, through their combined efforts, the Shinshur was successfully slain. As for the equipment and items dropped by the Shinshur, Yun Chaoxian didn't want any of it, considering it all as payment for Chu Liang. Afterwards, the two went looting on the second floor, successfully finding the Ming Jinglian. On this trip, Shu Liang not only earned reward money from the authorities, but also got many good things for free. It could be called a great harvest. At the time of parting, Yun Chaoxian was very reluctant. Because the martial world is vast, after this separation, who knows when they would meet again. However, he believed that with Chu Liang's strength, he would definitely be able to represent Shushan in next year's Xianmen Dabai. Then, the two of them could drink and chat happily again. Shu Liang wasn't very moved by Yun Chaoxian's words. In the kingdom, there is a Xianmen Dabai every 20 years. The disciples who can participate are naturally the geniuses of their sects. If Chu Liang wanted to become one of them, he would definitely have to fight Jiang Yuebai with all her strength on Shushan Peak. The difficulty was imaginable. On the way back to Shushan, Shu Liang, because his luck in opening rewards these past few days was particularly African, unlucky, thought about going to the nearby Yunhua Jin to buy some Jinli, to change his luck. But he was told by the shopkeeper that these past few days at Jinghuahe, a swarm of Dufeng had appeared from nowhere. They hadn't left for 5 or 6 days, and he couldn't catch any Jinli. Now there was no business. Shu Liang observed the shopkeeper's wounds and saw traces of demonic energy. Realizing the Dufeng mentioned by the shopkeeper were likely not ordinary creatures, he immediately stated his identity as a Shushan disciple, and gave the shopkeeper some spiritual medicine to treat the bee stings. After doing this, Shu Liang set off for the Jinghua he mentioned by the shopkeeper. As expected, those Dufeng had become Yaofeng. Shu Liang initially wanted to follow them all the way to find their nest, to wipe out these Dufeng in one go, but he found the burrow was deep and narrow. Even his Shinshur couldn't locate the hive. He had no choice but to give up, but there were still gains. After refining the Dufeng, Shu Liang obtained a lot of delicious Feng Jiang Cha. When he returned to Yingjian Feng, Shu Liang found his tea table covered in paper cranes. Among them was a reply from Jiang Yuebai, telling him to be careful. He hadn't had time to read it when he went down the mountain earlier because he was too rushed. In response, Shu Liang replied with 200% enthusiasm. First, he thanked Jiang Yuebai for teaching him by Jianju. Finally, he tactfully asked when she would be free to teach him new divine abilities. The remaining letters were all from Lin Bei alone. The content was also just one thing: his written promise to abstain from lust. Shu Liang expressed deep support for his actions, suggesting a method to cut the weeds and remove the roots. After replying to the letters, Shu Liang planned to go find his first master, to report on the recent mission situation. Unexpectedly, at this time, First Master was holding a comic book, with tears in her eyes. Shu Liang thought it was because the male and female lead's relationship had broken down. Turns out, it was just that the male lead died. In the following time, Shu Liang recounted the entire course of his trip. Nanning Fong listened with great relief, praising Shu Liang for already being able to stand on his own as a true man. After speaking, she asked Shu Liang for the accompanying Yufu back. Shu Liang was stunned hearing this. What happened to the promised master's summoning talisman? Why did he have to return it? It turned out Nanning Fong saying she was drunk was just to scare Chu Liang. Ever since she gave the summoning talisman to Chu Liang, she had been constantly worried these past few days, unable to even sleep well, let alone get drunk. Chu Liang felt deep sympathy for this, but there was no way he was returning the master's summoning talisman. Saying this, he took out the Feng Jian Cha obtained from the Baida, hoping the delicious taste would awaken Dinu Feng's master-disciple affection. At first, Dinu Feng thought Shu Liang was trying to drug her, but after one sip of the Feng Jian Cha, all her worries and troubles vanished. It would be even more perfect if some alcohol could be mixed in. Seeing this, Chu Liang cupped his hands in respect. After getting feedback that Dinu Fong liked drinking it, he turned and slipped out of the room, saying he would buy more next time,
to show filial piety to his master Dinu Fong.
Hearing this, she thought inwardly, my good disciple is truly filial.
Completely forgetting about asking for the Yufu back.
After dealing with the first master, Chu Liang ran to the second floor of Chuanjiantang again,
hoping Wen Yulong could use the Shinshi's intrinsic Qingye
to help him refine an artifact, a magic tool with both flight and defense formation patterns.
But it required a payment of 100 jianbi.
This made Chu Liang's heart ache.
He urged Wen Yulong to definitely succeed in the refining.
Wen Yulong confidently told Chu Liang, don't look at his young age, he had actually refined magic tools independently 12 times already. He also hoped to succeed once. Chu Liang felt something was wrong hearing this, his eyes looked murderous. Seeing this, Wen Yulong assured Chu Liang, he was pursuing the maximum potential of the artifact,
maximizing it during refining.
The results he achieved were definitely stronger than others.
So, the risks in the process were unavoidably higher. If Chu Liang wanted something safer, he could choose someone else.
Looking at the apprehensive young man before him, Chu Liang thought, having failed so many times, yet still sitting here unharmed. If the Shushan sect master wasn't his grandfather, then he must be a disciple highly regarded by the Chuanjian elder,
believing he must have some merit.
Therefore, Chu Liang decided to seek wealth amidst danger.
Anyway, the Qingye was obtained for free,
but he wanted to press the price down to 70 jianbi.
After saying this, Chu Liang noticed the change in Wen Yulong's expression.
It was a longing for artifact refining he hadn't felt for a long time,
mixed with the complex desire to earn money.
Finally, after a difficult decision, Wen Yulong decided to take Chu Liang's order. Although he haggled a bit, this price still nearly emptied Chu Liang's savings. The great hero's spear in hand, even overturning rivers and seas, cannot escape the 3 words, hungry, cold, and poor.
When could he achieve jianbi freedom? Jinan Fong, a paper crane had appeared on the tea table. Zhang Yuebai asked Chu Liang to meet at the usual place today at Chenshi.
The girl was originally Shushan's #1 genius, but now, by a mere sect novice, she was hit so hard her Dao heart almost collapsed.
Chenshi, Baoda Fong. Chu Liang eagerly hurried to the appointment, expressing his longing for Zhang Yuebai.
Faced with his playfulness, Zhang Yuebai snorted lightly,
saying it seemed Chu Liang really wanted to learn new divine abilities.
Chu Liang's main trait was being thick-skinned, stating he was only doing it to catch up to the steps of his senior brothers and sisters. Zhang Yuebai wasn't one to dawdle either. After hearing Chu Liang's words, she planned to teach a difficult divine ability today.
Baoda Peak Summit. Zhang Yuebai's gaze made Chu Liang uncomfortable.
Before, Zhang Yuebai had always believed she had top-tier talent. Although she wouldn't become arrogant because of it, it was inevitable she felt self-assured about it, considering herself no weaker than any genius of her generation. But seeing Chu Liang learn by Jianzhu twice, after witnessing his astonishing feat, she suddenly had a doubt. Herself, who took a whole day, seemed too mediocre in comparison. For cultivators, confidence is something that can be significant or minor. On a larger scale, it might affect one's Dao heart. After thinking for a while, Zhang Yuebai felt her Dao heart couldn't be shaken. The reason Chu Liang could cultivate so easily might be because he learned by Jianzhu relatively late. Or perhaps he was naturally suited for this type of ability. Therefore, today she would teach Chu Liang an extremely difficult divine ability, Fu Dao Jianzhu, to properly test Chu Liang's quality. Hearing this, Chu Liang was also dumbfounded, thinking, does senior sister think so highly of me? That's Fu Dao Jianzhu. Fu Dao Jianzhu is different from Bai Jianzhu, which anyone can perform a bit. It's a genuine, unique Shushan technique-based divine ability. In the Shushan sect, it's a required course for Jindan Jing disciples, but usually, only Wuxing Jin disciples can fully master it. Chu Liang's expression was successfully caught by Zhang Yuebai. Asking him how about it, was he confident in learning it well? To this, Chu Liang naturally showed no fear, saying with senior sister Zhang teaching, he was naturally confident. After all, even if he couldn't learn it now, he could learn it later. Free learning, right? Calmly, Zhang Yuebai verbally comforted Chu Liang. Although everyone says Fu Dao Jianzhu is profoundly difficult to learn, unlike immortal methods, it doesn't require comprehending any great Dao laws, nor does it require extremely high cultivation. So, someone at the Shini Jing should also be able to master it, while mentally adding, theoretically speaking. After speaking, Teacher Zhang's mini-class officially began. The principle behind this divine ability, Fu Dao Jianju, isn't actually difficult to understand. It's about drawing a talisman with the sword before initiating Yu Jianshu, channeling spirit mid-air. The flying sword launched this way will carry the power of the original fulu. Sword and fulu combined, the killing power is extremely strong. Moreover, if one's strength is sufficient, one sword technique can carry many fulu, becoming Shi Fu Jian or Bai Fu Jian. It's said that back then, a great power in Shushan's sword path combined Wan Jianju with Fu Dao Jianju, unleashing Shi Wan Fu Jian in one move. Saying this, she looked at Chu Liang, asking him if he knew how to make talismans. Hearing this, Chu Liang didn't know how to respond. His face was filled with confusion. Seeing this, Zhang Yuebai was secretly delighted. Thinking back, she only started cultivating Fu Dao Jianju after reaching Jindan, and she was already familiar with the talisman-making process. So, she only took 12 days to master Fu Dao Jianju, considered the fastest record in the contemporary Shushan sect. But Chu Liang looked like a complete beginner. 12 days was clearly impossible for him. In that time, it would be difficult even to learn talisman making. It seemed she was bound to win this time. Thinking this, Zhang Yuebai suddenly realized something. Why did she care so much about this Chu Liang? He was just a junior brother in the Midshani Jing. Her own victory over him should be natural and expected. Seeing Zhang Yuebai suddenly fall silent, Chu Liang immediately presented his small gift, saying her explanation was hard work. This was a drink he bought down the mountain. It tasted very good. Zhang Yuebai took a sip of the Feng Jiang cha. Her small face lit up with delight. Seeing this, Chu Liang had an idea. This Feng Jiang cha was so loved by women. Couldn't he sell it for Jianbi? Deciding quickly, Chu Liang said if Zhang Yuebai liked it, he could bring it to her often in the future. But could she help him with a small favor? Renmian Fong Market, at an unknown small stall. Chu Liang's stall atmosphere was out of sync with the surrounding crowd, extremely deserted. Until suddenly someone in the crowd shouted, "Fairy Jiang is here." Zhang Yuebai appeared, her slender waist swaying gracefully. Her gaze stopped at Chu Liang's stall. A faint smile involuntarily appeared on her lips. This scene made the surrounding admirers start fantasizing. She came to Chu Liang's stall and started asking about the product, asking if she could try drinking it. Thus began Chu Liang's celebrity endorsement marketing. After Zhang Yuebai finished tasting and bought 2 jars, the crowd watched Zhang Yuebai leave, then fell into a complete frenzy. The girl never expected that the man who mastered the super difficult divine ability in her heart, in less than 2.5 minutes, could already perfectly combine the flying sword and fulu path. It turned out, just after watching Zhang Yuebai leave, Chu Liang's Feng Jiangcha was swept clean by the frenzied crowd. In order to keep earning Jianbi, Chu Liang came to the shop early in the morning, only to find the shopkeeper's face wasn't less swollen, but actually worse. It turned out what Chu Liang gave the shopkeeper was the same type of Baihua San as Su Ziqing's. After use, it emits the scent of Shirlan Hua, which is the scent of vitality. If you know, you know. So, when the shopkeeper's wife smelled it, she beat him up without a word, saying no wonder he didn't touch her at night. The shopkeeper didn't want to not touch her. It's just that being middle-aged, he had unspeakable difficulties. Chu Liang also knew he had messed up trying to be clever. He offered verbal comfort to the shopkeeper. After speaking, Chu Liang learned from the shopkeeper that the Dufeng had returned again. Hearing this, Chu Liang secretly stopped himself from drooling, telling the shopkeeper not to worry. Every time the Dufeng came, he cleaned them up once. But the shopkeeper worried if these Dufeng kept coming, wouldn't he have to close shop? Hearing this, Chu Liang outwardly expressed difficulty, saying he could only go farm them every day then. But inwardly, he was overjoyed. By the Jinghuahe riverbank, the clearly ferocious-looking Dufeng now seemed increasingly cute in Chu Liang's eyes, because they were each flying Jianbi. Little did he know, while he was immersed in the happy atmosphere of farming Jianbi, a pink Jinli was silently watching everything. The pink Jinli dived into the river, complaining to her older sister, saying that annoying cultivator from yesterday came again, and killed all the Dufeng she had painstakingly summoned. Although the red Jinli was also a bit angry hearing this, she still comforted her younger sister not to be afraid. A cultivator of Chu Liang's level must be very busy. It's impossible for him to come sweep the riverbank every day. Tomorrow, she would continue summoning Dufeng, absolutely not letting those fishermen near Jinghuahe. Forget the past, now that she had cultivated magic power, she must protect their Jinli clan. The younger sister worried, what if Chu Liang kept coming? The older sister confidently stated, "Those human cultivators need to cultivate and fight for resources.
There wouldn't be someone that idle." As soon as these words were spoken, the younger sister also didn't believe Chu Liang would come every day. And so, someone was still looking forward to farming Dufeng every day. After drinking tea, next was study time.
The essence of Fu Dao Jianju lies in combining fulu and sword qi.
To learn this sword technique, one must first learn to make talismans.
What senior sister Jiang taught was the essence of the sword technique. It's impossible she would teach from the very basics, so Chu Liang still had to come back and study slowly. A 1-month deadline to learn talisman making, the time was still relatively ample. Therefore, Chu Liang decided to start hitting the books,
learning fulu from scratch.
The so-called fulu are objects that carry the power of runes, and the reason runes have power is because they are the script belonging to the heavenly Tao. Once triggered, they can draw upon the power of the heavenly Tao.
However, the heavenly Tao cannot be drawn upon arbitrarily.
One must condense true qi onto the rune, and then reach the heavens with one's divine sense, to achieve the goal of triggering the heavenly Tao's power.
When writing talismans, cinnabar is commonly used, because cinnabar most easily condenses qi.
True qi adheres to it and doesn't dissipate easily. But for true fulu masters, writing talismans freehand and triggering them from thin air is not difficult.
Wanting to draw talismans with a flying sword also requires reaching this level of proficiency.
In the initial study of the fulu path, there are 3 difficulties. First, the heavenly Tao script is profound and complex. Moreover, each stroke contains the great Tao.
There can be no slight alteration when drawing the talisman.
The proportions must not deviate in the slightest.
Second, during execution, true qi needs to be condensed without scattering, because true qi itself tends to dissipate. Wanting it to condense without scattering requires extremely strong control.
The qi flow must be continuous,
accomplished in one breath. Third, when triggering with divine sense, one must pay attention to controlling the measure, because many fulu are not triggered instantly. If you want to control their activation time, you must have precise control over your divine sense.
Combining essence, qi, and spirit is undoubtedly very difficult. Even Chu Liang's brain felt some difficulty processing it.
Of course, it was only some difficulty. One successful talisman formation left Chu Liang completely stunned. He succeeded just like that?
The book clearly said drawing talismans mid-air was very hard. It said one needed to practice tens of thousands of times on paper first.
Wouldn't his talisman papers have piled up everywhere then? But Chu Liang didn't dwell on it for long.
Since drawing talismans mid-air was already successful, next was to try combining sword control with fulu. Although compared to senior sister Zhang's process, his steps were a bit faster, but it shouldn't be a big problem. He had always been a bit faster than others.
Of course, referring to learning.
In the courtyard, Chu Liang, without another word, began drawing talismans mid-air to execute Fu Dao Jianju. However, the first attempt, as usual, failed. But Chu Liang quickly figured out the reason. It should be that the flying sword deformed during the process of drawing the talisman mid-air,
leading to the deformation.
After figuring it out, Chu Liang executed Fu Dao Jianju again. This time, the long sword stayed perfectly straight. The fulu was simultaneously engraved onto the sword body. As Chu Liang pushed again, the long sword shot out violently. A huge roar exploded within the courtyard.
This power slightly shocked Chu Liang.
Rune and sword qi combined, the increase in power was definitely not a simple 1+1. But like wind fueling a fire, fire enhancing wind's might, able to significantly amplify each other's power. If he could master a wind rune as well, then launching a wind-fire dual fulu sword qi,
the power should increase several-fold again.
The fulu path was incredibly profound. Able to use many simple runes to combine into incredibly powerful formation fulu. If he could use powerful formation fulu with his sword qi, Chu Liang found it hard to imagine just how fierce it would be.
Suddenly, a powerful aura shot into the sky.
No need to think, Chu Liang knew it was his first master getting angry.
Could it be she was angry about the matter of catching demons in the East Sea last time? Was the news leaked? At the same time, Chu Liang also envied Dinu Feng's strength.
He racked his brains just to improve his strength a little.
While First Master could display such power just by getting slightly angry. Just as Chu Liang guessed, the matter of Dinu Feng going to the East Sea to catch monsters, the newspaper report framed it as a malicious act. How could Dinu Feng not be angry after reading it?
She was just short of immediately rushing into Tianshu GE to settle scores. Suddenly, a bird cry came from the sky.
Dinu Feng was puzzled. The Qingmiao from Wuliangong.
Usually, the appearance of a Qingmiao means Shushan is about to hold a hall meeting.
As for the letter's content, it was actually the same as what Chu Liang had told her. The Yaoshan is about to return.
The woman never expected that she, the dignified first peak master of Shushan,
would actually have a day where she was extorted.
It turned out, ever since Chu Liang learned Fu Dao Jianju, he had started a small business again on Nanning Fong. However, soon, because business was too good, he incurred the jealousy of others. A man told Chu Liang his stall these past 2 days was illegal,
and he needed to pay a supplementary stall fee.
But Chu Liang had never heard that setting up a stall on Nanning Fong required paying a fee.
The man coming to collect money naturally had a prepared explanation,
stating that setting up a stall on Nanning Fong indeed didn't require payment. But someone like Chu Liang, organizing queues and taking up too much space, disturbing the public order,
needed to report in advance and additionally pay a stall fee.
Chu Liang also sensed something was wrong with this matter. But these years in Shushan, he was either fighting monsters or cultivating.
He didn't understand many places or rules of Shushan,
so he obediently paid the money. Little did he know the man was actually there to cause trouble, just waiting for Chu Liang to lose his temper and attack, so he could teach him a lesson.
Unexpectedly, Chu Liang actually paid obediently,
and even said he seemed familiar,
saying he was senior brother Wang from Yunyao, right?
The two of them had done a mission together. The man heard this, and thought Chu Liang was trying to get close to him,
immediately stating his surname was Zhang.
Little did he know Chu Liang was just extracting information from him.
It turned out this was all orchestrated by Shang Ziliang.
One can only say jealousy makes people unrecognizable. Chu Liang not only flirted with his junior sister Su Ziqing, but also caused the three of them to end up in such a state. And now he even received senior sister Zhang's smile, making it hard for him to accept. However, the three of them forgot, Chu Liang's master is Nanning Fong.
Ingjian Fong.
Chu Liang was looking through Shushan's laws regarding setting up stalls,
discovering he had just been extorted.
He didn't meet the criteria at all for the management penalty regulations of Nanning Fong. However, he had reason to suspect the other party was specifically targeting him.
Thus, an hour later, Nanning Fong received a team-up invitation from her greatly filial disciple.
Chu Liang, filled with righteous indignation, began recounting his tragic experience on Nanning Fong.
Although Nanning Fong didn't understand the Shushan laws Chu Liang mentioned, she understood Chu Liang's last sentence.
Her greatly filial disciple had been extorted,
asking Chu Liang if he was in the right or not. How could Chu Liang not know his own first master's personality? Of course, he was absolutely in the right.
Yunyao Fong.
Nanning Fong gave Shang Shu an account of 3, telling him to come out and see her.
As a result, Chu Liang was greatly startled. His own first master, getting serious, attacked without even counting to 1,
just attacking directly.
Fortunately, Shang Shuan arrived quickly enough to avoid Yunyao Fong being demolished for free.
He asked Nanning Fong what the matter was. Nanning Fong immediately stated her purpose. Now she wanted justice for her disciple.
Seeing this, Chu Liang immediately provided the man's information.
A disciple from Silla Tang with the surname Zhang. One can only say cultivators have extraordinary memory.
Shang Shuan only took a moment to confirm the identity of the disciple Chu Liang mentioned.
Zhang Xingyuan. As the name Zhang Xingyuan appeared, the person also immediately arrived at the Yunyao Fong Square.
When he clearly saw Nanning Fong next to Chu Liang, he didn't even need to think to know he was in big trouble.
However, facing Chu Liang's accusation, Zhang Xingyuan actually still held on to wishful psychology, claiming he was just following Shushan's rules.
Shang Shuan heard this and thought it was just a misunderstanding, wanting to invite Nanning Fong inside to sit and talk.
Little did he know,
this master and disciple pair came today specifically to extort. Nanning Fong stated she was here today to get justice for her disciple, not to investigate with him. One can only say Shang Shuan underestimated Shushan's female rogue's ruthlessness. He actually bravely tried to resolve the issue with words.
The result was Nanning Fong gave him a free demolition service on the spot. Seeing this, Shang Shuan broke down shouting, "What was she doing?"
However, the response to him was only Nanning Fong raising her palm again, stating she was here to help her disciple get justice, and didn't want to waste another word. This time, Shang Shuan had no choice but to yield,
saying if she didn't even clarify the matter, how could justice be distinguished? This was simply being unreasonable.
And so, Shang Shuan saw a certain Shushan peak master rubbing her fingers together before him like a rogue.
Seeing this, Shang Shuan understood instantly.
stating however many jianbi Zhang Xingyuan extorted from Chu Liang, he would repay it all. Hearing this, the master and disciple pair first exchanged a glance. Chu Liang then looked at Shang Shuwen. Finally, he difficultly opened one palm, indicating 50,000 jianbi. Shang Shuwen might doubt if a stray dog wouldn't eat poop, but he never doubted that the clean-cut-looking Chu Liang was actually inhuman. He, a peak master, couldn't possibly produce 50,000 jianbi on the spot. How could someone at Shinijing have 50,000 jianbi? Not just him, even Nanning Fong, who came along for the extortion, never thought of asking for 50,000 jianbi. Can only say her disciple is truly ruthless. Actually, Zhang Xingyuan only extorted 50 jianbi from Chu Liang that day. Now it was directly multiplied by 50,000 times. Note, error in original text, should be 1000x. Regarding this, he quickly explained to his master, he only took 50 jianbi that night. Little did he know this confirmed the fact he extorted Chu Liang. Shang Shuwen sent a voice transmission saying he'd deal with him later. Hearing this, Nanning Fong immediately played the good cop, saying 50,000 versus 50, this difference is quite large. Saying this, she proposed to Shang Shuwen he should search Zhang Xingyuan right now to see exactly how many jianbi he had on him. If it was indeed 50,000, then she and her disciple would take it and leave. If not, then she would apologize. Basically, refusing to lose out at all. Shang Shuwen knew there was no escaping this time. With a wave of his hand, he was willing to use 5,000 jianbi to resolve this matter. Hearing this, Nanning Fong looked towards her greatly filial disciple, asking publicly if 5,000 was okay. Things having reached this point was already a huge gain. Chu Liang dared not ask for more. Finally, the master and disciple pair shamelessly said some polite words. As a result, holding the yufu containing 5,000 jianbi, without a word, they turned and left. As for what followed, it was the moment everyone loves to see, the fatherly love beating segment from his actual master. The man never expected the agreed-upon 70/30th split. Turned out to be 30% for him and 97% for his master. Note, 70% likely intended for master. Nanning Fong praised Chu Liang's good performance today. She hadn't even thought of asking for so much. Young people truly have courage. Hearing this, Chu Liang immediately offered flattery, saying it was all due to master's good teaching. But there was no follow-up. Nanning Fong told him to keep up the good work in the future. But after saying it, she noticed Chu Liang hadn't left. She wondered if there was something else. Seeing this, Chu Liang immediately reminded her, master had quite a harvest today. Hearing this, Nanning Fong finally remembered they still needed to split the spoils. She reassured Chu Liang, she wouldn't shortchange his share, they'd split it 70/30ths. Feeling the weight of the pouch in his hand, something felt very wrong. Asking first master if she took the wrong one. Nanning Fong heard this, raised her hand explaining the 70/30th split was 30% for him, 97% for herself. Nothing wrong there. At this moment, a certain handsome boy's filial piety shattered on the spot. But thinking that getting the jianbi today was all thanks to first master stepping up, being able to get a small share was already pretty good. After all, money in first master's hands was like money in a dog's belly. For her to let him have a little crumb from between her teeth was already quite generous. But as long as he peacefully sold his fruit tea, he could still live a good, moderately prosperous life. Unexpectedly, just as Chu Liang finished consoling himself, Ming Wangzong sent a group chat invitation. It turned out Di Shazhang was asking him about the progress in Kashanchang. Saying goodnight, he didn't forget to show concern for Chu Liang's safety. Hearing this, Chu Liang scoffed inwardly, too lazy to even point it out. Was Di Shazhang really concerned about his safety? Clearly, he was concerned about that Minghai Jinglian plant. Unexpectedly, number 59 beside him suddenly asked, he saw news on the Qixing Di Bao that the Yaozu Shinshir was killed by 2 righteous path disciples. Senior hasn't made a sound these past few days. Could it be you met with misfortune? Because Chu Liang's number is 58, meaning he joined Ming Wangzong earlier than 59, so he was called senior. Chu Liang listened. He definitely wouldn't hand over the Minghai Jinglian. Right now, this Di Shazhan was clearly anxious, that's why he proactively asked him about the whereabouts of the Jinglian, saying that if he started playing dumb now, it probably wouldn't arouse suspicion. After thinking, Chu Liang immediately started lying, stating he tried to snatch it midway, not only failed but also suffered heavy injuries. Currently hiding and recuperating. Someone who could be a villain and reach the 5th gene, how could they believe Chu Liang's one-sided story? Asking Chu Liang who injured him, and were the injuries severe? Hearing this, Chu Liang couldn't help but sneer inwardly. Just this? He immediately stated, it was a very powerful disciple from Tian Dangmen. Although he suffered significant internal injuries, after several days of recuperation, he was gradually recovering. Unexpectedly, after hearing this, Di Shazhang didn't pursue the matter further. Number 60, who had been silent, suddenly expressed goodwill towards Chu Liang,
saying he was currently near Kaoshan Chang
and had healing elixirs on hand. He could deliver them to Chu Liang.
Chu Liang would only believe him if he was crazy. Disciples of the demon sect, if they were so loving, it wouldn't be the demon sect.
This guy most likely wanted to take advantage of his weakness.
However, Chu Liang didn't dare refuse immediately either.
After all, he didn't know number 60, or the previous relationship between 60 and 58. However, before he could figure out how to refuse, Di Shazhang suddenly spoke up, saying excellent, asking number 60 to look after Chu Liang's safety for him. After all, Chu Liang was injured while helping him seize the Ming Haijinglian.
Hearing this, Chu Liang couldn't help but curse inwardly, old fox. Being fellow demon sect disciples, Di Shazhang couldn't possibly be unaware of the current situation. Staying alone is the safest.
This clearly indicated suspicion that he had obtained the Ming Haijinglian and refused to hand it over. Then, whether he killed 60 or 60 killed him, Di Shazhang could rightfully step in and clean up the remaining one.
Fuzzy logic.
As for the demon path group being a loving family, Chu Liang directly ignored this possibility. Unexpectedly, while Chu Liang was making a difficult choice, number 59 also popped up, and very naively interpreted it as,
this was an offline gathering, asking if he could join.
But with number 59's sudden interruption, it actually made Chu Liang's direct refusal seem reasonable. After exiting the group chat, Chu Liang just felt mentally exhausted.
All of them are old schemers, it's too brain-draining.
Just then, a knock suddenly came from the door.
Chu Liang wondered who would look for him at this evening hour. Turns out, the magic tool Chu Liang ordered was completed. When Yulong personally delivered it.
After all, this was also the first time he successfully refined a magic tool. He really wanted to see the customer's reaction. As the cloth was unveiled by Chu Liang, it was actually a golden legend. The man never expected, he thought he got a bargain, maybe turning a bicycle into a motorcycle. Unexpectedly, the bicycle directly became a supercar. Turns out, after Chu Liang discovered Wen Yulong had brought him a golden legend, he eagerly began its maiden flight.
However, the feel of the magic tool wasn't as soft as Chu Liang imagined,
even harder than the flying sword he previously rode. But thinking that Wen Yulong lacked experience after all, this flaw could be ignored.
After thinking,
Chu Liang immediately circulated his spiritual energy, wanting to compete with the heavens. As a result, the magic tool took off, but the person was still on the ground.
It turned out Wen Yulong, within the material's tolerance range, maximized its potential power, adding formation patterns,
which were also the optimal combination he had painstakingly devised. Therefore, its speed directly surpassed flying artifacts of the same rank.
After listening, Chu Liang admitted his artifact did fly very fast.
But he overlooked one problem, his own cultivation realm. Simply put, with the divine sense of the Shini Jing, one simply couldn't keep up with this artifact's speed.
Unexpectedly, Wen Yulong didn't buy it at all,
stating this was his problem, not his artifact's problem. Hearing this, Chu Liang suddenly calmed his anger. This really seemed to be his own problem. But he had to admit, purely in terms of artifact refining ability, Wen Yulong had indeed greatly exceeded his expectations. This level of artifact crafting service truly didn't seem like work worth 70 GNB. It felt like he originally just wanted a simple means of transportation, but was equipped with a sports car with a super engine. Just lightly tapping the accelerator suddenly turned into a life or death situation.
However, Chu Liang's feedback, Wen Yulong still took it to heart.
If the customer couldn't operate the artifact he refined, then he, as the refiner, indeed bore some responsibility. But he believed, as long as Chu Liang cultivated diligently, it wouldn't take long to adapt to this artifact.
Chu Liang scoffed inwardly at this.
Based on that flight speed just now, even a Jinan cultivator might not be able to fully control it. Simply put, he wanted a means of transportation, but the other party gave him a helicopter, and very seriously told him to get a pilot's license.
Regarding this, Chu Liang didn't plan to discuss this issue further, planning to test the artifact's defensive energy.
Fortunately, back then, he asked Wen Yulong to add 2 sets of defensive formations. Even if the flight capability was useless, at least there was defense. However, if nothing unexpected happened, something unexpected still happened.
Wen Yulong did indeed design it according to his specifications. The defensive capability could be described as quite outstanding. Even ordinary Jinan cultivators couldn't break the defense in a short time. But the problem also lay here. The defense was outstanding, yes, but the user couldn't move at all.
It turned out when Yulong, according to Chu Liang's request, made the artifact achieve all-around defensive coverage,
leaving no gaps. However, the coverage was a bit excessive.
For the user, it was equivalent to putting themselves under a restriction.
However, this wasn't even all the functions of this artifact. When Yulong said Chu Liang might not have discovered yet, these two sets of formation patterns could be activated in combination.
Once Chu Liang encountered a life-or-death crisis, activating both sets of formations simultaneously, he could easily escape death.
Chu Liang looked at the sphere floating in the sky, immediately imagining the scene back then.
Once facing a life-or-death crisis, first wrap himself up, then soar into the sky, transforming into a speeding dumpling,
heading towards an unknown direction. What kind of artifact was this? It was clearly a new type of torture device.
Nanning Fong. A figure was enveloped in lightning.
It was none other than Yu Jianfeng's senior brother Su Ziyang.
The middle-aged man beside him was Yu Jianfeng's peak master, Wang Xianling. He took advantage of Su Ziyang exiting seclusion to discuss a matter with him.
It turned out, recently, there were rumors that the Yaoshan was about to return. And just yesterday, the Ziqing Shuangjian left the mountain. When the Ziqing Shuangjian leave the mountain, they traditionally choose
young disciples of the Shushan sect to acknowledge as masters. This time was no exception. The sect master decided that at the upcoming Shushan Fenghui, the two disciples with the most outstanding performance would claim the Ziqing Shuangjian.
How could Su Ziyang not know his master's meaning?
Stating he would definitely give his all.
Correspondingly, Wang Xianling was also full of confidence in this disciple of his.
At that time, the Ziqing Shuangjian would belong to none other than him and Jiang Yuebai. Once he secured the chief disciple position and gained the acknowledgement of the Ziqing Shuangjian, he could go propose marriage to Biluo Feng on his behalf. Actually, Su Ziyang was solely focused on the Tao, and truly hadn't considered matters between men and women.
And the reason Wang Xianling said this was fear that his disciple, in the future, would be taken advantage of by some unknown woman.
Looking at the entire Shushan now, with his talent and character, only an exceptional woman like Jiang Yuebai was worthy of him. Besides, he had reached the age where he should find a wife. The girl was originally Shushan's #1 genius, but now suffered a double blow from the novice in her eyes. Not only couldn't she compare in cultivation talent, even her proud comprehension ability was now ruthlessly crushed by the man.
About a peak, 7 days later,
Chu Lian once again received a letter from Jiang Yuebai, saying she wanted to check his progress on Fu Dao Jianju cultivation. Turns out, later today, Jiang Yuebai was going out of the mountain for a mission, and it might take quite a long time. Therefore, she wanted to see Chu Liang's cultivation progress,
and offer some guidance along the way.
Hearing this, Chu Liang immediately started flattering, saying senior sister actually still remembered his cultivation. He was truly moved to tears. Jiang Yuebai's tone, however, was sarcastic,
stating he only sounded nice.
Previously asking her help as a shill to sell fruit tea, heard his business is booming now, his name is heard throughout Shushan.
Yet he didn't even give her a share of the profits.
Of course, this was just teasing Chu Liang. A little rich girl who could casually book an entire place for a meal, how could she lack this little money? Saying this, she began to ask
about Chu Liang's progress in cultivating Fu Dao Jianju. However, what she got was Chu Liang saying his progress was slow.
Hearing this, Jiang Yuebai's eyes turned unfriendly. Saying this was already the 7th day, if there was no progress at all, she would get angry. In Chu Liang's own understanding, he not only felt the Fu Dao principles were vast and profound, but also found cultivation exceptionally difficult.
Cultivating until now, he had only comprehended a tiny bit.
Hearing Chu Liang had some comprehension, Jiang Yuebai finally retracted her previous fierce look.
In reality, she was already blooming with joy inside. Telling Chu Liang to demonstrate first,
so she could see how to provide guidance. The result was obvious. Chu Liang thinking his progress was slow was just his own feeling that his progress was slow.
Not only was Fu Dao Jianju successfully executed,
it was even the dual fire fulu version. Jiang Yuebai's figure swayed in the firelight upon seeing it.
You call this comprehending a tiny bit? Isn't this clearly already mastered? Could it be this is what master referred to as a man's mouth? Deceiving ghosts?
Of course, this wasn't even the most exaggerated part. Back then, she was already quite skilled in Fu Dao, yet it still took her 12 days of practice to succeed.
But how long did Chu Liang take?
Today is the 7th day, yes, but it didn't say he only mastered it today.
Little did she know, her gaze falling upon Chu Liang's eyes represented disappointment.
But Chu Liang himself felt that even if his progress wasn't great, he had still successfully executed the sword technique.
Could it be there was still something imperfect?
After thinking, Chu Liang, slightly panicked, pointed at the long sword in his hand. Explaining to Jiang Yuebai, he reached this level 4 days ago. After that, progress became very slow. Mainly because his understanding of the Fu Dao was not deep enough. Currently, he could only execute the fire rune of the 5 elements with his flying sword. At most achieving dual fire fulu sword, but not succeeding every time. However, he had been practicing the wind rune recently. Already succeeding multiple times, believing in less than 2 more days, he could master the wind-fire dual fulu sword. He believed, within the 1-month timeframe given by Jiang Yuebai, he could master the fulu path proficiently.
Little did he know,
these words falling upon his beautiful senior sister's ears, were like murdering someone and attacking their heart unintentionally. Hearing this, Jiang Yuebai quickly waved her hand telling Chu Liang to stop.
Thinking, just now she actually wanted to give guidance to this guy? With what could she guide him? Compared to this guy, how could she still be considered a genius? After thinking,
Jiang Yuebai no longer dwelled on these things, telling Chu Liang, calling her senior sister once means always calling her senior sister. Even if he becomes stronger than her one day, he still has to obediently call her senior sister.
Telling Chu Liang to remember this sentence. This sudden change left Chu Liang momentarily full of question marks.
And Jiang Yuebai didn't want to stay long with this guy anymore, afraid she would be discouraged again.
Telling Chu Liang to cultivate well,
she would check his progress again when she returned.
Thus, senior sister Jiang left.
Several days later, on one particular day, Chu Liang successfully executed the scattering sword technique, mastered the wind-fire dual rune sword technique proficiently. At the same time, he was also trying how to control the flying leap technique more flexibly. Suddenly, a long unseen figure emerged from behind him, shouting that the two of them were in trouble. Asking him, Ziqing Jr. sister's actual older brother, their Jianfeng's senior brother, you know him right?
After exiting seclusion today,
heard his younger sister seemed troubled by love recently, gloomy all day long, and was about to find that person trouble. And recently, the one who could make junior sister Ziqing fall into Qingguan's trap, could only be one of the two of them. He took a mission, the two of them using this excuse, should go outside and lie low for a while.
Who would have thought?
The renowned major power in the cultivation world, one of the 9 Heavens Immortal Alliance, Nanning Fong, was actually an idol group organization. Relying on the anciently inherited path of LV, they traveled through the major regions of the human race.
And this was one of the reasons Lin Bei dragged Chu Liang down the mountain.
Simply put, his abstinence from lust wasn't thorough enough. Their mission location was the human race's Nanguanchang, Li Jiazhuang outside the city.
Because of monster trouble, quite a few people died.
But coincidentally, Nanning Fong's Miss Xuelingxue would also hold her first concert tour in Nanguanchang.
As for Nanning Fong,
among the 9 heavens and 10 earths, it's considered a rather special existence. Because although it's listed among the 10 earth's immortal sects, its actions are vastly different from ordinary sects and factions.
Nanning Fong has anciently inherited the path of LV,
a sacred place for immortal sect musicians. Immortal sect musicians pursue understanding the heavens above and the earth below,
reaching the human world.
In the early stages of cultivating the great Tao of LV, they will pursue using their own LV to influence more people, seeking more resonance.
The more resonance aroused, the more successful their cultivation.
So Nanning Fong's cultivation process is, from among numerous outer disciples, select the few most talented individuals to become inner disciples. Give each inner disciple abundant resources, plan concert tours for them, promoting LV. This also makes every generation of Nanning Fong inner disciples extremely famous, with countless fans.
Nanning Fong also uses popularity as an important indicator, paying attention in the final inner disciple selection.
Each generation of inner disciples, after several years, having successively completed their own concert tours,
will hold a grand inner disciple selection at the Nanning Fong Mountain Gate.
At that time, fans of each disciple will gather from all corners of the world to provide support for their favored musician, hoping to make them the chief disciple of this generation, famous throughout the world.
This system also makes Nanning Fong form a unique phenomenon.
That is, their sex population is the smallest among the 9 heavens and 10 earths. Yet in terms of influence alone, they can be called the strongest. For thousands of years, the cultivation of the Ying LV path has become increasingly profound and far-reaching. Many in Nanning Fong seek the Tao through this path, and there has been no lack of 8th Jin Tian Yuan realm experts appearing. And this time, the competition among inner disciples is extremely fierce. Not only is there Yusanger, who 2 years ago was almost predetermined as the chief disciple designee, but also, not long ago, Xuelingxue, who became famous upon debut. Furthermore, there's Situ Yan, hailed as peerlessly beautiful and possessing unparalleled ancient charm. All three are undoubtedly peerless geniuses in Ying LV. If it were in the past, each one would have the qualification to become the chief disciple. Unfortunately, they were born at the wrong time. Currently, Yusanger's concert tour has already held several shows, mainly in several major cities in Dongyu, while Xuelingxue's first concert tour did not choose to compete head-on with her, but came to Nanyue instead. However, compared to Dongyu's prosperity and splendor, Nanyue has more barren mountains and ridges, with sparse cities, ultimately incomparable. Presumably, after Xuelingxue accumulates some popularity in Nanyue, she will eventually have to fight her way back to Dongyu. Nanguanchang is located at the junction of Dongyu and Nanyue, belonging to one of the most prosperous major cities in Nanyue. Precisely because of this, it was chosen as the location for Xuelingxue's first concert tour. Although there are still a few days until the concert tour, the advance hype has been very successful. Now, Miss Xue's performance has become the hottest topic in the entire city. Even where the performance venue is chosen, which Chamber of Commerce is hosting it, have already become popular topics of conversation. After listening, Chu Liang immediately understood Lin Bei's little scheme. If nothing unexpected happens, their mission location this time is one of Xuelingxue's performance venues. A moment later, Nanguanchang, Li Jiazhuang, the Li family members had long been waiting. And Lin Bei also successively displayed his social, butterfly attributes, directly turning old Chui into Uncle Chui. Compared to Lin Bei, Chu Liang was a man of action, opening his mouth to ask about the specific details of the strange case. It turned out, Li Jiazhuang is a high-end entertainment garden. The garden runs a complex business. Wanting to host Xuelingxue's performance was naturally also to attract more popularity and make their name known. The only competitor is Jing Lixian on the Qin Nanjiang River, and Jing Lixian runs a painted boat cruise business. The proposal given was to moor a painted boat by the riverbank, for Xuelingxue to perform on it, while the audience walks along the riverbank below. Unexpectedly, during this crucial period, a strange incident occurred in their estate. For several consecutive days, people encountered monsters at night. Initially, it wasn't much of a monster, just startling women but not doing anything out of line. But when this reached Jing Lixian, it completely changed, saying their place was haunted by monsters and several people had died. Now the news has spread, causing their competition with Jing Lixian to fall into disadvantage. Therefore, they specifically requested Shushan to resolve this matter. Hearing this, Chu Liang was very puzzled. Nanning Fong itself is one of the 9 heavens and 10 earths. Is it necessary to seek help from their Shushan? It turned out, although immortal Sect musicians have high cultivation, they generally dislike fighting. Moreover, the number of inner disciples has always been extremely small. They almost never slay demons and eliminate monsters for others. For example, Miss Xue coming to Nanguanchang for her concert tour this time is extremely important to her. All her thoughts must be focused on preparing for the performance. If some monster distracted her, making her expend extra energy to eliminate the monster, it might affect her state of mind for the performance. Anyway, their cultivation path is different from most cultivators. After explaining, Lin Bei's social butterfly attribute flared up again. It turned out he learned from Uncle Chui, the founder of Li Jiazhuang was also a Shushan disciple. This also gave Lin Bei an opening, hoping that after the two of them eliminated the monster, they could tour the estate for a while, leaving only after the performance ended. And for Uncle Chui, this naturally wasn't difficult. Saying this, he revealed an expression all men understand, asking if Lin Bei was also looking forward to Miss Xue's performance. One can only say birds of a feather flock together. For Nanning Fong, Lin Bei's first choice is Situ Yan, second choice is Xuelingxue. But looking across the entire Jianghu, his ultimate goddess is still their own Shushan's Zhangjiang, Zhang Yuebai. And so, from Chu Liang's gossiping perspective, the two lectures revealed expressions of finding each other too late. Because what Lin Bei said was also what Uncle Chui was thinking. After chatting, the two, led by Uncle Chui again, toured the Li family garden. And this also became one of Lin Bei's future choices after leaving Shushan.
Open a mountain estate.
It turned out Shushan has a very large number of disciples each generation. After many years of growth, besides the 36 peak masters and some core members, the remaining disciples will all leave Shushan. Those with lower cultivation can run small businesses or become retainers for wealthy families.
Relying on Shushan's reputation, they can still live very well.
Those with higher cultivation can establish their own sects, developing some small sects.
However, Chu Liang did not wish to leave Shushan,
and set breaking through to the Wendao Jing as his life goal. At that time, he would compete for a peak master position in Shushan, take 2 talented disciples, and then he could comfortably lie flat for the rest of his life. As a result, just as he finished thinking, Lin Bei's shout came from his ear. Because, below the stage, dancers were being selected as backup dancers for Shuelingxue, and the contestants were all quite eye-catching.
Among them, a young girl stood out the most. Her name was Lu Xiaoyu. Different from mature women, she represented youthful cuteness.